I just received a diagnosis for a terminal illness. In less than 3 minutes, my three filthy rich sisters didn't even bother trying to get me treatment. Instead, they voted to kick me out of the house. But when they saw me reunite with my real sister, they all regretted it. They cried and begged me to come back to them. But it was all too late. Right now, hearing the doctor's ultimatum, your condition means you won't last more than a year. My mind was left completely blank. My legs felt like lead as I walked out of the hospital. The phone in my pocket vibrated, making me pull it out instinctively. Seeing the eldest sister's name on the screen, my heart suddenly skipped a beat. I didn't expect her to remember that today was my checkup, even though she's often angry with me for no reason. This concern right now was enough to comfort me. The doctor said, but before I could finish, Mu Yulu impatiently cut me off. Whether you saw a doctor or not doesn't matter anymore. I'm calling to inform you that we've found your biological mother, so from now on, don't call us sisters anymore. And don't you ever come back to the Mu family. Ever again. You were never our real younger brother anyway. Mu Yulu's words didn't hide her cold tone, accompanied by clear disgust. It answered my long-standing questions. The eldest sister is a domineering CEO, the richest person in Junk City. The second sister is an A-list star, the queen of the music industry. I was always careful to please them, but was never acknowledged. Turns out I was just an adopted child. Now that they've found their biological brother, they don't want to pretend for even one more second. So they immediately made this call, unable to wait any longer to kick me to the curb. Muyulu thought that after making everything clear, the massive shock would cause me to collapse or even scream in a frenzy. Then she could use an even colder tone to make me see reality clearly, to let me know we were never from the same world. But I just calmly replied and accepted it all. This instead caught her off guard on the other end. The other end of the line was stunned, but that surprise only lasted for a moment. After all this saved them a settlement fee. Muyulu immediately regained her focus, preparing to welcome their biological younger brother. As for what a replacement like me was thinking, nobody bothered to care about such heartlessness. After the call ended, Butler Lou knocked and entered, handing her the outfits for the gala in a few days. Every set was crafted by top-tier tailors. Just the accompanying jewelry alone cost billions. This caused the last bit of guilt in Muyulu's heart to instantly vanish into thin air, allowing someone who couldn't touch high society to experience a luxurious life for all those years. The Mu family owed Mu Chen nothing. Butler, I want a bowl of noodles now. The usual way. Butler Liu heard this and hesitated for a moment, but immediately nodded in agreement. Just 15 minutes later, Butler Liu brought the bowl of noodles up. Mu Yulu took just one bite and frowned. Old Liu, did you check the ingredients purchased today? Butler Liu noticed Mu Yulu's dissatisfaction. He thought it was just a bowl of noodles. Any chef making it would be the same. But reality proved his judgment wrong. Mu Yulu was clearly very unhappy with these noodles. Butler Liu thought for a moment and replied, there's nothing wrong with the ingredients. I checked them all. Perhaps because it was always Mu Chen who cooked the noodles before, the taste is a bit different now. I will tell the chef to adjust the flavor immediately. Mu Yulu immediately called Butler Liu back. What do you mean by that? My habit of eating noodles in the morning has been over a year. Are you saying Mu Chen cooked all of them? Butler Liu nodded in confirmation, leaving Mu Yulu stunned on the spot. Then in her voice, there was a hint of reproach. Mu Chen was a young master before, after all. How could you let him do such menial work? Butler Liu hurriedly began to explain. Didn't you have a long period of stomach pain before, to the point where you couldn't eat anything? After Mu Chen found out, he proactively busied himself for days, just to make these noodles for me to bring up to you. Mu Yulu waved her hand upon hearing this. This was indeed the first time she had heard of this. However, she only felt a slight stir of emotion. In fact, very soon after, she felt it was only natural. After all, compared to everything the Mu family had given him, a small matter like cooking, these noodles wasn't even worth mentioning. At this time, I had returned to my biological mother's house. Throughout the entire journey here, I saw the utility poles and trees in front of the house, plastered everywhere with missing child flyers for me. This is the room. My mother Huilan's voice trembled slightly. The room wasn't large, but it was incredibly clean. On the table was an orchid pattern on tablecloth. With a white background, this was the room with the best light in the entire house. The room Mom had specifically set aside for me. My eyes suddenly blurred. Mom never gave up looking for me. This house always kept a place for me, making me feel like I finally had a home. At noon, I had a long-awaited family meal with my elementary school-aged sister and my mother. Mom just stared at me for a long time. She still remembered the early years after I went missing. Her world seemed to lose the boundary between day and night. Back then, she barely rested for a single moment, taking tens of thousands of missing child flyers to paste in every corner of the city. But not a single phone call ever came. Sometimes, when walking past shops on the street, she always felt a face appearing in the glass windows. It's so good that I finally found my way back to her. Right then, my little sister Sue, Zhao Nuan, saw the rare smile on Mom's face. and couldn't help but daze out for a moment. Then she also broke into a happy smile. After finishing lunch, Su Xiao, Nuan was very sensible and proactively cleared the dishes. She went into the kitchen, rolled up her sleeves, and washed up like a pro. Seeing that, I hurriedly stood up to wash them with her. Thanks, big brother. That big brother title she was too shy to use during the meal. Su Xiaonuan finally blurted it out just now. Hearing this, I immediately felt incredibly peaceful and warm. Before in the Mu family's luxurious villa, even if I sat on the same sofa as them, it always felt like we belonged to two completely different worlds. At this moment, I secretly made a vow. At least in the brief time I have left, I absolutely won't let mom and my little sister suffer through any more hardships. In the evening before bed, I received a voice message from mom. Are you okay with the food at home? Tomorrow I'll buy some ribs to cook for you kids. I also smiled and sent a voice reply, yes, mom. Hearing that, mom made Su Huilan daze out and burst into tears. She had always felt insecure deep down, fearing I'd look down on such a poor family. But now her fears were completely gone. The good days ahead were still long. Early the next morning, Mu Yulu woke up on time. From the moment the master awakens, the entire staff of servants in the manor begins to operate. What time each person must appear in which area is clearly regulated. So just 5 minutes later, her makeup artist was in the room on time. During the makeup process, she thought about her biological brother Mu Xuan returning to the country. Before her real brother returns, she must throw out all of his belongings to keep her brother from seeing them and feeling uncomfortable. But a question popped into her head. Where exactly is Mu Chen's room? 10 minutes later, Mu Yulu walked with the butler. Outside the main building, the crystal clear lake reflected the beautiful scenery around. The soft grass stretched into the distance. Under the shade of the towering poplar trees, a natural scene of singing birds and fragrant flowers appeared. This was the result of 3 gardening experts with salaries of over 5 billion per year. The result? That everyone painstakingly cares for every day. Mu Yulu thought to herself, if she wasn't lucky enough, then even with 100 years of effort, she could never live in an environment like this. But as she kept walking, Mu Yulu suddenly realized something was wrong. Uncle Liu, didn't I tell you to lead me to Mu Chen's room? Butler Liu nodded, his white-gloved right hand pointing forward. The place where young Master Mu Chen used to stay is right here. Mu Yulu was stunned upon hearing that. Isn't that building the servants' quarters? Then she suddenly remembered. This was actually arranged by her personally many years ago. At the time, she thought that since he wasn't real family anyway, if he experienced this luxury from a young age, he would likely grow up to be a spoiled brat, even if the Mu family's prestige meant they didn't care about this bit of money. In the eyes of outsiders, Mu Chen was still a member of the Mu family. She didn't want his behavior to make the Mu family lose face, so she decided to raise him under a frugal regime. But after all these years, did he never proactively ask to change rooms? Mu Yulu found it a bit hard to believe. She never considered him her real brother. Otherwise, she wouldn't have forgotten which room he stayed in. But regardless, he was her brother in name. If he had spoken up and asked back then, why wouldn't she have changed his room? Butler Liu's expression hesitated upon hearing this. Over the years even, an outsider like him could clearly see the bone-deep disgust that Mu Yulu had for me. There were many times when I, full of joy, went to Mu Yulu to share interesting things at school and my excellent academic achievements, but before I could speak, I was heartlessly cut off. Even when he reported my matters to Mu Yulu, he would sometimes get caught in the crossfire. Yulu would order him to shut up and scold him, that he shouldn't bother her with my business anymore. She didn't want to hear it. Butler Liu understood this very well. Perhaps it was because I grew up in such an environment, combined with the fact that I had been a sensible child since I was little, that I'd rather silently endure the mistreatment than let this matter upset the eldest sister. Mu Yulu saw that look and seemed to realize something. But someone as arrogant as her would absolutely never admit it. It doesn't matter anymore. After all, the person has already been kicked out. Besides, the servants' quarters, while not as spacious or luxurious as the main building, still have much better conditions than most average middle-class families. After that, Mu Yulu followed Butler Liu through the long corridor straight to the room where I used to stay. As she headed down the stairs, she was completely stunned. She never in her wildest dreams thought a nominal young master like me would have to live in the basement. She was about to open her mouth to scold Butler Liu, but old memories suddenly flooded back into her mind. That year, the butler had arranged for me to stay in a guest room in the main building. It was she who bluntly rejected that proposal and gave a harsh order for me to get out and live in the north building. But the north building was originally for the servants, and there was absolutely not a single normal room available. So naturally, I was shoved into this room. The room wasn't small, and the furniture was somewhat adequate, but the moment Mu Yulu stepped into this room, she immediately felt a sense of coldness and dampness. In her heart, an unprecedented surge of self-reproach suddenly rose up. The residence of her nominal younger brother, who had lived with her for so many years, turned out to be worse than that of an ordinary servant. While casually clearing out the things in the room, Muyulu discovered many items in the drawers. There was a broken remote control car and some old battered toy blocks. There was also a watch whose hands had stopped moving long ago. At first she sneered. Outsiders will always be outsiders. Even these scraps of junk not worth a penny he couldn't bear to throw away. But when she looked closely at the watch, she was suddenly stunned. If she remembered correctly, this seemed to be something that many years ago she had casually tossed to him. Unexpectedly, after all these years, passed even though this broken watch had stopped running, he had still kept it, like a treasure. This made Muyulu guess that the other things in the drawer were likely also items that her sisters had once casually given to him. She really didn't expect that the things she had casually bestowed back then would hold such weight in his heart. Muyulu originally intended to throw these things away like trash, but perhaps because of a flickering feeling in her heart, she decided to deliver this pile of junk to me as a final farewell, ending things on a good note. After packing the old items into a storage box, she saw a stack of forms deep inside the drawer. Taking them out to look, it turned out to be scholarship applications. She furrowed her brows, once again feeling confused. Old Liu, didn't I tell you to give him a monthly living allowance? Why was he so broke that he had to apply for scholarships like this? Yulu said this without any other real intention, simply feeling that since they lived under the Mu roof, having to go to school to beg for a few scholarship dollars would be no different from telling the world the Mu family was mistreating him. But as soon as Yulu finished speaking, she immediately remembered her previous decision to raise him frugally. The living allowance given to him was absolutely not by elite standards, but more like that of an average family, at 7 million Vietnamese dong per month. But then again, even if it really was only 7 million Vietnamese dong, it shouldn't have been to the point of being so poor he had to apply for scholarships. Butler Liu heard this and hurriedly bowed his head to explain. The 7 million Vietnamese dong for living expenses each month, I transferred it all on time. Previously young master, Mu Chen once secretly borrowed a sum of money from me. He said he needed it urgently to prepare a birthday gift for you. At that time I felt bad for the young master, so I told him he didn't need to pay it back. But very soon after, the young master still found enough money to repay me. Perhaps it was because of that. Muyulu heard this and suddenly realized that, for all these years, every time she had a birthday, I had poured my heart into preparing a gift for her. But because those gifts looked like cheap street junk, she would usually throw them straight into the trash the next day. But she was always so high and mighty that she forgot. I was never actually a young master of the Mu family. Those cheap, worthless items, as far as I was concerned, were already the best gifts within my means. Coincidentally, I ran into Mu Yulu this morning. Seeing me, she froze for a moment. Wait, don't leave yet. I have something to give you. But I acted like I didn't hear a thing, and didn't even slow down. This left Mu Yulu stunned on the spot. In her arrogant, stereotypical impression of me, I had always followed her every word. Why had I suddenly become so cold? Mu Yulu frowned but didn't think too much of it. She took a box of old belongings from her assistant. Mu Chen, these are the things from your old room. There are a few less important things left in the car. I'll have someone bring them to your house later on the way. Hearing that, I finally stopped walking. I took the box and casually opened it to look. Thanks CEO Mu. Before Mu Yulu could even process this new title, she witnessed a scene that left her completely speechless. I threw the entire box of belongings into the trash. By the time she finally snapped out of her shock, her fake little brother Me was already long gone. The assistant standing nearby saw this and said indignantly, Sister Yulu, after all, the trouble you took to personally deliver his stuff. You should have just tossed this pile of junk into the trash to begin with. I raised him for all these years so that he could study at the top university in the country. It can be said there is absolutely nothing to feel ashamed of regarding him, and yet he has no gratitude at all, even daring to show that rotten attitude toward you. Truly an ungrateful brat who can't be tamed. Mu. Yulu couldn't stand to hear another word. When she heard me call her CEO Mu, she felt as if she had permanently lost something. However, that nameless sense of loss was quickly replaced by an uncontrollable rage. The reason she humbled herself to come here and give these things was because she thought that in my heart, I still considered her my sister, which is why I treasured the items she casually tossed me like gems. But after witnessing the scene before her eyes, Mu Yulu believed she had seen through my true colors. This made her feel that the decision she and her other sisters made together to kick me out was absolutely correct. However, Mu Yulu chose to forget that. Previously, on more than one occasion, when I called her sister in public, she had, out of disgust, pretended not to know me at all. It also wasn't just once that she high and mighty had scolded me, forcing me to call her CEO Mu on those occasions, warning me that being called sister in public was embarrassing. Now that I'm actually doing what she wanted, she feels indignant about it. Assistant Shen saw Mu Yulu fuming with rage and stood by continuing to fan the flames. It's come to this and he doesn't even have any shame left. In the future, when that ingrate comes to beg us, we'll just coldly kick him away. A social climber like him is out of options now. He'll definitely regret this until he's blue in the face. Mu Yulu listened to these consoling words, and the anger in her heart cooled down a bit. You're right. He will definitely regret it later. Then Mu Yulu rummaged through the bag the assistant brought. She remembered my old stuff was in there, intending to find it all and dump it in the trash. Not long after, she pulled out a stack of old documents. Mu Yulu was afraid her own files got mixed in, so she flipped through them. Inside this pile of worn-out documents were my university scholarship applications, and even my report cards from childhood until now. When Mu Yulu saw these grades, her eyes couldn't help but narrow slightly, because she truly didn't expect that my academic performance since I was small was that good. Almost every single time I was at the top of the class. I even scored 680 on the college entrance exam. This left Mu Yulu momentarily stunned. In the past, she never cared about my grades. Even before this, she thought my admission into a top-tier prestigious school was all thanks to the Mu family's massive annual donations. Now it seems I got in based on my own sheer talent. Mu Yulu suddenly felt a bit of regret. This score compared to the top scholar probably wasn't off by much, putting other aspects aside. Just looking at it from a talent investment perspective, he was actually very valuable to groom. But since things have reached this point, thinking too much is useless, as long as she has enough money in her hands. Elite students like this are a dime a dozen. Mu Yulu continued to flip through the files and found several more medical checkup reports. This made her feel it was ridiculous, thinking to herself if he was just too afraid of dying. Even at this young age, he had gone for so many checkups. Furthermore, in that phone call yesterday, she also heard him mention a doctor. So she curiously opened the report to see what exactly he was getting checked for. It was a medical form from when I was 16. After seeing the contents of the report, Mu Yulu froze right then and there. The attending physician wrote very clearly, patient reports that over the past half month, he frequently experiences heart palpitations, fevers, and dry heaving. Initial diagnosis was malnutrition and hepatitis. Final diagnosis, hepatitis. Mu Yulu read this and was completely dazed. How could this be possible? Every meal at the Mu family manor was planned by nutritionists. How could he possibly be malnourished? But immediately after, she suddenly realized she had never allowed me to sit at the same table with them once a long time ago. All the sisters had returned to the manor. I had worked with the butler to prepare ingredients, busying myself in the kitchen to cook a lavish spread of food. That time she originally intended to make an exception for me. However, two distinguished guests suddenly paid a visit. So she told me to give up my seat for the guests and ordered me to get lost and eat with the servants. Now recalling the past, she finally began to sense that something was wrong. Perhaps because I was always so stoic and incredibly obedient, I didn't show even a hint of dissatisfaction back then, only silently swallowing my humiliation. That's why she never saw a problem with it. This caused her to have a sudden realization. Living under the same roof all these years, she had at least some feelings for me. But her prejudice was bone deep. She always viewed me as a complete stranger. But even when I was in high school, crowding in to eat with the servants every day, it shouldn't have been enough to cause malnutrition. Carrying this lingering doubt, she called Butler Liu. This was absolutely not out of concern or regret. She just wanted to interrogate the staff to see if they had been doing their jobs properly back then. The call was quickly connected. She coldly asked the question. Butler Liu on the other end was silent for a moment, then carefully replied, perhaps during that time, he often didn't have time to eat. That year you said to absolutely not coddle him to prevent him from developing bad habits in the house. You told me to keep his daily routine exactly like the servants. But the servants' meals are cleared away on the dot, so he ended up with nothing to eat and was left starving. Mu Yulu grew more confused as she listened. What did this have to do with cause and effect? Did he actually dare to get angry and go on a hunger strike, purposely refusing to eat at mealtime, only to end up with no food at all? Mu Yulu gave a cold snort. If he really tortured himself like that, then he totally brought it on himself. He didn't have the fate of a young master, yet he had the attitude of one. After listening, Butler Liu gave a bitter smile and explained, do you remember when he begged you to arrange a driver, Mu? Yulu lowered her head in deep thought upon hearing this. A moment later, she vaguely remembered that this was indeed the case. At that time, it was he who proactively suggested it. When Mu Yulu heard such an unreasonable request, she flatly refused without even thinking about it. After all, she had already decided to raise me frugally, so there was no way she'd provide a private driver for me. She even suspected I was delusional, wanting to use the manor's driver to go show off. That did happen. But what does that have to do with eating meals? Are you saying I threw a tantrum over this and purposely went on a hunger strike to protest? Butler Liu hurriedly shook his head and explained. At that time, he didn't utter a single word of complaint. The next day, he used his allowance to buy a bicycle and rode that old clunker bike to school every day. Mu Yulu heard this and thought it was fine. Young people should exercise their bodies more. But the butler's next words completely shattered her self-satisfaction. Butler Liu sighed and continued. High school was actually too far from the manor. Even by bike, it took over an hour to make it to school on time every day. He had to wake up by 5:30 a.m., but the meal times for the manor staff are fixed from 700 to 900, meaning every day when he left the house. The kitchen hadn't even started the fire yet. As for dinner, he often missed it because of too much schoolwork. Butler Liu sighed at this point. Back then, his heart ached as he watched, and he repeatedly brought up the issue of my meals. But Mu Yulu was always too impatient and cut him off, constantly ranting, preaching that everyone must be treated equally and absolutely no special favors given. Mu Yulu felt like she was struck by lightning upon hearing this, finally realizing just how massive her mistake was. She always had luxury cars picking her up and dropping her off, so she had long forgotten the hardships of those at the bottom of society. She always thought children from ordinary families didn't deserve a private driver, so she naturally assumed I was just causing trouble, completely ignoring the fact that this manor was so isolated, and the distance to high school was truly too far. My request was actually very reasonable, even taking a step back if she wouldn't provide a car. She only needed to arrange for the chef to cook a bit earlier, providing care like a normal family to accommodate my daily schedule. But she blocked both of those options. Now Muyulu was forced to admit that my starving until I got sick was all thanks to her blessings. After hanging up, the phone assistant Shen, who was aggressively ranting earlier, now felt like her face was stinging as if slapped. But regardless, I was just a fake, not Muyulu's biological brother. Even though Muyulu knew she was in the wrong, she was used to being high and mighty. There was no way she would ever bow her head and apologize to me. She simply ordered someone to deliver the items to get it over with. At the same time, at the Mew family, Manor, a pure and elegant young girl, sat alone by her bed. Her skin was white as snow, her features as exquisite as a masterpiece. No matter where she was always the center of attention. Her name is Yu Yao, the currently famous music queen. Her new song released not long ago immediately dominated all the major music charts. Last night, Yu Yao suffered from insomnia again. She was terrified this feeling would return, fearing she'd become a useless person staying up all night again. So she began to painfully try to remember how her insomnia had been cured before. Out of habit, she just reached for her phone, wanting to call me over to massage her hands for her. Only then did she snap back to reality and realize I was no longer in this house. She and her sisters had personally kicked me out, but that bit of sadness also quickly flickered out. After all, he was just an unrelated outsider. Now that her biological brother is about to come home having a fake, staying in the house would be totally improper. She immediately ordered the butler to find a massage therapist, but it was impossible to find that sense of peace from before. When I brought my exhausted body back home, I found the living room dark without a single light. On the table, hot dishes were clearly still laid out. Why isn't anyone here right at that moment? The sizzle of sparklers rang out. Candlelight flickered on. Happy birthday, big brother, Sue. Huilan walked out from behind the gifts with a smile. Placing the birthday cake steadily on the table, Su Xiaonuan excitedly ran to the side, pulling a tablecloth away with one hand to reveal an electronic keyboard. She said she wanted to play a song she just learned for me. I was both surprised and full of questions. When I first came home yesterday, there clearly wasn't a keyboard in the living room. This isn't something an ordinary family could afford. But I quickly discovered a label on the keyboard, Wang Xiaomei Class 2. My nose suddenly began to sting to celebrate this birthday for me. My little sister actually went and borrowed a keyboard. During those long years at the Mew house, no one ever cared about my birthday. Watching my sister's serious expression as she played, I stood by with red eyes, clapping and softly singing along to the melody. As the song ended, I ruffled her hair and asked, "Do you really like playing the piano, so? Wait until I earn some money, I'll buy you one." Sue. Xiao Nuan's face couldn't hide her joy upon hearing that. A "thank you, big brother" was about to escape her lips, but being sensible, she forced herself to swallow it back. She blinked her big eyes and said something she didn't mean. "Actually, I don't like it that much." How could I not see through my little sister's thoughts? I just smiled without exposing her, thinking to myself that I must give her a big surprise later. So I just went with the flow and changed the subject. "Thank you, I really love it. Let me play a song for you too, okay?" Su Xiaonuan's eyes widened in surprise. "Wow, brother, I didn't know you could play." 2. Just as I sat down to show off my skills, there was suddenly a gentle knock at the door. I opened the door and froze on the spot. A young girl wearing a white shirt paired with a short skirt, her jet black ponytail highlighting her long, slender swan neck. A light breeze brushed through the strands of hair by her ears. Seeing me open the door, Ye Qinghuan's lips curled into a sweet smile. Looks like this lady didn't find the wrong house, huh? She held out an exquisite gift box with both hands. Mu Chen, happy birthday to you. Seeing me standing there dazed without reacting, she tilted her head and softly asked, aren't you going to invite your bestie in for a bit? She was my high school classmate. She probably heard about my situation from the class group chat, which is why she chose today to come to my door. Su Xiaonuan looked at this fairy-like sister, then looked back at me standing there like a statue. Her small face lit up with gossip, a mischievous smile. Like a little impy, she leaned close to me, tugging my shirt and whispering in a breezy voice, hey, is that pretty sister your girlfriend? This house was tiny, so Ye Qinghuan couldn't possibly have missed that. In her eyes, a flash of shyness and embarrassment passed through. She quickly turned away, pretending to look at the scenery, trying to act calm as if nothing happened. But her bright red earlobes completely betrayed her. However, my next answer was like a bucket of cold water. No, she isn't. In truth, how could my heart not be moved? A rich young lady sought after by everyone like her, with a personality and looks that were perfectly flawless. But a walking corpse like me, what right do I have to talk about love? Xiao Nuan couldn't understand the complex feelings of adults. She pulled me straight toward the electronic keyboard. I took the chance to sit down at the keys. My slender fingers began to fly across the keyboard, the music melodious and smooth like a flowing stream. Ye Qinghuan was immediately and deeply captivated by this melody. Even the slight disappointment from before was tossed aside. As the song ended, the lingering notes still drifted. Su Xiaonuan excitedly clapped her small hands until they were red. Brother, your playing is so amazing. This is Mu Yao's new song. Isn't it? All the girls in my class sing this song every single day. I just smiled and didn't give an answer. After all, only I knew for sure that this was a masterpiece of that world. At the same time, inside the massive manor, Mu Yao was still awake, sitting by the piano. The soft light draped over her body, and along with the melodious piano tune, she shone like an elegant queen. As she gradually immersed herself in the music, the playing became more and more atmospheric. After the beautiful piece concluded, Butler Liu, standing nearby, couldn't help but applaud. Whenever she finished a perfect performance like this, she couldn't help but reminisce about the past, back when she was only 7 years old, watching a piano master on the screen, whose fingers glided passionately across the keys, playing powerful musical chapters. She fell deeply in love with this instrument. Now she's worshipped by fans as a maestro, but when she first started touching the piano, she was considered by her teacher to have zero talent. Initially, her musical perception was very poor, not nearly as sharp as other kids her age. Next was the insufficient length of her fingers. To become a true piano maestro, long slender hands are a prerequisite. That's what the teacher said during the first lesson. Back then, she was always at the bottom among her peers, until my appearance changed her life. Even until now, she still can't forget that boy. The first time he saw her play, that boy had the same conditions as her. My fingers weren't long or slender either, but I still played that piece perfectly. It was from that very day that Mu Yao started a silent rivalry with me. She believed that if a guy, poor brat like me, could do it, she also believed she could definitely do even better. So she regained her confidence and began to practice the piano rigorously. Afterwards, she gradually surpassed her peers and earned the recognition of that maestro. She was even invited to perform at the famous Grand Theater to play alongside her teacher in a piano duet. She still remembers how lucky she was back then. You have to know that her piano teacher was a top artist in the country who had once swept every championship in major national competitions. And yet, she wasn't even his star pupil. There were several older students whose level and technique were a full tier above hers at that time. Even though she desperately craved this opportunity, she knew there was only one slot, and the chances were she wouldn't be picked. But who could have guessed that at the last minute, the teacher decided to use a lottery to choose a student at random to share the stage. As if blessed by the goddess of luck, Mu Yao was chosen just like that. She still remembers clearly in the Grand Theater, her piano teacher, who usually had a short temper, was extremely patient throughout the entire performance. Furthermore, when playing the duet, the teacher constantly tried to match her rhythm, acting as her support the entire time, leaving all the spotlight on stage for her. Even though it was her first time on stage, performing in front of a massive audience, she quickly adapted to the rhythm. Her whole being became incredibly confident, no longer fearing the eyes watching from the audience. The moment the music ended, the teacher gave the center of the stage to her. She bowed with grace, neither arrogant nor insecure. After the media captured this moment, they all gave extremely high praise in their articles, saying the stage seemed to be custom-made for her. After officially going through that performance, Mu Yao no longer doubted her own talent. What do you think? After playing, she habitually called my name. Only then did she suddenly realize that after so many years together day and night, she had long since become accustomed to it. Accustomed to the fact that when she practiced alone I was always there by her side, whenever she felt tired of playing. Silently watching me perform a piece could always make her feel relaxed and comfortable. Thinking of this, a flicker of regret appeared in her heart. Regret that during the discussion about whether I should stay or leave, she had voted yes. But thinking about it from another perspective, all of this was for her biological brother after all. Besides, I never originally belonged to the Mu family. Kicking me out seemed like the natural thing to do. Very quickly, she thought of a way to have the best of both worlds. She heard that my current family situation wasn't good, even bordering on destitute. She thought she could pay to hire me back as a practice partner. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but feel smug. However, she decided to wait a few days before contacting me. After all, they had just kicked me out of the house. Hiring me to come back immediately with money made her feel a bit awkward to bring up. Just as she stood up to go to bed, she caught sight of the camera placed nearby. This was something she specifically requested to be put there, partly to record daily life, and partly to review her performances afterward, to see if there was anything to improve. She had also used the footage from this camera to secretly study my playing techniques. So she immediately thought of the fact that there might still be videos of me from recently. In truth, it had been too long since she last watched me play. So she told Butler Liu to draw the curtains and project my most recent performance onto the screen. The moment the familiar melody played, Yu Yao froze on the spot. Her face was filled with utter disbelief. She repeatedly confirmed the specific timestamp of the video. After that, her mind felt like it was struck by a bolt of lightning. The piece I was playing in the video was the exact new song she had just released half a month ago. But the recording time of this performance was actually even earlier than when she composed the song a whole week earlier. At this time back at my house, I had just finished playing a piece. Mom also just brought the final dish to the table, but while we were eating together, Ye Qinghuan keenly realized something was wrong. There seemed to be a distance between us now. She could only keep comforting herself, thinking that since I'd faced so many upheavals lately, I must still be slowly adjusting to everything. Maybe in just a day or two, I would return to the way I was before. Right after finishing the meal, I didn't delay for a second and used the excuse of washing dishes to hide in the kitchen. This made Ye Qinghuan feel very frustrated. Auntie, then I'll head out now. Ye Qinghuan felt more wronged the more she thought about it. After all, she had put so much effort into the birthday gift. Yet my attitude toward her, I didn't even bother to say a single thank you. However, as she reached out to open the door, in her heart, she still hoped I would offer to walk her out if I just spoke up now. She would generously forget the unpleasantness from earlier. Based on the many years we spent together, she was certain that I definitely would, but reality slapped her right in the face. Until the moment she closed the main door in disappointment. I still stood in the kitchen without making a move. Ye Qinghuan's voice was so frustrated she was about to cry. She secretly swore in her heart that she would never casually buy breakfast for me again. At least not this week, absolutely no way. Brother, that sister seems to be angry. I also knew full well that my actions just now were too much. Right at that moment, the doorbell suddenly rang. I quickly dried my hands and ran to open the door, thinking I should at least say sorry to her. But the person standing outside wasn't Ye Qinghuan. Why are you standing there blocking the door? Move aside and let eldest sister in to talk. Moyulu also coldly spoke up. Why did you block my number and Yu Yao's? She has an urgent matter, but couldn't get in touch with you at all. Hearing the words eldest sister, I just found it ridiculous. Sorry, who are you referring to? Excuse me, may I ask who exactly you are, Mu Yulu? Heard this and a flash of disgust crossed her eyes. Are you still throwing a tantrum because you were kicked out? I'm telling you, there's no need for this act. You were never actually a member of our Mu family. By this point, you know the truth well enough. Are you still trying to deceive yourself and others pretending not to know, having the thick skin to keep clinging to our family? Moyulu put on that superior face again. If it were before, maybe I would have felt heartbroken and sad, but the current me has long since stopped caring, just as I was about to close the door and kick them out. My mom heard the noise and invited them in. Mom didn't know anything about the bad blood between us. Mu Yulu stepped into the living room in her high heels, her eyes full of disdain as she scanned the place once. For someone used to living in a luxurious mansion like her, could this tiny cramped space even be called a living room? It wasn't even as large as her storage room. I won't beat around the bush with you anymore. I've brought all your personal stuff from your room. Wei Yao has some issues with the piano she wants to consult you on. From now on, come to her place every weekend to practice for 2 days. I'll cover all your university tuition for the next few years. In addition, I'll pay you a salary. You name the conditions, how much do you want? 30 million or 50 million, it's all fine. The reason she was so generous, offering those conditions, was absolutely not out of sibling affection. She purely viewed paying the tuition as an investment. As for those tens of millions in part-time wages, it's nothing more than charity for a malnourished loser like me. After hearing those peak arrogant Words a hint of hesitation flashed across my face. This wasn't because I was swayed by the tuition and the salary, but because a certain person suddenly popped into my head. Yu Yao used to be strong and unyielding. To ever give in like that, while that salary of tens of millions was nothing more than charity for a malnourished brat like me. After hearing these utterly arrogant words, a hint of hesitation flashed across my face. This wasn't because I was moved by the tuition money or the salary, but because a certain person suddenly came to mind. Such great pieces of music. Anymore, she'll likely fall back into the abyss of the past. Drained of inspiration and stuck in a creative deadlock, she will start to doubt her own talent and basic abilities. Eventually, she'll just give up entirely, like when she was a kid. But I quickly snuffed out this pity. The heartless decision to kick me out of the house back then was made because those dear sisters of mine all voted together. They never saw me as real family. Why should I lower myself to worry about them? Seeing that I didn't immediately refuse like usual, Mu Yulu couldn't help but let out a cold smirk. She thought she had completely seen through my games, thinking that my previous toughness was just a ploy to demand more money. But just as she was feeling smug, I didn't hesitate to mock her, asking me to go back to that stinking trash heap to play. Sorry, it makes me nauseous and I'm afraid of the filth. I won't set foot in that dump ever again, not even half a step. Besides, there's truly no connection left between us. Could you two please stop being so persistent in my house? As soon as I spoke, the entire living room fell dead silent. She's all excellent. The assistant following her looked at me in disbelief. Is there something wrong with your head or are you crazy? If you miss this chance offered by CEO Mu, you will definitely regret it for the rest of your life. In the eyes of that pragmatic assistant, as long as I bowed my head and admitted fault, even if it meant staying at the Mu house under a different status, I could surely climb the social ladder later, bringing my mother and sister along to enjoy a life of luxury. Muyulu suppressed her rage and pointed at my face, shouting, Muchen, I'm being merciful and giving you one last chance. Immediately and obediently bow your head to apologize, then every weekend get lost and go escort your second sister to practice. Those generous terms I just offered are still valid, but I only replied to her with a single extremely decisive get out. Muyulu stormed out in a rage, slamming the door. Sitting in the car, she swore to draw a complete line and focus entirely on preparing for the grand welcoming party for her precious younger brother, Mu Xuan. Just at this moment, her phone received a payment invoice, a deduction of exactly 530,000 Vietnamese dong, all coming from Mu Xuan. The invoice didn't specify the exact purpose of the spending. To her, this amount of money was nothing more than a drop in the bucket. This new younger brother had been wandering outside suffering for 20 years. So consider this a small compensation from an older sister. Meanwhile, Mu Yao discovered some shocking news. She called her former mentor to chat, but actually to find out the truth. My piano talent actually far exceeded hers. That performance on stage back then was absolutely not due to a lucky draw, but because I had proactively given up that slot for her. This made her immediately recall when I once asked her, will our family stay together forever? The following night fell. I stepped onto the university campus. Yesterday, my mind was constantly calculating one thing. What should I do with the rest of my life to make it truly meaningful? But in this society, you can't do anything without money. I have to accumulate in the shortest time possible a large amount of wealth to live a new life. My head is full of business opportunities. For example, crazily buying the dip on real estate in the city center, or pouring capital into high potential dark horse stocks. But the payback period for these investments is way too long. Very soon after, I targeted a shortcut to make money quickly. So I signed up to join the freshman welcoming party tonight and happened to run into Ye Qinghuan right on campus. The two of us headed toward the party stage hall together right now. Inside the stage hall, spacious and bright, the shimmering and brilliant lights had already converged on the main stage. As one of the top universities in the country, the scale of this freshman welcoming party could be said to be extremely grand. The school had invited many famous media outlets to report live, while also opening an official live stream on popular social media platforms. Currently, the performance hasn't officially opened yet, but the number of viewers flooding into the live stream room has already exceeded 1,000 people. As soon as I reached the hall, I was caught by the sharp-eyed counselor. He dragged us straight into the backstage area. While resting, Ye Qinghuan looked at me with a face full of doubt. Normally, I'm clearly an extremely low-key person. Yet this time I made an exception and signed up to perform on stage. During prep, the counselor leaned in and asked me, tonight's freshman welcoming party is extremely important. The school leadership arranged for you to be the first one on stage to open. Mu Chen, are you 100% sure about this? Hearing that, I calmly nodded. Teacher, rest assured. Just leave it to me. I feel my piano skills are good enough to debut before everyone. Not long after, the freshman welcoming party officially began. The Host showed clear amazement seeing me sit before the piano. Word is the piece I'm about to perform is an entirely original composition. In the audience, people were buzzing. Who is this kid that's so arrogant, original? Piano music. Does he actually have top tier skills? If you don't even know this, then you're seriously out of the loop. He's the younger brother of Jiang Cheng's richest person, Mu Chen, but word is a few days ago, the real young master was found. The Mu family already issued a notice cutting ties with him. With the sharp sound of a switch, the brilliant lights on the stage suddenly went out. The entire studio fell deathly silent, so quiet that even a pin dropping could be heard. A dazzling spotlight beamed down from above, locking its glow right on me. I followed the light, walking toward the piano. In the center of the stage, he leisurely and elegantly sat down on the piano bench, opened the lid, and casually adjusted the microphone's angle. In the silent atmosphere, thousands of people present held their breath and watched. A clear piano sound like a mountain spring began to ring out. A beautiful melody that no one here had ever heard before caused all the teachers and students in the hall to look at each other in shock. They turned and asked one another. Originally, they had come with the intent to see a joke, thinking this original piece was just some cheap patchwork. Never in a million years did they expect this kid to have such genuine talent. The gentle notes gradually filled the massive studio. Through this melodious rising and falling piano sound, the audience seemed to see sunlight streaming through the stained glass of a church, softly resting on a bride's wedding dress. A perfect couple, gazing deeply into each other's eyes, their looks overflowing with love. Right at the moment they were about to take their vows before the priest, the joyful piano sound suddenly turned somber and melancholy. The beautiful wedding picture painted just moments ago, at this very second, suddenly became illusory and fragile like a reflection in a mirror or ripples in water. It was as if all the good things were nothing more than a vain dream. A burger, famous person invited to attend, shouted from the audience. May I ask what this divine piece is actually called? Dream Wedding. As the piece ended, I bowed and left the stage. The university's freshman welcoming ceremony continued to proceed according to the schedule. In the online world that no one noticed this piano solo created a massive seismic wave. The high-quality video of me playing was spreading like wildfire across the internet. The keyword Dream Wedding surged straight into the top trending searches. Oh my god, this is just too cool. Those long, slender fingers of his tapping down aren't piano keys at all. Every beat hits my heartstrings perfectly. Why can't this piece be found on any major platforms? Don't tell me it's a brand new original piece, released exclusively as a limited edition. As the hype for the piano piece exploded exponentially, the country's giant music websites finally couldn't sit still anymore. They sent their music directors to rush to our school that very night, determined to secure the exclusive rights at all costs. Meanwhile, right now is the welcoming banquet to celebrate Mu Xuan's return. Mu Yulu held a wine glass in her hand, wondering why she couldn't see her second sister anywhere in the hall. It was clearly planned for her to play to thank the guests. But at that moment, that director had already blocked me backstage. Hello, Mu Chen. It's a pleasure to meet you. We are extremely eager to buy the exclusive streaming rights for this song. I wonder if you're interested in collaborating, he went on, and on offering very attractive profit sharing schemes. Even if he were beaten to death, he wouldn't expect me to agree so readily. I plan to sell the full copyright of this piece to him. This was absolutely a deal with a massive ROI. Just as we were about to settle on a final price, the lounge door was suddenly pushed open violently. Mu Chen, definitely don't sell it. You have to think long term. Don't just look at this chump change. The person who barged in was none other than my dear second sister, Yu Yao. After watching the live stream, she rushed straight here in a frenzy. I know you're in need of money now that you've been kicked out of the house, but you absolutely must not be short-sighted and sell off all the copyrights like that. As long as you hold onto this piece, it will become even more valuable. I didn't even spare her a single glance, or did I answer? Immediately, only coldly asking a question back. Back when I was forced to pack up and get out of the Mu house, you also voted in favor, didn't you? Hearing that, Mu Yao clearly froze. Then with reddened eyes, she guiltily nodded. Witnessing this act of hers, my heart didn't feel a single spark of emotion. Toward that cold-blooded nature, I had long since given up hope. Mu Yao, at this moment, was choked up with things she wanted to say. Mu Chen, do you know how much I've suffered lately? Without you by my side to practice with, I haven't slept all night. Can I still invite you to play together like we used to? I really miss the days when we sat together. Back then, our relationship was clearly so wonderful. Just as she was getting emotional, I loudly interrupted her. That nonsense you're spewing has nothing to do with me. If you want to play, get back to your luxurious mansion and play there. Don't come in front of me acting all crazy and losing your mind. Mu Yao faced with these words of mine. She who was standing there with a superior attitude couldn't have imagined in her wildest dreams that I would show such intense disgust toward her. Before, with just a casual call, he would come to me immediately. I could ignore the sun and rain to stay by your side practicing for over 10 years. Throughout those 10 long years in the river of time. Even if I was sick with a high fever, I was never late by even half a second. Actually, in her heart, she knows better than anyone. Before, I used to consider playing for her to be my life's greatest treasure. But what's with this cold gaze now? The massive contrast made Yu Yao's eyes even redder. Mu Chen, how did you become so cold-blooded? Before, you never had the heart to scold me with this tone. I truly love listening to you play. In the future, can you spend a little more time with me? Just a bit more hearing these disgusting words. I was so angry I actually laughed. Is my brain broken? Or did this group of people all get amnesia together? Before, who was it that called me the trash of the Mu family? Who said I was a useless eyesore at home and joined forces to kick me out? After mercilessly kicking me into the gutter, now that you see me in glory, you run back to remember my good points. Do you people even have any shame? I spoke up, coldly, without holding back. First, if your brain is sick, go register for a psychiatric exam immediately. Don't stay here trying to claim kin. You and I aren't close at all. After saying that, I pressed the button for security right in front of her. I dialed the number for the security room. This is the backstage during break time. There's an irrelevant loiterer here acting crazy and harassing me. Please send some people to kick her out. Hanging up the phone, I looked down at her arrogantly. Second, my business is none of your concern. So stop bossing me around. My life is very precious. I don't want to waste my little remaining time bickering with a fake person like you. As for Mu Xuan, so much resentment surged in my heart. He didn't expect the situation to completely spiral out of control like this. In the past, she relied on being spoiled and caused drama more than a few times, even repeatedly trampling on my self-respect without any mercy. Every time, as long as she gave a superficial apology, I would immediately and unconditionally forgive her. The next day, the two would make up as if nothing happened. That's why she arrogantly thought that if she just bowed her head, then this time would be just like countless times before. As long as she humbled herself to admit fault, I'd have to be grateful and indebted, then continue practicing the piano with her. Therefore, she couldn't understand even if she racked her brain. Why, after she humbled herself to personally come apologize, I dared to give her such a humiliating cold shoulder, just as she suppressed the shock and humiliation in her heart, intending to act like an older sister to continue the gaslighting. The security guards on duty burst into the lounge. Miss, may I ask if you are a student of this school? If not, please cooperate and leave here immediately. On Yu Yao's face, a look of anxiety finally appeared. She took a step forward, seemingly still wanting to justify something, but I had already lost patience and put on noise-canceling headphones long ago, being completely ignored. A surge of self-pity rose within her, and a sharp needle-like pain spread through her chest. She couldn't understand why the situation had reached this dead end, and even less could she understand why the younger brother who always followed her had undergone such an earth-shattering change. Someone who was always superior like her began to feel a sense of panic. She was terrified that the shadow that had always followed her for so long was now completely detaching from her life at this very moment. Along with the increasingly harsh eviction from the security guard, Mu Yao could only hang her head in humiliation, kicked out of the lounge like a stray dog. By the time she returned to the manor in a daze, the grand welcoming party was slowly coming to an end. Right now, Mu Xuan was standing under the stage lights, performing with all his might. He suddenly spotted his second sister standing stunned in the crowd. He actually thought his singing had conquered his sister's heart. Little did he know, Mu Yao wanted to cry because he sang so poorly. The technique and god-tier piano skills from before had instantly overwhelmed everyone. This biological brother in front of her was now wailing like a ghost and howling like a wolf. The intense contrast made her so frustrated she just wanted to burst into tears. She suffered through the night until noon the next day. The first thing she did after waking up with a start was grab her phone to try and send a message to that chat box. She wanted to confirm whether the other party had removed her from the blacklist yet. But as soon as the phone was unlocked, a news notification popped up. The official music website announces signing a contract with piano genius Mu Chen for 7 billion Vietnamese dong to buy out the full rights to the work Dream Wedding. After reading through the press release that was causing a storm, she couldn't help but shout, "What a total idiot with zero business." Since I exhausted myself, warning him not to be in such a hurry to sell. Based on her sharp eye from years in the entertainment industry, experts estimated that in less than 15 years, just the profit sharing alone would be at least 17.5 billion Vietnamese dong, not to mention the massive profits after 20 or 30 years. This infuriating News made her so heartbroken she couldn't sleep. After being cleansed by that piano solo that shocked the entire internet, she realized my piano technique had reached a masterful level that depth could rival the grandmasters who have topped this field for decades. This realization made her fall into doubt. Could it be that while acting as her practice partner, before he was hiding his true skills? Otherwise, why? Did he suddenly explode right after leaving? Suddenly shine so brightly? Could it be to preserve a shred of my self-respect? After receiving the 7 billion Vietnamese dong in royalty fees, I immediately rushed straight to the hospital to buy a bunch of imported specialized medicine, then squatted on the sidewalk scarfing down a bun. This contrast happened to fall right into Jung Jiashu's sight. If he hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it for the world. The piano genius who easily made 7 billion with one song was in private as ordinary and rough as a manual laborer, strictly following what was clearly written in black and white in the buyout contract. I entered the studio and finished recording Dream Wedding. Jung Jiashu respectfully brought over a cup of premium black tea. Mr. Mu, the money has been transferred to your account, every single cent. The reason he was so attentive to a wet behind-the-ears kid like me is entirely because I'm currently only 20 years old. At the age of 20, to be able to write such a divine masterpiece, who could be sure? This monster didn't have more in stock to drop a second or third explosive track. By taking this chance to dump resources and win me over now, his chances of securing exclusive streaming rights later would definitely be higher. Jung Jiashu excitedly stood up and extended his right hand. Mr. Mu, congratulations on our first successful collaboration. If you have more legendary works like this in the future, I believe you've seen our sincerity. We very much look forward to working with you again. However, his enthusiasm was met with a bucket of cold water. He spoke a long string of polite flattery, while I just sat there like a log, not bothering to respond for even half a second. I didn't even have any intention of standing up to shake hands. This don't give a damn attitude made him secretly annoyed. But having been in the industry for many years, he'd met many who relied on talent to look down on others. Eccentric people with strange personalities are everywhere. Just as he was about to turn and leave, I finally slowly looked up and spoke. Sorry, just now my head was a bit dazed. If you guys are looking forward to our next collaboration that much, then there's no need to waste time waiting for next time. There's no better time than the present. Let's just decide on today. And my next nonchalant sentence caused him to be so shocked his jaw dropped, unable to speak. I still have another complete score in my bag. In terms of quality, it's absolutely not inferior to Dream Wedding. By even an inch. As soon as I finished, the studio suddenly fell dead silent. Not only was Jung Jiashu shocked to his core, but even the recording technician nearby had his eyes go wide. In their hands, a masterpiece like Dream Wedding would definitely become a classic, legendary piece in the future. To write such music at only 20 years old already qualifies someone as an outstanding genius. Yet right before their eyes, I declared that I was hiding another divine track of the same caliber. How could this not leave people in absolute shock? The expression on Jung Jiashu's face right now was truly a sight to behold. This was like finding a living, breathing treasure. If he could really produce another divine track of equal rank, then just how terrifyingly high were this monster's musical talent and composing skills. But for a superstar descended to earth shining so brilliantly, why was there no fame in the industry for the past 20 years? He suppressed his excitement and respectfully invited me to sit down, unable to wait any longer to personally hear this mysterious piece. When my hands glided over the keys, countless dense notes poured out as clearly as a flash flood, breaking a dam. Immediately after, the piano sound shifted into a frenzy so intense it felt insane. The moment I touched the keys, I seemed to transform into a different person, as if I were using this music to frantically vent all my frustrations with destiny, venting every single emotion, frantically until exhausted. Jung Jiashu was so moved his entire body trembled. He had truly picked up an invaluable treasure. The Dream Wedding piece, with its beautiful melody, the only weakness people criticized was its low difficulty level. But this technical showcase piece right now was the complete opposite. The hand speed was dizzying, looking exactly like the fingers were fighting each other. At the same time, in the grand but cold Mu family manner, Mu Yulu stood outside Mu Yao's room, knocking for a long time. Yu Yao, stop sleeping. Hurry out and come downstairs for dinner. However, when the room door slowly opened, Mu Yao, with disheveled hair, stepped out like a soulless corpse. This pathetic state made Mu Yulu startle. Yu Yao, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? But she quickly guessed where the knot lay. Is it because of that ungrateful Mu Chen? Did you sneak off to see him last night? He said harsh things to you again, didn't he? I'll go vent your anger for you right now. Mu Yulu felt that if she herself suffered At Mu Chen's hands, so be it after all her past. Negligence caused Mu Chen some grief. But her second sister, what did she ever do wrong to him? Yu Yao heard this and burst into sobs. Sister, tell me, were those songs really written by me? Can I really write those golden melodies? Mu Yulu was stunned hearing this, hurrying to reassure her. Of course, besides you, who else could? Hearing these words, Mu Yao sobbed even harder. It's Mu Chen. He wrote all of them for me. Are you confused from a fever? How could that ungrateful guy know how to compose? Mu Yulu completely didn't understand what she was raving about. Mu Chen had lived in the Mu house for over 10 years, and she'd never heard of him having such talent. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if he actually knew how to play the piano, then what does that have to do with the songs? Written for you ever since Mu Chen blocked me. Manhwa has also stopped replying to my messages, so I dare to assert that Manhwa is Mu Chen. Mu Yulu was stunned for a moment upon hearing that, then she suddenly remembered who Manhwa was. He had custom-tailored so many divine tracks for her sister. The quality of every single piece was absurdly high. All of them were phenomenal hits that swept the music charts. Mu Yulu had also wanted to find this benefactor to reward them on her sister's behalf. But this person had never appeared in public. Furthermore, for all these years, Manhwa only had one-way contact with her via the internet. If you say this mysterious big shot is Mu Chen, Mu Yulu wouldn't believe it even if she were beaten to death. There's absolutely no way. This must be a coincidence. He absolutely cannot have such outstanding talent. But before she could finish, her sister interrupted. Mu Chen really does have such world-shaking talent. Maybe you haven't had time to follow the news on Vanningu recently. Mu Chen just composed a divine track, and even my mentor has nothing but praise for it. The largest music platform in the country, Yehua, is spending a massive amount to buy it. Mu Yulu truly didn't care about Vanningu news, but after hearing her sister's shocking explanation, the first thought that popped into her head was how deep the schemes of this ungrateful Mu Chen were. Living in the Mu house for over 10 years and playing dead without producing half a song. Yet the moment he's kicked out, he runs off to show off. Right then, Mu Yulu received a call from her lawyer. President Mu, the matter you asked me to quietly investigate now has a lead. Regarding the old case of Mu Chen harassing a female college student spreading online the hard evidence confirms that girl fabricated it. Mu Chen was wrongly accused from start to finish. We have found that girl's account once received a sum of black money. The sender was clearly the name of her biological brother Mu Xuan. Faced with this nuclear bomb of news that shattered her worldview, Mu Yulu, who was always decisive, now sank deep into self-reproach. Remembering when the scandal broke back then, she only relied on prejudiced impressions and insisted Mu Chen did it. To gag him and protect the Mu family's fake reputation, she had arrogantly stripped Mu Chen of his right to clear his name. Just as the Mu family was in turmoil, the internet exploded again. Keywords about the music website purchasing a new piano track suddenly leaped to the top of the hot search rankings across the web. This scene directly left the drama-hungry netizens dazed. Good lord, what's triggered this guy? How are these divine tracks being mass-produced like chickens laying eggs, and he's maintaining a crazy release speed of one song a day? Just who exactly? Is this guy named Mu Chen? At this moment, I was hiding in the park on the mountain behind school, leaning on the railing watching the lake. Adults were taking children boating, perhaps because my soul had endured 2 lifetimes of loneliness. I had more than a few times longed for a family bond like that. Mu Chen Yo, king of skipping class. As expected, you're hiding here. Why didn't I see you in class today? A familiar, clear female voice interrupted my train of thought. Ye Qinghuan was standing below the steps, reaching her hand out toward me. Why are you standing there like a log? Hurry up and give this young lady a hand. Hearing that, I leaned over and reached out to pull her up. Unexpectedly, when my hand applied force, I almost tumbled into the lake. Mu Chen, are you okay? Why has your strength become so weak? I gasped for air after hearing those mindless words. Suddenly, my heart tightened. Everything shattered in the blink of an eye. If not for this terminal illness, I could have bravely accepted Ye Qinghuan's feelings. In the future, I would also have so many opportunities to leisurely go boating with my mother and sister. However, this casual and sincere question from Ye Qinghuan instantly pulled me from a beautiful dream back to cold reality. A walking corpse like me doesn't deserve such luxury. Wishes right now. Mu Chen, you are seriously too amazing now. I heard one of your songs sold for 7 billion. Right now, all of social media is going crazy, hailing you as a genius. While I can't even understand the music, coldly and decisively I spoke up. Qinghuan, I don't know what our relationship is considered right now. If we're lovers, then let's break up. Yeah. Qinghuan's mind went blank the moment she heard that. She never imagined, even in her dreams, that I would say those words to her. Is it because I did something wrong to make you mad? You're not at fault. It's because I've changed. When I sat in that high-end office signing, contracts with those people. Do you know what kind of future they painted for me? They promised me that in the future, I would collaborate with many better musicians and stars. I will officially step into a completely new high society. So I will absolutely not give up these things for you. Ye Qinghuan's slender figure trembled. Her eyes turned red in an instant. These heartless words pierced her heart like poisoned needles. As she suppressed her tears and looked up, I had already left long ago. As I dragged my soulless and dazed body back home, I collapsed onto the old tattered sofa like a pile of mud. Mom heard the noise and sadly approached her son. It's very drafty on the sofa. Don't sleep here. You'll easily catch a cold. Listen to me, go to bed and get some good sleep. Seeing that I was so tired, I'd fallen into a deep sleep. Mom intended to pull the blanket from under me to cover me. However, as soon as she used a little force, her eyes instantly reddened. She painfully realized that her son's weight had become so light. I don't know just how much suffering you've had to endure out there anymore. Right in this moment of extreme heartbreak, a series of urgent knocks suddenly rang out from the door. Please open the door for me. Is anyone home? The uninvited guest was the eldest sister, Mu Yulu. She came to the door plotting to negotiate a private compensation to suppress public opinion. However, this appearance of hers absolutely wasn't due to a spark of conscience, but merely to gag me and stop me from mentioning the Mu family in public. It was after she was stung by the words of the second sister, Mu Yao, that her face darkened as she scrolled through all the hot search keywords. She was certain that I had become a sensation thanks to those 2 piano tracks. Currently, I had suddenly become the absolute center of the internet storm. If I chose the right time, with this peak traffic to dig up old stories, it would definitely cause a massive negative impact on the Mu family's reputation. To show her sincerity, this time she didn't even bring an assistant. Her makeup and outfit were all disguised in the gentlest style possible. My mother, having wiped her tears, quickly opened the door. When she clearly saw the person outside was Mu Yulu, her kind face instantly darkened. You, immoral CEO, what are you doing showing your face here? Seeing her attitude toward her was so poor, the fake smile on Mu Yulu's face suddenly stiffened. But as a seasoned veteran in the business world, she quickly regained her composure. The unpleasantness last time was just a small misunderstanding between Mu Chen and me. I'm here today because I want to have a calm talk with Mu Chen. I just stopped by the university but didn't see him anywhere. I thought my brother must be home by now. While speaking, Mu Yulu took advantage of Mom's daze to slip into the house. Here are some small gifts. Please don't be a stranger. She took 2 boxes of premium tea brought from the manor and set them firmly on the old peeling tea table. Unexpectedly, Su Huilan picked up the tea boxes from the table, pushed them away, and told her to take them. Who wants these rotten charity items of yours? This action left Mu Yulu stunned on the spot. She secretly cursed this dirt poor family. Had they taken the wrong medicine? Why did everyone have a temper like gunpowder? In Mu Yulu's high and mighty impression, Su Huilan was supposed to be a gentle person who was easily bullied. Why did the attitude of this person at the bottom of society suddenly change like this? Auntie, I truly want to find your son this time. I want to solemnly apologize to my former younger brother. I admit I didn't handle things well in the past, because this time Mu Yulu humbled herself to find Mu Chen. Besides the pressure to apologize, she also had a favor to ask. So she had to swallow her pride and try to be patient. If it were a normal day, this demon would have flipped her lid on the spot. Hearing that the other party came to apologize, Mom's face softened significantly. But due to her vigilance, she still wanted to kick her out. Mom, do you remember? Last time this woman also said she came to apologize. Didn't she keep saying she came to our door to apologize and make up? But in the end, didn't she still turn hostile and make a scene to the point of no return? Just as Su Huilan was about to order the guest out, I pushed the door open and walked in. Mom, who are you arguing with? Mu Yulu stepped forward in front of me. Can I go into your room and talk with you? I didn't even bother to spare her a glance, stepping back half a pace to close the door. Unexpectedly at this moment, my strength couldn't even match Mu Yulu's. She gripped the doorknob tightly and said, "Do you know that? After you left, your second sister's condition became very bad. She hasn't closed her eyes for days, especially after meeting you that night. She's been like a lost soul, unable to eat or sleep, locking herself in her room all day." I replied to her with total indifference. But what does that have to do with me? Having been continuously mocked by Su Huilan Mu Yulu, who had been enduring it all this time, finally snapped, perhaps in her subconscious, I was still that obedient little brother from before. She immediately raised her voice. Is your heart made of stone? Yu Yao is already in that state, yet you can still say such sarcastic things. I've humbled myself to beg you so many times. What exactly do you want? Do you even have a conscience at all? As she finished, a loud bang echoed in my ears. A heart-wrenching pain surged in an instant, so painful that I couldn't even make a sound. Mu Yulu still maintained her eldest sister attitude. In the past, there were many things where I was indeed lacking. I accept that you hate me. But on what basis do you treat Yu Yao like that? That night, did you scold her or did you even lay your hands on her? Otherwise, she wouldn't have become such a wreck. I can endure everything else. But you have to make this clear today. At this point, Mu Yulu's face was full of disappointment. Previously, she saw me, carefully cherishing the old items they threw at me, thinking I valued this family bond deeply. It seems she was just being sentimental. By now, I had regained my composure. Is your brain waterlogged? The day I left, didn't you guys pop champagne to celebrate? How should I know why she suddenly got sick? Besides, you've said it yourself. Mu Yulu heard this, and the unjustified anger in her heart could no longer be contained. Enough, you ungrateful brat. She raised her hand, intending to give me a slap across the face like before. Instead, I grabbed her wrist, firmly, without any hesitation. She stumbled backwards. How did it end up like this? Have you even asked the person involved? Mu Yulu, who was dizzy from being pushed, suddenly froze upon hearing these words. It was true. She had indeed never asked about the cause of Mu Yao's illness. She only saw her sister's miserable state and assumed it was all my fault. Get out of my house right now. As soon as I spoke, another sharp pain in my head surged. So painful I couldn't help but clutch my head tightly. You dare talk to me like that? Before Mu Yulu could finish her sentence, she noticed something was wrong with me. Mu Chin, are you okay? She suddenly remembered the malnutrition issue. Quickly, sit down and rest. Tomorrow I'll book a specialist to check on you. After saying these words, she felt a secret sense of relief. Mu Yulu felt that as long as she did this much, whatever happened to my health in the future would have nothing to do with her anymore. As for what happened before, I was indeed wrong. I've investigated thoroughly. It was that girl who fabricated the slander against you. But it's all in the past now. Don't bring that up again when you're out. You're throwing a tantrum and being difficult, isn't it, just over those trivial matters from when you left the Mu family. As long as you agree to these conditions of mine, I can allow you to return to the Mu house. She had calculated everything before coming here. She considered it a form of compensation. Once I returned to the Mu house, I could naturally stay by my second sister's side. To Mu Yulu, everything was seen through the eyes of a businesswoman. I was a highly valuable investment. After weighing the pros and cons, Mu Yulu made this decision. But to return to the Mu house, I have one condition. You must apologize to me and your second sister. After all, when you return, we're still family. The heartless things you said before, and the things you did were a bit overboard. Mu Yulu started acting superior again. She had always missed an obedient younger brother like I was before, so even though she had made a concession, she still had to find a way to teach me a lesson. I almost went crazy with rage. I really don't understand where she gets that blind confidence from. What the hell are you saying? Being in sick, agonizing pain was already enough to make me annoyed, yet I still have to listen to a total moron here, making such arrogant statements. It made it impossible for me to suppress my anger. Ever since that phone call of yours, have I ever said a single word about wanting to go back? Who gave you the delusion to be so self-satisfied? On the contrary, it's you who acts like you're on something every day, every few weeks. You run over here looking for trouble to satisfy yourself. Is your head filled with bean dregs? Mu Yulu immediately flew into a rage after hearing that. Anyway, I've said all I had to say, nice or not. I've shown more than enough. Mercy, it's your own fault for being useless. The Mu house is somewhere you can forget about entering again. Even if you knelt and begged me, it would be useless. I actually burst out laughing from anger. Then I'm truly grateful to you. Just thinking about not being able to go back to the Mu house makes me want to cry myself to death. Oh, right. Besides not letting me back home. Can you hurry up and get the hell out of here? Don't come here and be an eyesore to me ever again. If that were possible, I'd rather not even have the status to see you once. Mu Yulu was trembling all over with rage. Combined with the painful kick from earlier, it made her grit her teeth in fury. As the richest person in Jiangcheng personally, coming to apologize and humbling herself at the door. Not only was I not grateful, but I even treated her like a punching bag to vent my anger. How could she not hear the sarcasm in my words? But she still insisted on believing that I wanted to return to the Mu family. Going back to the Mu house, other things aside, at least the living environment was 100 times better than this shithole. Right then, her phone started vibrating in her pocket. She intended to hang up directly, but when she saw the caller was Yu Yao. What's wrong, sup? On the other end, Mu Yao anxiously asked, sis, how did the talk with Mu Chen go? Is he willing to come home? Hearing that, Mu Yulu's face instantly hardened, because it was her biological sister calling. She suppressed her anger to explain the situation. In her exaggerated storytelling, there was no shortage of subjective bias. She turned herself into an innocent victim and had already belittled me as an ungrateful brat with no conscience. Standing nearby, I almost burst out laughing, but I didn't even bother to expose her. On the contrary, I hoped she'd keep smearing me like that. to save these two people from bothering me ever again. After Mu Yulu vented all her frustrations, she thought that by saying this, her sister would completely give up. From then on, cutting off all feelings for me, preventing overthinking that would harm her body. But unexpectedly, what no one saw coming was Mu Yao suddenly bursting into tears on the other end. Then she pleaded for the speakerphone to be turned on. Mu Chen, I know you've suffered, but please don't be angry with Big Sis anymore, okay? You know what her personality is like? Listen to her and come home with her, I beg you. Before Mu Yulu could scold her sister for being useless and humbling herself to an outsider like that, I directly snatched the phone. Take your big sister and get the hell away from me. On the other side, Ye Qinghuan returned home in a daze. Originally, she had to skip class to find me outside school. In the end, she even skipped the evening self-study session entirely. She locked her bedroom door, didn't turn on the lights, and sat blankly. On the edge of the bed, her mind was a mess as old. Memories kept flooding back, recalling that military training period. During freshman year, she vaguely remembered that day being unbearably hot. It was so hot that sweat could be wrung from the military caps. The instructor turned around and brought out a watermelon to treat the whole class. The class thought the instructor had the heart of a saint, but unexpectedly after the watermelon slices were laid out on the ground, everyone realized the instructor's eccentric streak was back. Sure enough, as expected, the instructor excitedly ordered the male and female pairs to stand, facing each other across a slice of watermelon. Then they started playing a small game to test their reflexes. Only when he finished the countdown and shouted, "Eat," could they grab the watermelon slice in front of them. Who knew the instructor would say he's counting down? But the moment he sat down, he shouted, "Start eating." The scene instantly became chaotic. Yet Qinghuan remembered very clearly. At that time, he was distracted and messed up the whole row. I, on the opposite side, had already touched the watermelon slice. That's when she suddenly realized it, just as she thought this slice originally didn't belong to her. I pushed that slice right in front of her. At that moment, she was stunned, until rounds of meaningful cheers and teasing rang out from the crowd. Only then did her face turn red, snapping awake as if from a dream. Shyly picking up that watermelon slice, thanks to this warm gesture, I was teased by everyone around as having the priority privilege to pick a lover. A faint smile had just appeared on her lips when the incident from 12th grade flashed in her mind. At that time, she was walking home after school, when suddenly a middle-aged man with a knife rushed out. She and that person had no grudge, didn't even know each other, and had never met, but that man acted like he'd gone mad. As soon as he saw her, he swung his knife and charged. Pedestrians screamed and scattered in all directions, only daring to watch from a distance, at most helping by calling the police. At that time, I didn't hesitate for a single second, decisively tossed my bike aside, grabbed a mop from a shop door, and fought desperately to knock the knife out of the madman's hand, then joined the bystanders to overpower him. She remembered going with me to the hospital to bandage the wound. She cried, her eyes out sobbing as she asked if I didn't value my life anymore, daring to go head to head with that killer. At that time, I didn't say a word, only continuously and gently comforted her. She still remembered the words she blurted out then. "If anything happens to you, I won't be able to live anymore." At that time, I was both soothing her and advising her to take back those words. It was also on that day that I secretly swore that if I ever fell into such despair again, I would vow to live this life to the fullest. Similar memories were too many to count. Now she was desperately trying to forget them all. But those images followed her like a shadow, making her heart ache. Is it really because you entered a new environment, met new people, that you've had a change of heart? She and I had known each other for 5 years since high school. The feelings she had for me before, I thought were just vague positive impressions. It wasn't until today that she woke up and realized she had been deeply stuck in this relationship for a long time. Love me, love my dog. She loved everything about me. She liked the way I bargained when shopping, liked the way I took huge gulps of Coke, liked the way I quietly read a book. The spark happened in a blink, but the true feelings had run deep for 5 years. Thinking of this, she hurriedly searched for her phone. "Mu Chen, you must be joking." "Right. Those heartless words just now were just to prank me, weren't they? Have you really forgotten everything?" With every text message sent, her firm inner resolve began to waver in panic. She longed and hoped so much. At this moment, she wished I could text back just one sentence, saying that I was only joking with her and that she had seen through me. But the chat interface remained dead silent. After that, she tried to call me. After the first call went unanswered, by the time she called for the second time, she realized she had been blocked. After Mu Yulu was kicked straight out of the house by Mom and me, Mom even warned her loudly, "No matter how big of a boss you are, I don't care. Next time you dare come looking for trouble with my son, I'll call the cops on you immediately." Mu Yulu, fuming with rage, walked out of the building and spotted the supercar parked at the entrance. She was already too familiar with this type of sports car, but this one was uniquely different. This was the one he had personally gifted to Mu Juan at the banquet. Right then, the car window slowly rolled down and Mu Xuan poked his head out with a worried look. Sis, what happened to you? Why are your clothes so dirty? Mu Yulu coldly stepped into the car. It's nothing, just drive. How could she tell someone else about the humiliating moment she was kicked out? However, on the way, Mu Xuan started probing. Did the negotiations fail? In his heart, he was already celebrating, so he took the chance to play the White Lotus role for his sister. Is it because of me? After learning the truth about being adopted, Mu Chen must hate my guts. Even though we've never met and have no grudges, he probably thinks I ruined his whole life, which is why he's in such a rage. Mu Xuan spoke as if he was truly in character. His voice was slightly choked and his face was full of pity. Maybe we should go back, sis. This time I'll go with you to apologize to Mu Chen. As long as we can beg Mu Chen to come home, and as long as second sister can be happy, I'm fine with anything. Even if he hits or scolds me, I'll endure it all. Mu Yulu heard these words, and her blood pressure, which had just stabilized, showed signs of skyrocketing again. She suddenly rolled down the car window. Didn't I tell you to just focus on driving properly? Why bring up that ungrateful brat? Mu Xuan was startled by her reaction. Actually, he really wanted to add one more line. As long as second sister is happy, I'd even be willing to die. But on second thought, that felt too fake. Right then, the phone rang. Mu Yulu answered. Lawyer Liu, is there something you need? President Mu. We have investigated thoroughly. The person behind the slander against Mu Chen is actually your biological younger brother. These words were overheard by Mu Xuan. In a panic, he slammed on the brakes. Mu Yulu was now full of shock. Mu Xuan, why would you do such a thing? She originally thought it was just a coincidence of names. But seeing Mu Xuan's guilty reaction, she understood everything in her heart. But she still had one doubt. When that incident happened 6 months ago, Mu Xuan hadn't even been brought back to the Mu house yet. Why would you suspect me? What profit would I get from doing these things? Didn't I just say it earlier? If you sisters want Mu Chen to return, I'm even willing to go and apologize to him. Mu Yulu felt a bit hesitant hearing that. In truth, she didn't want to dig for the truth. The real young master of the Mu family had been found. That imposter had already kicked rocks. The Mu family could finally get back on track. She didn't want to cause another scene because of Mu Chen. Half an hour later, the manor's layout design, modified over 10 times by a top tiers master from the overall garden layout to the placement of a small rockery, represented the designer's lifeblood at the pavilion in front of the main building facing the entrance. Mu Yao had been waiting for a long time. Seeing the two people get out of the car, her face couldn't hide her joy. But as the two of them got closer, she saw the newcomers' faces clearly. Even though the one returning was her biological brother, a flash of disappointment crossed Mu Yao's eyes. At least at this very moment, she hoped to see Mu Chen and Big Sis more. Mu Yao was just about to speak, but was coldly interrupted by Mu Yulu. Get inside first. All three of them entered the house together. Mu Yao discovered an acquaintance, Huang Mei Ling, sitting in the living room. Huang Mei Ling was already sitting on pins and needles, and seeing Mu Xuan made her tremble even more. Mu Yulu first dismissed the other servants, then spoke with a cold, stern face. Huang Mei Ling, you signed a non-disclosure agreement. This ungrateful behavior of yours, as long as I file a lawsuit, all the money you've earned in your life will be gone in reparations. Huang Mei Ling heard this warning and was so scared her legs shook. Without waiting for details, she confessed everything. Back then, it was indeed Mu Chen's instructions to find a girl to falsely accuse Mu Chen of harassment. The hush money was also transferred by Mu Xuan. These words hit Mu Yao like a bolt from the blue. She couldn't understand why Mu Xuan would do such a thing. Wasn't that something from a year ago? How could it be related to Mu Xuan Shao? But with the truth laid out before her, Mu Yao no longer worried about the timeline. She angrily pointed at Mu Xuan. Why are you so cruel? Do you know how much hurt this caused? Mo Chen Mao. However, before she could even finish her sentence, Mu Yulu slammed her hand on the coffee table. Enough. Do you think this house isn't messy enough, Yu Yao? He is your biological younger brother. He suffered so much out there, all these years with no one to care for him. Can't you show him a little sympathy? Always protecting that outsider. This blatant favoritism from Mu. Yulu left Mu Yao stunned by the scolding. She regained her senses and tried to argue further, but was secretly stopped by Butler Liu. Mu Shen stood aside and breathed a secret sigh of relief. He originally thought he'd be severely punished this time. He didn't expect Big Sis to end the matter like this. Mu Yulu raised her hand, but in the end, she couldn't bring herself to land that slap. From now on, no one is allowed to mention this again. In her eyes, she had already apologized to Mu Chen on his behalf. The storms of the past had long since been buried. There was no need to cause internal friction over an outsider. The whole family living in peace was what mattered most. As for why Mu Zhen pulled this stunt, Mu Yulu roughly understood. Over the years, she had always sent people to find Mu Xuan, checking through many adoptive families. As early as 2 years ago, She had contacted Mushuan's adoptive parents to ask about the status of the adopted boy, but she didn't know what error had occurred, as it took another year to get an accurate answer. During that 1-year gap, she had communicated with the other party many times before confirming the boy was indeed Mu. Xuan then completing the DNA testing process. Only then did she bring her biological brother home. Perhaps during that time, his adoptive parents told Mu Xuan about it. As for Mu Xuan's motive for the crime, she felt it was due to his lack of security, knowing an imposter was taking his place. A momentary impulse to do something foolish was understandable. Seeing her big sister downplay everything like that, Yu Yao instantly understood a lot of things. Big Sis's prejudice against Mu Chen was already ingrained in her marrow. Back then, Mu Chen suffered all kinds of punishments because of this. In Big Sis's version of the story, he had become an irredeemable scumbag. Now Mu Yao finally understood why Mu Chen would rather than come back home. Everything was crystal clear. Yet Big Sis still refused to investigate the truth of Mu Chen's innocence. How could Mu Chen ever be willing to return Yu Yao? Wash your hands for dinner. I'm not hungry, Mu. Yu Yao said coldly and then ordered everyone away. On the way back to her bedroom, she suddenly paused. This matter was the bad stuff Mu Juan did limited to only this one thing. The more she thought about it, the more terrified she felt. In the last year, Mu Chen lived at home. He seemed to cause trouble every other week. The last bit of Big Sis's patience for Mu Chen was completely eroded away during that year. That's why just a few days before Mu Xuan returned, she cruelly made that heartless decision. The next morning, staff from NTC Club showed up at the door. They wanted to use a live stream format to film a show about an artist's daily life. This was a requirement in the 14 billion Vietnamese dong contract. Now that I was a big shot in the piano world plus the existing hype for the show, the stream barely opened before the live view count hit nearly 10,000. Is this dump? Really Mu Chen's house did the production. Team find the wrong address. Definitely the wrong place. This apartment complex looks like a junkyard. Doesn't look like a superstar's residence at all. Then again, the first few episodes of this show were pretty authentic. Everyone don't jump to conclusions. Soon after, I pushed the door open and entered the house. Since I had suffered through cyberbullying, I knew exactly how cruel keyboard warriors could be, so I didn't want my family showing their faces. Today I intentionally arranged to be the only one at home. At first glance, when the host saw me, he couldn't help but secretly doubt, was this really the piano genius who shocked everyone and just made 14 billion? The guy in front of him was dressed super casually, a crew neck sweatshirt paired with faded ankle length pants and a pair of unbranded running shoes. The whole outfit probably didn't even cost 700,000 Vietnamese dong. He had hosted so many seasons of this show. Other artists might look like they're dressing down, but it's actually all expensive designer gear. Some even bring their own private stylist. Someone as broke looking as me was truly a rare sight. This scene gave the netizens a good laugh. This fashion sense is on par with mine. I just went online to find the exact same outfit he's wearing at most. It cost 140,000 Vietnamese dong. Brother Chen just made 14 billion Vietnamese dong these past few days. Is it really necessary to be this stingy? The host asked the standard technical questions according to the script, as well as my psychological journey while composing. I had already prepared my PR answers beforehand, so I replied very smoothly, without showing a single flaw. Then we moved on to the daily life segment. Mu Chen, may I ask where you usually have breakfast? Can you take the viewers in the live stream to see? I nodded, picked up the phone on the table, and led the host outside. Right at this moment, eagle-eyed netizens spotted a strange detail. The phone Mu Chen is using, honestly, I'm speechless. It's an ancient model, looks no different from a recently excavated antique. Even the phone screen is shattered. Where did this beat-up phone that looks like it just came from a battlefield come from? The group quickly headed out to the street. Originally, I planned to splurge a bit today and not take the bus but call a ride-hailing car instead. But when I pulled out that trashed phone to check, there wasn't a single ride-hailing app on it. I couldn't even bear to waste data to download one, so I had to lead the film crew to the bus stop. Unfortunately, it was right during the horrific morning rush hour. Traffic in this area was already very inconvenient. Residents nearby all swarmed to this stop. The film crew saw this massive black crowd and immediately froze on the spot. People sitting, people pushing, people standing. It was packed, creating an incredibly overwhelming scene. The host even felt despair, doubting that he could ever squeeze onto the bus. Suddenly, the crowd began to stir as the bus slowly pulled into the station. The eyes of those waiting became determined, striking a pose as if they'd climb on even if it cost them their lives. Netizens commented like crazy on the screen. Taking the film crew on a bus during the early morning rush. He's definitely the first one in the industry to do this. In music to do that. To be honest, I'm becoming more of a fan of Mu Chen by the second. You don't see any star-like arrogance in him at all. He's just like my struggling college roommate. Luckily, the bus line I plan to take wasn't as fiercely competitive as the others. The film crew followed me onto the bus safely. The bus kept stopping and starting throughout the journey, with passengers squeezed together like canned sardines. After swaying for 5 stops, the host's face turned pale, looking like he was about to puke. Thankfully, I finally got off at the next stop. But it was almost 10 a.m. Usually around this time, I just skip breakfast and combine breakfast and lunch into one. The host nodded in understanding, signaling me to continue leading the way to find good food. But he looked around. There wasn't even a decent eatery nearby. Where on earth was Mu Chen going to eat lunch? And I soon provided the answer. I walked into a dingy old convenience store. At this time, the shop was empty with no customers. This store stays open 24 hours, barely surviving thanks to the night owls at midnight. It's hanging in there just enough to not go bust. It had accompanied me through countless difficult days and nights. Give me a cup of seafood noodles. As usual, my hot water just finished boiling. The shop owner, who was dozing off, saw a regular like me visiting and immediately woke up to greet me. Give me a tea egg and a sausage too. Get the meat heavy kind. Don't give me the starchy one. The owner couldn't stop smiling after hearing that. Oh, little Moo, did you get a scholarship today? Rare to see you eating such a luxury set. While speaking, the owner's hands were quick as he started, grabbing a cup of instant noodles from the shelf, tearing the seasoning packets and pouring in the boiling water. Waiting for the noodles to soften, he added the sausage and tea egg. I scanned the code to pay, carried the noodles outside, and squatted right on the store steps to slurp them down. This commoner scene left netizens speechless. This is just intentionally building an image for the camera. The acting is a bit too over the top. How can someone with billions in assets be eating this? Didn't you notice the reaction of the shop owner? When he asked for an extra egg, the owner was stunned, which proves that normally he can't even afford an extra side dish. But I still feel like this was all scripted beforehand. After all, this kind of contrast is just too ridiculous. While the MC advised me to focus on eating, he selected the questions that netizens were most curious about. Teacher Mu Chen, can I ask a few questions that the fans are interested in? Ki Huyen and Xia Miao Miao nodded. Can you show your phone to the camera? Hearing that, I was a bit confused at first, not knowing what kind of trick he was trying to pull, but considering the 14 billion Vietnamese dong payment, I turned the device toward the lens. When seeing that trashed phone up close, everyone realized that what the netizens said wasn't wrong at all, not even mentioning the screen, which was shattered like a spider web. Just simply pressing the power button took 3 seconds to respond. Teacher Mu Chen, why use a device like this with your talent? Surely you aren't lacking this bit of money. Hearing that, I lowered my eyes and gave a bitter smile. At 20 years old, diagnosed with terminal liver cancer, with only 1 year of life remaining, I had long since stopped caring about material things. Kicked out of the house by my family like a stray dog, living in a wealthy family but treated worse than a mutt. These terrible things, I didn't intend to go public with them. I didn't need anyone's cheap pity anymore. The MC noticed my mood was dropping, so he tactfully shifted to another topic, leading me into the next filming segment. Although the live interview avoided the subject, public opinion online completely exploded. With 2 god-tier piano pieces released just days ago, my popularity hadn't faded at all, occupying over 20 spots on the hashtag board. Along with the live stream clips, stream being shared like crazy. It sparked intense debates all across the internet. Who would have thought a genius who got rich overnight would live a private life like a beggar, crammed on a bus, squatting on the curb eating ramen? What on earth is the reason for this? Why did that MC stop asking halfway through such poor skills? Definitely needs a pay cut. Before this, there was a post leaking news that Mu Chen was the biological brother of Jiang Cheng's richest man. Looking at it now, that's clearly just BS fake news. I've actually seen the manner of that richest family. The luxury is truly beyond imagination. Regardless of the truth, I still find it fake. This isn't being frugal, it's being morbidly stingy. Rival companies jealous of my clout saw these trending keywords and immediately hired trolls to spread malice, calling me a greedy miser who only cares about money, making bank while leaving his family in a dump. If they could completely ruin my reputation, the traffic for the artists under their wing could reclaim the trending charts. The comment section instantly turned into a war zone, with all sorts of personal attacks flooding in. But public opinion soon took a shocking turn. A netizen uploaded a video. This person was none other than Chin, Hao, the deadbeat roommate from before. First, he confirmed his identity as a college roommate and confessed to the debt collection conflict a few days ago. Then he sincerely apologized in the video, unexpectedly. He actually spoke up for me, bluntly declaring, I have absolute faith in Mu Chen's character. He has always been this simple and frugal in his daily life. To those keyboard warriors saying he's a poser, building an image, or even spreading rumors that he's using the money for illegal activities, I've screenshotted all of your malicious comments. If Mu Chen sues you, I will provide the evidence. I've already contacted a lawyer ready for court anytime. Next, Chin Hao helped me clear up the truth about my identity. Mu Chen did indeed carry the title of the richest man's brother, but he was only an adopted son. Currently, he has returned to his biological mother. His mother endured every hardship to find her son in our local area. She even appeared on a missing persons program. Therefore, I am certain that Mu Chen is pinching pennies just to improve his family's life. I truly don't understand why your thoughts are so filthy. The video ended there because Qin Feng had spent a large sum of money to buy reach. This video quickly climbed straight to the top of the trends. Han Feng saw the hashtags from the past few days and was scared witless. He was afraid that after I became famous, I'd come back to settle old scores, as long as I held a grudge over that terrible incident at the restaurant, and casually posted a thread exposing our chat logs. Then his brother's career would definitely be over. That's why he forced Xin Hao to film a peace offering video. Xin Feng was quite satisfied with the overall effect. The attitude was sincere and the correction was very timely. This allowed his heart, which had been hanging in suspense, to feel somewhat relieved. The video caused a massive shockwave. Many netizens dug up old news and found the articles about the mother traveling thousands of miles to find her son. Everyone finally understood the burden I was carrying. NTC Club also released an official statement declaring that the royalties for Mu Chen's 2 pieces had been fully transferred into my mother's personal account. This move caused public opinion to completely flip. The rival company's smear tactics backfired. Instead, it helped me attract a huge wave of loyal fans. I hadn't even posted a single status, yet my social media account suddenly skyrocketed by 500,000 followers. Looking at the audience flooding into the live stream, the screen was filled with warm, encouraging comments. At first, I was a bit stunned. Then a warm stream flowed through my frozen heart. Thank you for everyone's concern. I see some of you want to donate to me. I truly appreciate the sentiment, but I cannot accept the money. I'm capable of earning money to support my family. A few days later, Mu Yao's insomnia became increasingly severe. Day and night were flipped. Her mental state was extremely poor. She frantically sent messages to me and Mr. Su, but all of them went unanswered, without a single reply. This made her unable to hold back as she sank deep into her memories, remembering how as a child I'd still sweetly call her sister, always tolerating her hot temper unconditionally, remembering the times she had princess syndrome while practicing piano. Every time she played a wrong note, she would irrationally take her anger out on me, shouting and throwing tantrums at me, even just because I played better than her. It pierced through her sensitive and envious self-esteem. She would scream frantically for me to get out, saying she hated me and never wanted to practice piano with me again. But every time I never argued, I'd still face her with a smile, and the next day, like I had amnesia, I'd keep calling her sister and practice piano with her. The memory reel suddenly reversed. That day, she had proactively sought me out and bowed her head to admit her fault. That scene was like a knife stabbing through Mu Yao's heart, making her feel despair as she realized things could never go back. Mu Chen, why have you become so cold? Clearly, before you were so gentle. I truly know I was wrong. Why won't you give me even a single way out? Mu Yao's tears overflowed from her eyes. If she had known the truth back then, known that I had braved the blizzard to beg the teacher to give her a chance, then even if she died, she wouldn't have agreed to kick me out. She definitely would have risked her life to protect me. But Mu Yao painfully realized that yesterday, even though she had clearly investigated the truth of the matter, when she still showed bias and refused to clear my name, she was still too weak to defy Big Sis. Moreover, besides the chance to play that piano duet, I had silently done countless things for her all along, not until she lost it. Did she realize with a shock how good I was to her? Thinking of this, Mu Yao cried until her whole body trembled. Tears falling like rain, she hurriedly wiped them away, picked up her phone and tapped on the chat with Mr. Su. Mr. Su's profile picture was still a dull gray. The longer they were out of touch, the more certain she was that I was Mr. Su. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled up to review the chat history, looking at the sincere words of encouragement Mr. Su had given her back then. At that time, thanks to her first hit song, she had swept the new music charts across all platforms. She excitedly shared the good news with Mr. Zhu. Besides giving encouragement, Mr. Zhu strictly warned her that just one hit song was absolutely not enough. If she couldn't release a great second or third song, the audience would soon forget all about her. The music industry has too many shooting stars that fade fast. Eventually, they all blend into the crowd and become mediocre. Mu Yao, now successful and famous, felt even more that Mr. Shu's words were the absolute truth. This also caused her to fall into a deep state of panic regarding her own talent. She had originally planned to seclude herself to compose a new song, but for some reason her mind was a tangled mess. She had zero inspiration. She couldn't even write a single chord. Just as her mind was in turmoil, she suddenly discovered that Mr. Shu's personal page had a status update, a geographical location automatically shared by the system. The content was empty, but the location was at a hospital, Yu Yao had an incredibly deep impression of this hospital. After Big Sis mentioned that I was malnourished, she had secretly gone to check my health exam reports. They were all stamped by this very hospital. This ironclad evidence helped her completely confirm my identity, but after the extreme joy, an extreme panic immediately suffocated her heart. Why did Mu Chen go to the hospital again? What kind of illness did the checkup find this time? Yu Yao carrying her. Anxiety rushed straight to the hospital to meet Dr. Zhang Jingyuan, his primary attending physician. I am Mu Chen's older sister. Could the doctor please tell me about his medical condition? Zhang Jingyuan pushed up the frames of his glasses. You say you are his biological sister, so why have you never accompanied him for a follow-up before this doctor? Having practiced for half a lifetime, had seen countless people, and was all too familiar with scenes of life and death, he had concluded. A rule for patients with terminal illnesses: mental torment is often more painful than the physical. Therefore, once a terminal illness is diagnosed, to protect the patient's psychological barrier, he usually prioritizes breaking the bad news to the family first so they can judge based on the patient's endurance, whether to let them know the brutal truth or not. The reason Zhang Jingyuan had such a deep impression of me was because every single time I was all alone, quietly coming for my follow-ups by myself. Yu Yao noticed the hidden emotion in the doctor's voice. Her heart tightened and sank into an abyss. Has my younger brother contracted some terminal illness? Sorry, this is patient privacy. If you are truly a close sister, why don't you go ask him directly instead of asking me? May I ask if you have anything else? If not, then please step out and close the door for me. There are many registered patients waiting outside. Yu Yao was rendered speechless by those words. That's right. If I had fulfilled my responsibility as a sister back then, why wasn't I by his side to face that diagnostic report with him? Why is it that even now, I don't even have the right to ask a single question? Watching the next patient push the door and walk in, Yu Yao could only leave the clinic in a daze. Even though Dr. Zhang's lips were sealed, the bad premonition in her heart grew heavier by the second. On the hallway sat many patients with gloomy faces. Almost everyone had family by their side for comfort. Patients who were overflowing with fear over their health reports gradually calmed down under the gentle, soothing words of their loved ones. Thinking of this, Yu Yao felt a sharp pain in her heart. If Mu Chen had found out he had a terminal illness all by himself, how hopeless must he have felt picking up those test results? No, stop scaring yourself. Mu Chen is a good person. Heaven will protect him, he'll be fine. He's only 20 years old after all. Yu Yao tried her best to reassure herself, forcing herself not to think of the worst case scenario. She left the hospital dejectedly and got into her private car. She took out her phone, opened a video, and showed it to the driver, Mr. Chu, in the front. Sir, please help me check the road and see if you recognize which area of Jiangcheng this is. To be honest, this whole thing was a massive irony. When I was still living at the Mu house, she was indifferent and didn't care if I lived or died. After I was heartlessly kicked out, she stalked my every move like a total creep. She watched every single frame of the variety shows I filmed, even clipping the footage that leaked my address, hoping to use the scenery and roadside architecture to find me, deducing the location of the slum where I was staying. The old driver, with his sharp eyes, quickly identified the target residential area. Hearing the doorbell ring happily, Su Xiaonuan came skipping toward the porch. Just as the little girl stood on her tiptoes to turn the knob, her mother's strict warning suddenly flashed through her mind. So she immediately froze her actions, dragged a small stool over, climbed up, and warily looked through the peephole. Outside was a beautiful older sister wearing sunglasses. Moreover, this sister looked very familiar. Su Xiaonuan scratched her head, not recognizing her at first. At this moment, Yu Yao rang the bell once more. Excuse me, is anyone home? After ringing twice with no answer, Yu Yao thought I had gone out or the driver had found the wrong house number. She sighed and was about to turn away when the security door creaked, opened slightly, and a girl as cute as a doll poked her head out. The little head with big round eyes blinked at her. Su Xiaonuan's voice trembled with excitement. Are you the big superstar Yu Yao who often sings on TV? Yu Yao turned back and saw that this little girl's brows and eyes looked exactly like mine. She was stunned for a moment, then took off her sunglasses and asked gently, Hello, little one. Is this Mu Chen's house? Hearing that, Su Xiaonuan's small face turned as red as a ripe apple from the excitement. Yes, Mu Chen is my amazing big brother, Sister Yu Yao. My classmates and I are all your hardcore fans. We know how to sing every single one of your theme songs. You sing so incredibly well. Realizing this tiny fan was my sister, Yu Yao's gaze immediately melted with tenderness. Thank you for the love, little sister. Is your brother home right now? Can I come in for a glass of water? Su Xiaonuan nodded her head like crazy. She enthusiastically grabbed Mu Yueyao's hand and pulled her inside. After seating her, idle on the living room sofa, this fangirl started busying herself without a break. First, she ran to the fridge for apple juice, then rummaged through her stash to pull out all the snacks she'd been saving. These were all treats that the little girl usually wouldn't even bear to eat herself. Mu Yueyao, being a star, usually had to avoid sugar and never ate snacks. But because she truly adored this little girl, she broke her rule and opened a bag of potato chips, happily munching along with Su Xiaonuan. During their pleasant and relaxed conversation, Mu Yueyao sharply noticed that the corners of Su Xiaonuan's eyes still had traces of undried tears. Clearly, she had just been hiding at home crying. She pulled out a tissue and gently asked Xiaonuan, "Did something upsetting happen to you? If you're unhappy, just talk to me. I'm a big superstar, you know. I can definitely help you solve it." Hearing those gentle words of comfort, Su Xiaonuan's lip trembled and she let out a sob. This reaction startled Mu Yueyao. Pitying her, she pulled the girl into her arms and soothed her. "There. Don't cry anymore, Xiaonuan. You're the best girl. Your brother is a celebrity now too. If there are any mean kids bullying you at school, just be brave and tell your brother. He and I will get justice for you together." While she was comforting her, Mu Yueyao's gaze landed on the coffee table. There sat an old phone with its screen lit up. Judging by the model and the worn-out cartoon case, it was likely a spare phone my mother had replaced and left at home to make it easier to contact the children. Right now, the phone screen was stuck on a parent's chat group interface, with messages constantly popping up like crazy. Mu Yueyao, relying on her female intuition, guessed that this chat group definitely had something to do with Xiaonuan's distress, so she didn't hesitate to pick up the phone and saw a pinned announcement at the very top. "Dear parents, good evening everyone. To uphold the fine tradition of respecting teachers, after several members of the Parent-Teacher Association discussed it, we have decided that on the occasion of the upcoming Teacher's Day, we will organize a warm appreciation banquet for Mr. Zhang, who has worked so hard for our children. At the same time, we will prepare some high-end, exquisite gifts to express the gratitude of all the parents in the class. The cost for this activity will be split among the 43 students in the class. Each parent needs to contribute 325,000 Vietnamese dong. We hope everyone actively responds, transfers the funds, and signs in accordingly. Anyone who receives this message must reply." Su Xiaonuan, lying in Mu Yueyao's warm embrace, exposed all the cold violence she had endured during the past time. "Sister Yueyao is my brain. Really that stupid. My literature. Teacher scolds me for being dumb in front of the class every day, and even threatens to expel me." Mu Yueyao heard this and her brows immediately furrowed. Based on Su Xiaonuan's age, she was clearly still in elementary school. The country has strict laws on 9-year compulsory education. So where did an elementary teacher get such godlike authority to arbitrarily use grades as an excuse to force a student to drop out? Could it be just because Xiaonuan's mother didn't pay the bribe money that the girl was being bullied and targeted at school? Mu Yueyao stroked the girl's head and comforted her gently. "Xiao, Nuan isn't stupid at all. At all. I think you're the smartest child. That evil teacher is definitely just threatening you. For a precious, obedient, and sensible girl like you, how could the principal ever bear to expel you?" Hearing these words, the gloomy eyes of Su Xiaonuan suddenly lit up but were quickly covered by low self-esteem. "But Ms. Zhang is really scary. This week, she called my name several times to stand as punishment, and even tore my notebook in front of everyone, calling me a hopeless case. Last week, she even forced me to move my seat to the very last row, saying a poor student like me only deserves to sit next to the trash can." Mu Yueyao heard this and her anger flared up. She was beyond shocked. She didn't expect teacher ethics to be so corrupted to this extent. A tragic childhood experience made her understand deeply how a toxic family environment can deal a fatal blow to a child's confidence. Such a cruel destruction of a child's self-esteem. How could this kind of trash even be worthy of being a teacher? But what kind of deep grudge could they have against a child? Could it simply be because they didn't like her face? Mu Yueyao couldn't figure it out. Who could possibly hate such an obedient little girl? Under her gentle questioning, Su Xiaonuan finally revealed the truth. Every time there's a class meeting, the literature teacher subtly promotes his after-school tutoring classes. He requires us to go there after school to do our homework. But the tuition there is truly too expensive. I know mom already works so hard at her hired job. I didn't want her to carry more burdens, so I grit my teeth and refused to tell mom about it. Mu Yueyao heard this and had a sudden realization. Combined with the forced gift-giving in the chat group, she finally understood the motivation of that blood-sucking teacher. Looking at the simple but tidy rented house, she deeply felt how hard Su Huilan had worked to raise a child alone all these years. Su Xiaonuan clearly understood the family's poverty, so she was forced to sacrifice her childhood to grow up early What's more infuriating is a teacher opening high-priced private classes. This is a serious violation of professional regulations. The teacher didn't dare to openly demand money from parents, so my mother was kept in the dark, not knowing anything. As a result, that person unworthy of being a teacher struck out, simply venting all his anger on the innocent Xiao Nuan. Xiao Nuan, don't be afraid, I'm here now. Do you know how powerful your brother is now? He wrote 2 god-tier songs that shook everyone, and a big company bought them for a high price. He earned a lot of money. From now on at school, if you encounter that mean teacher, again, just come straight home and tell your brother. You don't have to endure any mistreatment. Su Xiaonuan didn't have a concept of money yet, but the badass promise from her idol filled her with a sense of security. After that, Yu Yao continued scrolling through the group's chat history, discovering that the homeroom teacher had assigned another task, requiring parents to film a video with their children, showcasing a talent in the group. The chat was flooded with a series of talent boasting videos, all featuring parents and children, singing and dancing in front of the camera. Only Su Xiaonuan had yet to submit the assignment. Mu Yueyao could guess with her pinky toe, as Xiaonuan definitely loved her mother, and seeing how exhausted she was from work, hid the homework to avoid causing more trouble. Let's film a 4-handed piano. Do it together, okay? Su Xiaonuan's eyes widened like saucers upon hearing that. Can I really film a video with a big superstar? Mu Yueyao smiled and gave a firm nod. Her eyes caught a glimpse of the upright piano in the corner of the wall. At that moment, she was slightly dazed. The piano's body was glossy, its black and white keys distinct, looking quite out of place in such a shabby rented room. Su Xiaonuan eagerly climbed onto the piano stool. This piano is a birthday gift my brother bought for me. Isn't it beautiful? I wipe it down every single day. Mu Yueyao stepped closer and sat down next to her. It's beautiful. Your brother is truly good to you. Su Xiaonuan finished picking the piece and set up the phone to record. Mu Yueyao prepared her hand position, smiling as she said, I'll lower the key and play the accompaniment for you. Just play the main melody boldly. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Su Xiaonuan lifted her head with confidence. A clear melody resonated throughout the room. Mu Yueyao felt her vision gradually blur. She saw the proud shadow of her younger self in Xiaonuan. It was those same small, bare fingers and those soft lotus root-like arms, and that same radiant confidence in front of the camera. This melody also awakened deep memories, recalling the strict selection by the conservatory teacher years ago, the scene of the bleak moment when Mu Chen gave the spot to his sister in the snow, shrouded in white as he knelt on the theater's freezing steps, shivering from the biting cold like a lowly beggar. Sister, what's wrong, so? The simple piece of music had finished playing, but Mu Yueyao still left her hands hovering, completely spacing out. Hearing Xiaonuan's voice, she finally snapped out of it. Sorry, I was just lost in thought for a second. Turning around, she said, Xiaonuan, you played beautifully. Su Xiaonuan really had talent, being praised by her idol. The little girl's eyes lit up again. In that warm moment, Mu Yueyao's phone vibrated like crazy. She picked up, and just as she uttered, hello, the manager's furious, voice blasted through from the other end. My dear lady, where on earth have you disappeared to? Did you forget the important schedule today? The entire film crew is waiting for you to start shooting. Mu Yueyao was stunned by the shouting. Looking at the date on her phone, she finally realized. Turning night into day for the past few days, the pain and torment had made her completely lose track of time. She hurriedly apologized repeatedly, promising to be there soon, then hung up. She was so anxious she was spinning in circles. Now Mu Yueyao was stuck in a dilemma. She had just asked Xiaonuan earlier, but Xiaonuan didn't know when her brother would be home. If she kept waiting, it might be midnight. But the situation with the film crew was extremely urgent. Just as she was frantically preparing to say goodbye, she accidentally spotted a medicine bottle in the trash can under the coffee table. She quickly picked up the empty bottle and asked Xiaonuan, what medicine is this? I was just cleaning under my brother's bed and swept out this empty bottle, so I just tossed it. Mu Yueyao turned the bottle over to check the label, only to find the label had been intentionally torn off completely. Her heart sank as she immediately took a photo and sent it directly to a leading professor of medicine. The professor zoomed in on the photo to observe it closely. The label is torn too cleanly. I can't say for sure, but looking at the shape and the remaining colors on the bottle, yep. It's likely high-dose prescription medicine for liver treatment. Mu Yueyao, upon hearing the words liver treatment, immediately felt a sense of despair. All her hope completely collapsed, because in Mu Chen's high school health report, it clearly stated he had severe hepatitis due to malnutrition. Professor, can't you see exactly what kind of medicine it is? Try getting closer and smelling the residue. Left at the mouth of the bottle, Mu Yueyao unscrewed the cap and took a deep breath. A bitter scent shot straight to her brain and spread out. That bitterness seemed to seep through her nasal cavity and reach her very soul. This smell is too complex. I don't know how to describe it. Anyway, just smelling it makes my throat feel bitter. Bring the empty bottle to my lab. I'll use the equipment to test the tiny bit of powder left at the bottom to identify the exact ingredients of the medicine. Meanwhile, at the editing room of the NTC Club, Zhangcheng branch, Master Mu Chen, take a look, is this effect okay? Is the cutting and merging what you expected? The post-production staff member cut several highlight scenes from the live stream and asked me, just as I opened my mouth to give feedback. An intense itch suddenly surged deep in my throat. Immediately after, I began to cough, violently and uncontrollably. The heart-wrenching cough felt like it would tear my lungs apart. This terrifying symptom frightened the staff on site. Someone please give me some water. I struggled to call for help, my hands clumsily fumbling through my hoodie pockets. Trembling, I took a cup of warm water from the woman next to me. I forced a handful of cough medicine down my throat. Zhang Jiashu stood nearby, his brow tightly furrowed. He didn't know if it was because he was being too sensitive, but he felt an illusion that this young man, only 20 years old, smelled of. The deathly aura of someone with one foot in the grave. Looking at my complexion while coughing like this, one could clearly feel that this body was rotting from the inside. Zhang Jiashu stared intently at the medicine bottle I was clutching in my hand. Even though the label had been intentionally destroyed, anyone could see that this was absolutely not just ordinary cold medicine. This caused the suspicion in Zhang Jiashu's heart to grow even larger. After all, Mu Chen was previously the young master of a wealthy family in Jiangcheng. It's no exaggeration to say the Mu family's wealth was off the charts. With such resources, they surely had a private medical team, regular checkups, and expensive nutritional care. So with Mu Chen clearly only in his early 20s, why would his bodily functions be so tragically depleted? Mu Chen, with your health like this, are you really okay? After gulping down a handful of pills, the violent coughing gradually subsided. I slowly raised my head toward the girl who gave me water and saw clearly the stunning features of the young woman before me. She was over 1.7 meters tall, with graceful curves and peach blossom eyes filled with sincere worry. Her pure and beautiful features, combined with exquisite makeup, made it clear she was absolutely not an ordinary backstage staff member. At this moment, a middle-aged female manager stepped up. Mu Chen, do you follow the singer? Reality show Ma Xia Wu Hian is your #1 fangirl. Hearing you were at the branch building, Wu Hian specifically rushed over because she wants to pay big bucks for you to play a piece in the grand finale. I had just caught my breath and my mind was still a bit dazed. For a moment, I couldn't connect this top-tier beauty with the star currently trending all over the entertainment industry. Zhang Jiashu, standing beside me, was frantically gesturing with his hands to remind me. Only then did I realize her background was terrifyingly huge. Her biological mother is a veteran diva dominating the music scene, and she herself is a rising little diva, currently at peak popularity. Zhang Jiashu knew I was desperate for medical funds lately, so he was doing his best to push this lucrative deal right into my lap. He was practically winking his eyes out, telling me to cling to this gold sponsor. Though Xia Wu Hian's vocal skills weren't top-tier genius level, thanks to the capital backing her, she was definitely a cash-making machine. Money tree. As long as I get on stage to play the piano to gild her performance, the fee would surely be a figure that an ordinary person wouldn't dare dream of. But no one expected me to reject her flat out on the spot, causing that arrogant middle-aged manager's face to turn pitch black. She didn't expect that after humbling herself to come in person, she'd still be rejected. Daring to be so ungrateful and giving them the cold shoulder directly, she felt her pride was trampled and her heart flared with rage. The atmosphere on the scene dropped to freezing point, awkward to the extreme. However, Xia Yushuan, usually so haughty, didn't get angry at all. She waved her hand to signal her pale-faced manager to back down. It's true that I was abrupt coming to bother you without an appointment. If there's an opportunity to collaborate later, I will have the team contact you following the official process. I hope in the future we'll have a chance to work together on music. As soon as she finished, my throat and chest couldn't hold back a violent coughing fit, even though this episode wasn't as heart-wrenchingly painful as before. Zhang Jiashu, standing next to me, was scared out of his wits because he saw that the tissue I used to cover my mouth was stained with terrifyingly bright red blood. The blood stain soaked through. Mu Chen was actually coughing up blood right in front of everyone. Coupled with my paper white face, devoid of any color and full of sickness, it made Zhang Jiashu frantically pull out his phone to call for an ambulance. But I calmly wiped away the blood and said I was fine. I raised my eyes, streaked with blood, to stare at Xia Yushuan. I won't play the piano. How about I write a song for you instead? The moment I finished, everyone seemed to have their pause button pressed. The entire room went dead silent. So quiet you could hear a pin drop. Zhang Jiashu's eyes were so wide they nearly popped out. In his wildest dreams, he never thought that after coughing up that mouthful of blood, the first thing I'd do isn't call an ambulance to save my life, but instead force myself up to compose a song on the spot for a superstar. This is truly insane. Completely disregarding my own life, even though everyone on top recognizes my piano. Talent, pop music, and classical piano are two completely different things. I'm not exactly a rookie crossing over into this field, but still, yo. Even taking 10,000 steps back, even if I knew a bit about composing based on the elite network of Jia Yuxin's mother, what god-tier producer couldn't they hire? How could they possibly care about a song written on a whim? But the reality check hit fast like a hurricane. Jia Yuxin stopped in her tracks upon hearing the offer, her stunning face showing absolute shock. Master Mu Chen, are you really willing to write a custom song just for me? I nodded weakly, borrowing a pen and paper from the manager. Suppressing the searing pain deep in my liver, I lowered my head and began scribbling sketches, frenziedly onto the scrap paper. Sia. Yuxuan stood beside me, observing as she noticed something was wrong. Seeing my forehead covered in cold sweat from the pain, she said, Master Mu Chen, your complexion is terrible. If your body really can't handle it, we can schedule the songwriting for another time. It's fine, just wait quietly for 20 minutes. 10 minutes later, I stopped my pen and handed the paper filled with musical notes to Xia Yuxuan. Take a look and see if this musical style suits you. Xia Yuxuan took the paper, her entire body freezing up. This made Jiashu inwardly shake his head, thinking it was a total disaster. But that's only natural. A work pulled out of thin air in 20 minutes while being tortured by illness. How impressive could the lyrics and melody possibly be? But the reason Xia Yuxuan stood frozen to the spot speechless was because she was completely shaken to the core by this song. Even if she racked her brain, she couldn't possibly understand how this young man could, in such a short time, write such an exquisite arrangement with a melody, so mature and high-quality lyrics that were aesthetic and touched the soul. Suppressing her emotion, she hummed along to the music. The melody and lyrics in her head blended perfectly. She realized she had made the right bet and obtained a priceless treasure. This was definitely a high-quality single ready to sweep the music charts. I really want to ask once more, will you wait or leave? In that windy moment, I tried to hold your hand, but ironically, the rain grew so heavy I could no longer see you. As Xia Yuxuan got into it and continued to hum, her expression shifted from shock to joy, bordering on obsession. As she hummed toward the climax of the chorus, Xia Yuxuan took back her earlier judgment of market music. This was clearly an epic love song that would sweep every award. Master Mu Chen, was this masterpiece really written for me? Am I truly qualified to buy it? Oi. Xia Yuxuan's voice trembled as she asked. The lyrics and melody of this song crushed every work since her debut. At least personally, she loved it to her very bones. I nodded blankly. Of course, as long as you pay enough, it's all yours. 3 days later, at the Singer Grand Finale in the Jiangcheng Sports Center, the backstage director urged Xia Yuxuan, Miss Yuxuan, get ready to take the stage. The arrangement for your song, Won't Meet Tomorrow, has been tuned to the best level. Do you need a final rehearsal before going on? Xia Yuxuan shook her head decisively. I'm not singing that cheap market music anymore. The words she just uttered were like a thunderclap. The director flinched, nearly dropping his walkie-talkie. That song, Won't Meet Tomorrow? It was supposed to be the trump card to help Xia Yuxuan dominate the charts. Today was the do-or-die grand finale, live-streamed across the entire internet. Her arch-rival Yu Yao was getting ready in the room right next door. Everyone naturally assumed that Xia Yuxuan would use her trump card to duel her arch-rival. Who would have thought that the young miss would demand a song change? Just 10 minutes into the battle, ignoring the mental breakdown of the director and crew, the program's set list was updated. I also followed Xia Yuxuan to the backstage control room to give intense high-level guidance to the orchestra and live mixers, which part of the main melody should bring in the drums to hype the atmosphere, and which chorus needs added vocal layers and ethereal backing vocals. I didn't hold back and gave precise, professional instructions. The absolute dominance left even big. Names like Xia Yuxuan stunned. They were shocked to find that my detailed edits were like master strokes of a dragon's pen, and they perfectly synced with the tragic vibe of the song. The chief director, Sun Hongyuan, couldn't contain his curiosity and asked if this divine piece was personally penned by me. I haven't had the chance to ask this master's name yet. He stared at me from head to toe like he was looking at a monster. The more he looked, the more this handsome, yet sickly pale face looked familiar. A light bulb finally went off in his head. He realized this was the grassroots piano genius currently trending at #1. Sun Hongyuan sucked in a cold breath. His entire worldview was flipped. This kid doesn't just play the piano like a god and write classical piano masterpieces worth a fortune, who knew he could write pop music and even handle the entire arrangement himself. How has the industry never heard of a once in 500 years genius like this before? Could this kid be intentionally laying low, playing the fool to eat the tiger? My throat was parched, and before I could even reply, Xia Yuxuan hopped out like a protective mama hen to answer for me. This is a song Master Mu Chen custom made for me. The exclusive rights to this track have already been sold to me, so don't any of you even think about stealing it. Hearing that Sun Hong Yuan was filled with deep regret, sighing with a look of immense disappointment. Just hearing the chorus was shocking. The lyrics were so fresh and filled with a sense of helplessness. Left with no choice, he insisted on adding me on WeChat repeatedly, reminding me that if I had new works, I had to prioritize him first. He quickly settled all the details for the background music. Ya Yuxin, fearing I'd changed my mind, personally saw me to the gate. Master Mu Chen, please take care on your way. Regarding the remaining balance, let's find a quiet place tomorrow to discuss it in detail. I'll take the initiative to drive over and pick you up. Words cannot express my gratitude. I truly love this song too much. I waved my hand with an indifferent look signaling that I understood. I skillfully unlocked a public bike and rode away. See ya. Yuxuan watched my back as I pedaled that old bike, a lonely silhouette. This parting scene, both heartwarming and slightly funny, happened to be caught by Yu Yao, who had just arrived at the stadium, looking through the car window at me and her arch rival chatting and laughing so happily. Yu Yao's heart tightened as if someone were squeezing it. It felt as if her priceless treasure had just been snatched away. A fierce sense of possessiveness made Yu Yao clench her fists. Before the car even fully stopped, she pushed the door open and rushed in front of Xia Yuxuan. You shameless woman. Why are you meeting Mu Chen in secret? What kind of shady business are you two doing behind my back? Gatel. Xia Yuxuan was so stunned by the rapid-fire questioning that she froze, facing a provocation from her longtime rival. She a pampered young lady of noble birth. How could she possibly swallow this anger? Moreover, that tone, which sounded like someone catching a cheating spouse, made her feel extremely repulsed. What business is my relationship with Mu Chen of yours? You're sticking your nose in where it doesn't belong. Do you really think everyone has to revolve around you? Yu Yao felt a sharp sting of bitterness rush straight to the bridge of her nose. It was like having her favorite childhood doll snatched away only for the thief to arrogantly mock her, saying the doll wasn't hers. So Yu Yao raised her head and reclaimed her status. I am his legitimate older sister. Hearing these words, Xia Yuxuan froze for a few seconds, her brain quickly searching through the rumor mill. She finally remembered that Yu Yao had once admitted in an interview that she had a useless younger brother. Connecting that with the internet news from the past few days, it was a real bombshell, heartlessly kicking someone out that wealthy. Family was the Mu family. Once Xia Yuxuan put it all together, she immediately felt a surge of rage on behalf of the injustice Mu Chen had suffered. Mu Chen was so incredibly talented and such a loyal, righteous person. They lived under the same roof for over 20 years. Yet they turned their backs on him just like that, throwing him out like trash. Is the Mu family's head filled with nothing but hate? Back on the red carpet, I mentioned him to you and you said you detested him. You said mentioning him was a stain on your life calling. Him a country bumpkin who didn't deserve the stage. You couldn't wait to cut all ties, never once admitting to being his sister. Furthermore, you cold-bloodedly kicked him out of the Mu household, even finding a way to cruelly strike his name from the family registry. Now you have the nerve to run over here and put on an act. After everything you've done, why play the Holy Mother? Now he's a free man now, and he has nothing to do with you anymore. Yu Yao was left speechless by this rapid-fire interrogation. Her arrogant aura immediately deflated like a punctured balloon, because every single word from Xia Yuxuan was the truth, stabbing her right in the heart. Back then she was blinded by illusions, carrying deep-seated prejudices that made her blind to even a single sacrifice or act of kindness from me. She treated me like a parasite, a burden and an outsider in places. Public, she never proactively mentioned my existence, so few in the industry even knew. Yu Yao lowered her head, reminiscing about her shitty past, and crying. Yu Yao's eyes reddened. Out of a trace of pitiful self-esteem, she stubbornly shot back. No matter what, to the bone, he is still my biological brother. I will find every way to make amends, to beg him to come back. Xia Yuxuan saw Yu Yao on the verge of a tearful breakdown, having fought each other for years. This was the first time she'd seen her eyes go red. She even felt this tragic. The woman was a bit pitiful, so she didn't bother using more words to rub salt in the wound. The two fell into a suffocatingly silent standoff for over 10 seconds. Yu Yao took a deep breath to regain her senses, as if having made a very difficult decision, and asked the question that had been lingering in her heart, which she didn't dare face. Was Mu Chen with you just now to help you play the piano? Xia Yuxuan let out a lethal mocking smile. You guessed wrong. He actually wrote a custom song just for me. Not long after the grand finale of the singer competition officially kicked off, numerous media outlets scrambled to cover this major event. Yu Yao's eyes, were glued to the stage. The first person to step onto the stage to perform was Xia Yuxuan. Soft stage lights flashed in sequence, and a melodious voice echoed throughout the stadium. I want to open my mouth and ask you one more time. Will you choose to stay or go far away on that windy day? I tried to hold your hand, who knew a sudden downpour would blur my vision, making your figure a blur. This made the audience, in the stands, as well as the singers backstage, slightly change expression, especially as the song gradually reached its climax. When Xia Yushuan sang the chorus, several singers even stood up abruptly, staring intently at the stage. As her final notes faded into the air, the entire audience was shaken by this surprise, standing up in unison to cheer and applaud. This song is seriously too amazing. The lyrics are written so beautifully. Xia Yushuan, I will support you forever. A wonderful song combined with a perfect performance made the audience below explode. Many even felt that the lyrics could no longer be described simply as excellent, but were more like a stunning piece of poetry. Even the music critics, who were usually strict, found it hard to nitpick this performance because this song was truly too shocking. Not to mention that Xia Yushuan mastered the stage perfectly, even if she had made a few small mistakes in the middle. The quality of the song was enough to carry the entire show. Xia Yushuan really shouldn't have performed first. Now that the audience has enjoyed such a perfect performance, how can they have the mind to listen to anyone else? No one noticed Yu Yao in the corner, her eyes turning red once again. After hearing this soul-stirring song, she was certain that Master Mu was indeed Mu Chen. Only he could write a melody like this. This caused deep within Yu Yao's heart a surge of indescribable emotions. Now all the admirable achievements she possessed seemed to carry his shadow. He had written so many songs for others to sing, songs that swept every major chart. Yet he always stayed silently behind the scenes, giving all the glory to others. Thinking of this, Yu Yao completely broke down, tears falling like a broken string of pearls. If only she hadn't lost her younger brother, the one who was always by her side and loved her most. Then today all the glory surrounding Xia Yushuan and this warm song would have belonged to him. Brilliant lights shone in the center of the stage. After Yu Yao appeared on the platform, the applause from the audience below never ceased. There were even loyal and enthusiastic fans still beneath the stage, loudly shouting out her name. They had witnessed her transformation from an ugly duckling into the talented and beautiful diva she is now. Because of that, many people could find a sense of empathy in her, but they never wondered why she was so outstanding. They just took for granted that Yu Yao relied entirely on her own strength to get where she is today. Yu Yao stood on stage now like she'd lost her soul. She remembered the words of encouragement I gave her. Throughout all those years, she recalled what she went through in that talent show. Years ago, the scene of being brutally eliminated in the very first round. I had specifically written a song for her, urging her not to give up whenever she felt weary. Quite a few audience members at the scene sat up straight. Many had placed extremely high expectations on her, hoping her radiance could overshadow Xia Yushuan. But clearly they were overthinking it. Yu Yao's performance this time was an old song she had released several months ago. Her entire performance was visibly affected by her emotions, resulting in a few small, hard-to-detect errors. Just like the other singers, she lacked a breakthrough. So even her longtime fans no longer flooded the live stream comments with the word champion like they usually did. The staff quickly began tallying the votes. 10 minutes later, the chief director personally announced that the final champion was Xia Yushuan. The performing song was titled Sunny Day. As soon as the director's words fell, the entire stage became Xia Yushuan's personal party. She soaked in the cheers and applause of the entire audience. Yu Yao left the arena looking dazed. One must realize that all this glory before her eyes originally belonged to her. Mu Yulu and Mu Xuan had also arrived at the scene. Sister, it's okay. You were very brilliant. Regardless of what outsiders say, I will always steadfastly support you. Hearing that deep within Yu Yao's heart, a wave of warmth surged. And right at that moment, from inside the stadium, a middle-aged man suddenly rushed out. His face was crazed, and he kept screaming, I traveled so far and bought a ticket to see you. Does your performance now deserve my support? Even though he hadn't touched Yu Yao yet. Before being tightly restrained by security, Yu Yao witnessed a disappointing sight. The moment that middle-aged man rushed out, Mu Xuan instinctively dodged to the side. Yu Yao's expression immediately turned hollow. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't have dodged. Mu Yulu took Yu Yao home, then led Mu Xuan to go car shopping, planning to buy him a Rolls Royce. On the way, they happened to run into me. An extremely luxury car stopped right in front of me, blocking the path. Mu Yulu and Mu Xuan stepped out of the car, deciding to have Mu Xuan apologize to me, to finally put the incident from years ago to rest. That way, his heart could be completely at peace. A flash of disdain crossed Mu Xuan's eyes. He felt that talking to someone of my class was beneath him. But to ensure I never returned to the Mu house, again, he decided to play his role well. Brother Mu Chen, about framing you back then, it was my fault. I truly had no choice. So I acted foolishly in a moment of confusion. Brother Mu Chen, as long as you can let bygones be bygones. Whether you hit me or scold me, I'll accept it all. Also, our sister's hope. Before Mu Xuan could finish his fake speech, I directly and forcefully shoved him away. He stumbled back, nearly falling over, causing his face to instantly turn incredibly ugly. His body instinctively cringed. Mu Yulu immediately shielded Mu Xuan behind her. What the hell do you think you're doing? Mu Chen, have I given you too much face? This sudden scene left her stunned. How could an outsider like me dare to lay a hand on him so casually? Sister, don't blame brother Mu Chen. It's only natural for him to have resentment in his heart. It's my fault. It's all my fault. Mu Chen struggled to get up, trying to act pitiful. This made Mu Yulu even more furious. Mu Chen, look at your own behavior right now. The slightest thing and you get physical, pushing people. I'm truly embarrassed. For you, who could ever like someone like you? Apologize to your brother right now. Seeing her putting on that superior attitude to lecture me again. I just looked at her like she was an idiot. CEO Mu, it's not like you ever cared about me before. Besides, are your ears broken? Mu Xuan said himself that I could hit or scold him, so why are you jumping around all panicked though? Mu Yulu was so angry she nearly coughed up blood, but she really couldn't find any words to rebut. Back when I was at the Mu house, I was always obedient to my sisters and never fought back. Yet they still seemed to loathe me like an outsider. Furthermore, due to their deep-seated prejudices, she had used physical punishment on me quite a few times before. I know you feel very mistreated in your heart, but you shouldn't just hit people like that. This behavior is truly going too far. I didn't even bother dealing with them, just pedaling my bike to leave. Seeing me dare to ignore her, she got even more enraged. Stop right there. If you dare walk away today, don't ever expect me to acknowledge you as my brother again. Amidst her angry outburst, I, who was pedaling ahead, suddenly paused for a moment. This made Mu Yulu's anger simmer down a little, but the scene that followed made her so mad her nails dug into her palms. I flipped her the bird and rode straight off without even looking back. Switching scenes. Ye Qingquan was watching the video of the grand finale online. Praises for Xia Yushuan were flooding in all over social media. Besides praising the flawless stage performance and being amazed by the quality of this track, there was a trending keyword with a hint of gossip. Xia Yuxuan and the piano genius showing intimacy. The two entered the arena side by side, and when leaving, Xia Yushan personally saw him off at the door. The reason this keyword exploded so much was entirely due to several photos attached below. From the specific camera angle of the photos, it looked like the two of them were practically glued together while entering the lobby. The second photo featured Xia Yushuan's sweet smile. She was waving goodbye while I was sitting in the car. She looked at Xia Yushuan's elegant figure in the photo, then recalled the words I once said to her. Every beautiful illusion in her heart seemed to shatter. Right after that, she saw the photos, officially released by the organizers. Ya Yushin stood silently on the stage, the spotlight perfectly illuminating her. Her long, gorgeous, and elegant dress was sparkling brilliantly. I and several seniors in the stands were wearing headphones, focused intently on watching the final rehearsal. Beneath these photos, there were countless comments. The most liked comment had only 2 words, perfect match. Below, an insider even revealed the entire process of how I captured Xia Yushuan's heart, writing a long post of over 1,000 words. A genius composer who spent 20 years to write a golden hit. Countless singers fought tooth and nail on various platforms to beg for a collaboration. In the end, everyone's requests were brutally rejected. The genius announced to everyone that this was a song dedicated to only one person. A song written for one person, a song meant for only one person. Ye Qingquan reminisced about the past. She had worked so hard to get 2 tickets and dragged me to a concert. Back then, the venue was thick with pink glow sticks, lighting up the dark sky in a vibrant pink. The singer on stage under the moonlight led a massive sing-along. At that time, he thought it was so cool, so he unconsciously blurted out that if one day he could also be just like that singer on stage, organizing a concert of his very own, it would be so great. My face was full of seriousness back then. Then you must have a hit song of your own first. How about this? Later I'll write a legendary track for you. Something all singers will fight tooth and nail for. This song I'll write only for you. At that time he was a bit curious about my confidence. But seeing that serious look of mine, deep down he actually believed it was true. He jokingly said he didn't have much singing talent, so he'd wait until he practiced well enough. Otherwise he'd just waste a good song. But now everything has changed. I really did write a song for another artist. But that person wasn't him. As Ye Qingquan thought of this, a feeling of unspeakable heartache surged once again. She unconsciously opened our chat box. Compared to the online photos making her jealous, nothing hurt more than the fact that I still hadn't replied to her messages yet. The string of tension in her heart snapped completely. After unfriending me, she hid under the covers and cried, sobbing in despair. The dull aching pain in her chest made Ye Qingquan deeply regret ever knowing me. Recalling back in middle school, she once received a love letter from a male classmate. At that time, her mother kindly told her, if you don't study hard and behave, you'll have to return to a place that doesn't even have A movie theater, just narrow little stages that famous singers would never set foot on. So Ye Qinghwan always listened to her mother. She viewed those early blooming seeds of affection as bone-deep poison and shook her head in refusal. She tore the note to pieces right in front of that boy. She started intentionally keeping her distance from boys until she met me. In Ye Qinghwan's original concept of love, she would stay single until her career was stable, then wait until it was time to start a family. Under the enthusiastic introductions of the family elders, she would find a partner she could rely on. But my appearance caused her to become reserved and cautious. It made her start caring about her appearance, and she felt a constant urge to reciprocate. For the first time, she tasted the fear of loss, restless and anxious. Even until this very moment, Ye Qinghwan could still feel the wonder of that sensation, like being immersed in a warm spring with blooming flowers. A feeling like pink and white petals outside the window falling into her heart. But my sudden coldness and departure without a word turned that beauty into a lethal poison in an instant. Just why? Ye Qinghwan's tears couldn't help but stream down. A flicker of resentment even flashed in her heart. Why, after giving her this beauty, did I suddenly and cruelly shatter it with my own hands? By the next day, Xia Yuxin and I met at a coffee shop to discuss the royalty price for the song Sunny Day. Brother Mu Chen, though I really want to buy out the full rights, you surely understand that if we sign this way, you'll lose a massive amount of money in just 2 or 3 years. The residual profits from this track will far exceed the buyout fee, because Xia Yushuan truly hoped for future collaborations before officially putting pen to paper. He honestly analyzed all the pros and cons. I gently shook my head. Whether it's 2 or 3 years, it's too long for me. I really can't wait that long. This sentence left Xia Yushuan stunned on the spot. Can't wait in her eyes, even if I was kicked out of the Mu family. She knew I had just sold 2 piano pieces. Right? I had clearly made over 14 billion Vietnamese dong already. Why couldn't I even wait 2 or 3 years? Was I truly that desperate for cash? Alright, it's settled then. Let's just sign the contract now. And right at this very moment, the person I wanted to see most, yet also the one I dared not face most, appeared. Seeing Ye Qinghwan looking a bit pale, my heart suddenly stung like a needle prick. She spoke with the cafe owner for a moment, unexpectedly changing into an apron meant for interns. I couldn't suppress the intense urge in my heart anymore. I had never seen her go out to work a part-time job for money before. I immediately stepped forward and softly asked her, "Are you facing some kind of difficulty that you can't overcome? I can lend you some money to get by." I knew that deep in her bones she was a person with extremely high self-esteem, so I quickly changed my tone. When Ye Qinghwan heard this familiar voice, her footsteps paused for a moment, almost imperceptibly. Then she caught sight of Xia Yushuan not far away. She seemingly saw us laughing and talking happily, being all lovey-dovey together. This caused the emotions she'd suppressed for many days to completely explode. "Stay away from me. I don't need you meddling in my business." The shove sent me crashing hard onto the ground. At the same time, Xia Yushuan rushed over to help me up. Beads of sweat had already broken out on my forehead. Even just standing firm felt incredibly difficult, but I still endured it, repeatedly saying I was fine, that I just couldn't keep my balance, and accidentally fell when Ye Qinghwan saw me fall hard to the ground. Her own body vaguely felt the pain too. After the time she took me to the hospital for my wound, she promised it would be her turn to protect me next time. Yet now her own hands had pushed me to the floor. Yeah. Qinghwan instinctively wanted to step forward to care for me, but Xia Yushuan beat her to it. Ye Qinghwan, with eyes red and full of resentment, bolted out of the coffee shop. After returning to the seat, Xia Yushuan couldn't help but ask, "Teacher Mu Chen, are you really okay? Is there some misunderstanding between you two?" By now, she had already guessed the romantic relationship between us. The occasional quarrel is perfectly normal. I waved my hand and was about to speak, but my throat suddenly couldn't resist a dry cough. This time, Xia Yuxuan clearly saw the bloodstains on the tissue. "Teacher Mu Chen, let's go to the hospital for a checkup now." I originally intended to find a random excuse to cover it up, but immediately after, I couldn't control, coughing violently twice more. This coughing fit dyed the entire tissue deep red. Seeing this, Xia Yushuan didn't even wait for my opinion. She immediately took out her phone to call an ambulance, to stop her from wasting her efforts. I told her the truth. The doctor diagnosed it as a terminal illness and told me to eat and drink well. In the 1 short year I have left, I should go do the things I want, so I can leave with no regrets. After hearing these heavy words, Xia Yushuan's hand holding the phone suddenly froze in midair. Then she immediately had a moment of realization. So that was why I said I couldn't wait 2 or 3 years. When thinking back to my tragic past experiences, not only being heartlessly kicked out of the home I lived in for 20 years, but also having to endure the unfair malice of fate, she planned to say a few words that, while useless, might bring some comfort, but something suddenly popped into her head. Was that girl angry just now because of me? If so, then you should go explain everything clearly to her. I helplessly shook my head. It's all because of me. I've already hurt her. After finding out I had a terminal illness, I took the initiative to break up. Ya Yuxuan fell into a long silence after hearing that. She could understand my original intention, but she didn't entirely agree with it, because having less than a year to live and not wanting to waste that girl's youth, I chose to break up. That is something any normal person would understand. But she had carefully observed that girl's reaction just now. It was clear the other party had absolutely no idea about this terminal illness. So I had intentionally hidden my condition from her. Regarding hiding this illness, Ya Yuxuan found it very hard to understand. Why must you choose to hide it from her? When I first started getting close to her, I could sense an indescribable defensiveness about her. Then in the process of gradually getting closer, she confided in me about things buried deep in her heart because of family tragedies. She had once harmed herself. Furthermore, once when I was hospitalized for an injury, she held my hand tightly and said if I died, she would absolutely not continue to live in this world either. Though I know such words can't be fully taken as truth. Deep down, I really had a bad premonition. This coffee shop isn't an asset under your name, is it? I hope you can help me secretly look after her more. And while you're at it, help me find out why she suddenly came here for a part-time job. Also, I hope you can keep my illness an absolute secret. This is also the reason I chose to tell you everything. Xia Yuxin solemnly accepted the request. Even though our tragic experiences made her feel distressed, looking at it from another angle, she suddenly felt a bit envious of our relationship. Perhaps it was because she had entered the entertainment industry since childhood towards so-called true love. She had always scoffed with disdain. Xia Yuxuan personally drove me back to my place, just in time to run into Yu Yao, who had also just arrived. Xia Yuxuan, why are you here? As she spoke, she suddenly caught sight of a stain, blood on my collar. What's with the blood on your neck? Is something wrong with your body? She was about to reach out and flip my collar to check properly, but I instinctively took a long step back. Was everything I told you guys before still not clear enough? Why do you keep running over here every few weeks to put on a show? Yu Yao heard this and her eyes immediately reddened with grievance. How can you use that attitude to speak to me? I'm sincerely worried about your health. Then I really have to thank you a lot. What's the use of this belated concern back then when I fainted at home so many times? No one even bothered to look at me. Didn't I still stubbornly survive until now? Yu Yao, after hearing these thorny, sarcastic words, immediately felt a sharp pang of pain surge in her heart. It was true. She had never truly cared about me before. The fact that I went for health checkups in secret so many times was something she only just found out now. Let me take you for a full health checkup now. Okay. Seeing this scene, even Xia Yuxuan, standing nearby, couldn't watch any longer. From the short, cold dialogue between the two, she realized that all these years I lived at the Mew house, I was probably treated no differently than a servant. In fact, it's possible my status was even lower than a maid's, because even if a servant in the house suddenly fainted, the young missus would at least casually ask a few questions, but before they never cared about my health. If they had taken me for a checkup a few years earlier, my condition wouldn't have worsened to the point it is now. Perhaps I could have been like any other normal person, having a healthy and complete life trajectory. But now the die is cast and the clock is ticking. My life has only one final year left. And only now do these young misses remember to care about me. What's the point of all this anymore? If it were before hearing these words of concern, I probably would have hidden under the covers in joy for a long time. But now, it's all too late. I harshly brushed Yu Yao's hand away. Stay away from me. How can you speak to me with such a cold attitude? Consider it me being here begging you. Please go to the hospital for a checkup with me. However, before she could finish her sentence, I collapsed without a single warning sign. This sudden turn of events caused Yu Yao to panic instantly, standing frozen on the spot completely. It's already come to this, what are we supposed to do? What are you just standing there waiting for? Quickly get him in the car and to the ER now. Xia Yuxin truly felt indignant on my behalf. How could such a good person have to deal with sisters who are so cold and heartless on the way to the hospital? Yu Yao's mind was completely tangled like a mess of silk. Whenever she faced a sudden panic like this, she always instinctively thought of the eldest sister first. Yu Yao flusteredly took out her phone and quickly dialed Mu Yulu's number. Mu Yulu spoke first from the other end. I was just about to call you. Where did you run off to? Come back quickly. Your brother says he needs to see you. Mu Yao's voice was choked with tears. I went to find Mu Chen. What did you go looking for that ungrateful brat for? I've told you more than 10,000 times absolutely. Do not go looking for that white-eyed wolf. Do you know he even kicked your brother yesterday? Really hard. Stay away from someone with violent tendencies like that. It's dangerous. Saying that Mu Yulu's emotions gradually calmed down. Yu Yao, are you crying? Come back here right now and explain clearly. I'll vent your frustrations for you. Mu Chen, he was fine just a moment ago, but suddenly he fainted. His body is also terrifyingly hot. Right now I'm getting ready to take him to the ER. If the checkup really reveals a serious illness, I feel like Mu Yao at this moment truly felt terrified, fearing that she might not even have a chance to make amends anymore. Mu Yulu, after hearing these words clearly, paused and her tone softened a few notches. Yu Yao, don't overthink it. He's still so young, what could possibly happen? It's probably just low blood sugar from not eating on time. At most, his previous gastritis has flared up a bit. Staying in the hospital for a few days on an IV will fix it. Besides, even if we take 10,000 steps back and say they find something, what does it have to do with our Mu family? Don't you be over there overthinking things on your own. Seeing the car arrive at the hospital, Mu Yao hung up the phone. The doctor who just finished the checkup walked out. Are you this patient's family member? Once he wakes up, you can just take him straight home to rest. Mu Yao, hearing this, immediately felt a surge of extreme joy. Doctor, my brother doesn't have any major issues, right? The old professor heard this and felt the family was a bit strange. Does your brother not mention his condition to you normally? He just came to see us for a follow-up last week. I've carefully reviewed his latest test results. There's no need for hospitalization anymore, nor is there any need for additional redundant tests. Back home, let your brother maintain a happy mood every day. Perhaps that will help slow down the rate of his condition's deterioration. Mu Yao, while listening to the old professor speak, felt a suffocating sensation as if someone were strangling her. Her body went limp and she uncontrollably collapsed onto the hospital bed. This hospital was already the most prestigious in the country. If even this place gave a terminal diagnosis, then in this wide world, where else could they possibly go to seek medical help? Mu Yao, at this moment, only felt a profound sense of despair. In her mind, she suddenly recalled that while eating, eldest sister had casually mentioned something to her. On that day, eldest sister called to inform me about the so-called truth of my birth, coldly ordering me to pack up and leave the Mu house immediately. At that time, I had just happened to step out of the hospital, holding the terminal diagnosis. All of these timelines matched up perfectly. In other words, just as I received the news of having a terminal illness like a bolt from the blue, I happened to receive that phone call. A call to kick me out that was like adding fuel to the fire? Mu Yao imagined that scene in her head and felt that the three sisters were truly cruel. To the extreme, at the darkest, most helpless and desperate moment of my life, they had all ruthlessly kicked me out of that house together, while I could only grit my teeth and silently endure all of it. Mu Yao, thinking about these details, couldn't suppress it anymore and burst into loud sobs in the hospital room. She truly felt an endless, irredeemable regret, regretting that she listened to a few words of advice from eldest sister that day, and mindlessly, heartlessly, cast a vote in favor she truly hated herself for not recognizing my good points sooner, for not caring sooner about this brother who always sacrificed in silence. If she could have just paid attention to these details sooner, she would have definitely done her best to find the best doctors to treat the illness, and would have definitely mustered all her courage to resist the autocratic eldest sister. No matter what, she would have kept me at the Mu house, firmly keeping me by her side to be cared for. However, before this, Mu Yao even naively thought that, as long as she shamelessly came to find me a few more times, I would easily forgive her. And after returning to the Mu house, we could perfectly return to the past, back to those beautiful times, practicing the piano together under the sunset. But the cruel reality was laid out before her eyes, the tragedy. Extreme grief made everything before her eyes blur, and her mind also became incredibly chaotic. Memories flashed back in her head like a revolving lantern. Mu Yao recalled back then when I held her hand tightly, watching the starry sky together in the summer night breeze. At night, she remembered how I once disregarded danger to shield her. The brilliant achievements she has today are because I was willing to hide in the dark corner where no one knew, hiding all the glory and applause in the night, giving all the opportunities to shine to her. From one viral hit to another song, exploding sick. She finally stepped onto the stage of the biggest music awards. After giving her acceptance speech, countless media outlets scrambled to interview her. A tabloid newspaper asked a sharp question: what strength helped her get to where she is today? and the person she wanted to thank most from the bottom of her heart. Who exactly was it? Facing the camera, she politely thanked many people. At that time, she even saw me in the crowd below the stands. After seeing my ordinary, poor-looking outfit, she thought, having a brother like that was truly embarrassing. Therefore, in her words of gratitude, there wasn't a single sentence mentioning me. That sharp newspaper noticed and asked, "There are rumors online that you have a brother who grew up with you since he was very young. He has silently accompanied you in practicing the piano in this glorious moment. Don't you have anything you want to say to him?" Yu Yao, at that time, believed from start to finish that her current glorious achievements had nothing to do with me. So she only coldly replied with 2 words, "I don't." Under the stage, I didn't show even a hint of dissatisfaction. On the contrary, I stood in the crowd, smiling happily for her, because my sister had received countless praises. "Mu Chen, this time let me use the rest of my life to risk everything to protect you." Her voice became hoarse from sobbing. She saw a missed call from Mu Yulu and called back. Before Mu Yulu on the other end could even ask anything, Yu Yao spoke first with absolute determination. "I truly regret it now. I must bring him back home." Mu Yulu, on the other end, immediately flew into a rage upon hearing this. "Yu Yao, what on earth are you blabbering about? Didn't I make it clear to you before? Your biological brother just got kicked painfully by him yesterday. Now you want him to come back. What would Mu Xuan think?" Mu Yao immediately retorted loudly, "Isn't he the brother that I watched grow up with my own eyes? If I must choose one of the two, I won't hesitate to choose Mu Chen. Mu Chen getting kicked, wasn't that his own fault? He totally deserved it. If you find it unacceptable, then he can just pack his bags and get out." Mu Yulu, hearing this on the other end, was absolutely livid. "Is your brain fried? What kind of nonsense? Are you talking the entire upper class knows by now that our biological brother has been found? Are you crazy? How dare you want to kick him out at a time like this? How do you expect outsiders to gossip about us? What about the Mu family's reputation?" Mu Yao's desperate, broken voice came through the receiver. "He has a terminal illness. It's incurable. The doctor said his life only has 1 final year left." Right when he received that terminal diagnosis, on the very day he fell into despair, ungrateful trash like us teamed up to kick him out of the house. Mu Yulu, after hearing these shocking words, fell into a terrifying silence, just as Mu Yao naively thought that eldest sister, out of remorse, would agree to let me return to the Mu family. Mu Yulu uttered words so cold-blooded that she couldn't have possibly foreseen. Transfer a little more money to his account. Consider it financial compensation from the Mu family to him. Illness is just an act of God. Nobody wants it to happen. The disease in his body doesn't have half a thing to do with our Mu family. Since things have come to this, if we let him back into the Mu house again, given the current situation, do you think that's a wise and correct choice? Actually, Mu Yulu had calculated everything extremely carefully in her mind. If she softened and agreed to let me move back, that troublemaker Mu Xuan would definitely cause a massive scene. By then, this whole house would surely be turned upside down again. Thinking of this, Mu Yulu slightly suppressed her annoyed mood. "Yu Yao, considerate eldest sister, begging you stop being difficult. Mu Xuan has already suffered so many years on the outside. Don't go doing things that would break your biological brother's heart." While this phone call was being made, Mu Xuan was standing right there eavesdropping. When he heard Mu Yao wanted to kick him out for me, his face turned blue with rage, and his whole body wouldn't stop trembling. However, after hearing the later part of the recording and learning I only had 1 year left to live, the evil smirk at the corner of his mouth was almost impossible to hide. Inside, he was ecstatic, silently cursing countless times that I deserved it. Right now, Mu Xuan felt the only imperfect thing was, why couldn't that thorn in his side just drop dead already? Why did the heavens have to leave him with 1 more year? These cold-blooded words were too much for Mu Yao to listen to. "Sister, I completely disagree with your selfish words." After saying that, she decisively pressed the end call button. At the same time, in the hospital room, I groggily woke up and made a slight noise. Mu Yao immediately noticed her eyes red. "Mu Chen, you're finally awake. Did my phone call just now disturb your rest? It's all my fault." After I was fully awake, I only said one cold sentence to her. "Exactly. Now get lost and stay out of my sight." Hearing that, Mu Yao's breathing began to become rapid. "Can you please not speak to me so heartlessly like that?" But her plea was interrupted before she could even finish. "Who are you putting on this pitiful crying act for?" Mu Yao's tears instantly poured out like a broken dam. "Your body is still weak. Don't move too much. I'm leaving now." Only when she left the room did I feel at peace, based on her probing behavior in the hospital room just now. She probably knows all about my terminal illness. But to me now, that no longer matters. I truly don't want to have anything to do with the Mu family anymore. Mu Yao left the hospital and sat in her car. She didn't start the engine, but just sat there in a daze. At this moment, heavy winds brought a downpour, covering the windshield with water droplets. Listening to the rain fall, The grief in her heart intensified. She began reminiscing about those rainy years, the time I spent by her side, practicing piano all day, just by hearing me play. She wouldn't feel lonely or isolated anymore. But now that music has drifted further and further away, Yu Yao shed tears and took out her phone to search for my name online. As soon as she typed it in, she saw a trending keyword. Zhao Monkey speaks out, calling me a pervert. Yu Yao immediately clicked to see. The result was exactly as she expected. It was indeed Zhao Monkey, the one who had framed me years ago. For some unknown reason, she took that old long post full of fabrications, edited it, and posted it online again. She even claimed her previous apology was due to threats, and now she's decided to stop being a victim. She even pinned a comment to the top. If you choose to stand by and watch today, then when disaster strikes you in the future, no one will be left to speak up for you. Although this was a story from a year ago, because I'm currently viral online. Zhao Monkey's post attracted a ton of attention. The comments below obviously featured many conflicting opinions. After all, outsiders easily empathize with the weak. Even though Zhao Monkey couldn't provide any evidence, there were still plenty of people criticizing and attacking me. Witnessing the scene, Yu Yao clenched her fists. The last time I faced this situation, she didn't manage it or care at all, causing me to suffer so much. Injustice, this time whether it's to make amends or to find some peace of mind. She is determined to settle this once and for all. At this point, she called Lu Jining. Lawyer Lu, I have a favor to ask of you. That girl who spread rumors about him is at it again. I've sent the link over to you. Lu Jining on the other end scrolled through it. I'll handle it right away and force her to delete the post. Yu Yao hurriedly spoke up to stop him. Lawyer Lu, we already gave her a chance. Now I want to throw her in prison. I'm leaving this to you to handle. Are you really sure about this? Does your eldest sister know about this? Yu Yao didn't hesitate. She knows absolutely nothing. If she asks, just tell her that I told you to do it. Hearing that, Lu Jining fell silent. Did these two sisters have a falling out? But since Yu Yao said so, he had nothing left to worry about. This shouldn't be a problem. I collected a lot of evidence against her before. Back then your sister said she didn't want to make a scene and wanted to settle it privately, so we didn't use it. This time we can use it all. When Yu Yao heard these words, she suddenly remembered it was Mu Xuan who told Zhao Monkey to do it. If they sued Zhao Monkey, would it drag Mu Xuan down as well? But she quickly brushed that thought aside. Why care so much? Who told him to do such a thing to frame me? This is entirely a mess of his own making. On the other side, Zhao Monkey was leaning back on her sofa looking very relaxed. She had originally forgotten about this matter, but seeing me all over the internet these past few days, the person she once framed years ago suddenly became famous. So she came up with an evil plan to use this to threaten me for money. Zhao Monkey secretly plotted in her head. Rich people don't care about a bit of pocket change like this. Before, the scene was so chaotic. Yet, in the end, it was settled with just an apology. So the profit was much higher than the risk. But I'm not as weak as I used to be. So I directly replied to her with a single word, beat it. This made Zhao Monkey angrier the more she thought about it. She dragged out that long, fake post from years ago to edit it, and posted it online today. Zhao Monkey thought that before long, I would proactively contact her to delete the post. After all, who doesn't care about their reputation? Especially when I have so many fans on the internet. Then she watched TV while waiting. Half an hour later, the doorbell suddenly rang. Zhao Monkey thought it was a delivery, so she opened the door. Unexpectedly, there were two police officers at the door. Are you Zhao Monkey? Correct. Monkey was stunned for a moment, then nodded. The situation is like this. This morning you posted something online, right? Someone provided evidence saying you're spreading rumors. Now please come to the station for an investigation. Zhao Monkey was completely dumbfounded on the spot. Is it illegal for me to post on the internet? In cases of fabricating facts, where the post damages someone else's reputation, if the view count exceeds the limit, it's possible you'll be charged with a criminal offense. Hearing this, Zhao Monkey broke into a cold sweat. She hurriedly took out her phone, only to see that the hot rating of that post had increased several times over in just half an hour. This scared her so much that her limbs went weak and she collapsed right onto the floor. Half an hour later, at the police station, Lu Jining saw Zhao Monkey walk in. He smiled and stood up. We meet again, Zhao Monkey. Seeing a familiar face, she stopped resisting. The post does have some exaggerated parts. How about I delete the post like last time, and then apologize, okay? Hearing this, Lu Jining let out a soft laugh. This laugh made Zhao Monkey's heart tighten. Since you've already admitted to spreading rumors, I'll give it to you straight. The post view count has already hit over 1 million. This time, I'm taking you directly to court. Hearing that, Zhao Monkey finally realized the severity of the situation. She timidly asked the officer nearby if the rumor mongering circumstances are serious, what will happen. The officer's answer made her collapse on the spot. If you don't get the other party's forgiveness, it's very likely you'll be sentenced to prison. Then why didn't anyone tell me? Sooner I've had the post up since 9 a.m. Why did he only come for me now? He definitely saw the post a long time ago. He intentionally waited for the post to go viral before running here to find me. Isn't this a deliberate setup to frame me the one you guys should arrest? Is the one you should be arresting is a him. Lu Jining didn't bother explaining further after hearing that. After all, the legal regulations are clear. With this much evidence, he had all the confidence he needed. Being silver-tongued wouldn't help her now. Moreover, he actually felt a bit unfairly accused. By the time he received Yu Yao's call and saw that post, its heat was already very high, of course. If the client wanted to throw her in jail, he would definitely follow through. The officer nearby immediately spoke up to remind her. Saying these things now is useless. This type of case is usually a civil matter. No complaint, no trial. As long as you get the other party's forgiveness and have them withdraw the lawsuit, you'll be fine. Hearing this, Zhao Manqi found a ray of hope. She was about to apologize, but quickly realized that wouldn't work. After all, he didn't give a damn about her earlier apology. So she thought for a bit and called her father. Because she was afraid of being scolded, she dodged the truth and downplayed the severity of the situation. 10 minutes later, her parents burst in fuming with rage, pushing the door open and rushing inside. Because Zhao Manqi dodged the truth, her parents assumed that Lu Jining was threatening their daughter. Therefore, their rage reached its peak. Finally, as soon as Lu Jining uttered the words that he absolutely wouldn't accept a settlement, the middle-aged couple felt their daughter was doomed, so they angrily rushed forward to scuffle. The scene immediately became as chaotic as a mess. The two officers in the room couldn't even stop them. Other officers on duty heard the commotion and ran over. To stabilize the situation, Lu Jining was lightly injured. After being helped up by the police, he was stunned. He silently sighed in his heart. Like father, like daughter, they really are family. In another development, after I asked the treating physician, he prescribed more medication to prevent these sudden fainting spells. These meds weren't cheap, 70 million Vietnamese dong per bottle. After prescribing these expensive drugs, Zhang Jinggran explained the reason he didn't prescribe them before was because they don't slow down the disease, but they would leave a normal family completely broke. So he didn't proactively suggest it. Thus, I spoke up to ask one more question. If one were extremely wealthy, would there be another way? Zhang Jinggran indeed provided a solution. Each injection costing tens of billions of Vietnamese dong, seeking out the most advanced cell therapy teams to build a specialized treatment protocol. The daily cost was estimated at several billion Vietnamese dong. Furthermore, the chance of successful treatment was tiny. In other words, it only provides those desperate billionaires a bit of final psychological comfort. Finally, Zhang Jinggran advised me to enjoy this world and live well. After listening, I gave my thanks and left the hospital. Hearing the sound of rain pattering behind my back, stepping onto small puddles on the bumpy road, I suddenly felt incredibly exhausted. The string that had been tight in my mind for so long. The feeling of exhaustion when it suddenly snapped came crashing down. I thought I had looked past it all, abandoning the matter of life and death. But now I realize I haven't let go of anything. My little sister would hop around in front of me and snuggle into my arms, calling me big brother. If mom saw my health failing like this, she'd surely cry. I finally managed to get a real family, to feel the familial love I've craved countless times. Countless times. And met the girl I love to my very core. And yet now, all of this could collapse at any moment. Mom, I don't want to die like this. I slumped to the ground in helplessness, completely breaking down. The pain and despair hidden deep in my heart just spread outward, impossible to suppress any longer. After I finished crying, I picked up my umbrella and stood up, continuing to walk toward my home. At the intersection, traffic police kept directing the flow of vehicles. No matter how much one person sobs, the city remains bustling with traffic. Meanwhile, at the Mu family estate, because Mu Xuan suddenly wanted to eat something else, the menu butler Lu arranged was thrown into chaos. He immediately arranged for the kitchen staff to redo the menu and change the ingredients. Then he contacted two maids, per Mu Xuan's request, to switch from Chinese style to Western style. Everyone was busy for several hours, and finally managed to serve the dishes before mealtime. Looking at the incredibly fresh beef in front of him, Mu Xuan nodded with full satisfaction. Compared to expensive ingredients, the feeling of bossing others around with such finesse satisfied him more. He opened the champagne and poured himself a glass. Sister, I toast to you. Mu Xuan raised the glass in his hand, smiling at Mu Yao sitting opposite him, but his hand trembled slightly. Mu Yao acted as if she hadn't heard a thing, dazedly eating her steak. Mu Yulu sitting nearby cleared her throat. Yao, your brother is talking to you. Only then did Mu Yao slowly speak up. Besides having that girl frame me, did you do anything else harmful that I don't know about? Hearing this, Mu Xuan's face immediately froze. Then he started sniffing through his nose. Sister, how could you say that I was wrong before? But I really only made a mistake that one time. If you don't believe me, I can go to the police station to prove my innocence. Mu Yao let out a cold laugh upon hearing those words. Fine, then go report it to the police right now. Mu Yulu slammed her hand on the table. Enough, stop causing a scene. You're planning to call the police to investigate. Do you not care about the Mu family's reputation, third sister? If the Mu family forces their own biological brother to call the police, just to clear his name, and that gets leaked out, yeah. How long will the world mock us? Hearing that, Mu Yao only found it ridiculous. Wasn't Mu Chen also your brother? Didn't eldest sister also force him to take the blame back then? Eldest sister cared most about the Mu family's reputation. How could she, in this situation, let the police come and investigate the Mu house? Therefore, Mu Xuan definitely counted on this. Before uttering such shameless words, seeing Mu Yao fall into silence, and seeing eldest sister taking his side, Mu Xuan immediately pushed further. Sister Yu Yao, I know you don't like me, but I truly hope you and eldest sister can be on good terms. Don't argue because of me anymore. As long as you and eldest sister can get along peacefully, I'll move out right now if that's what it takes. Saying this, Mu Xuan even moved himself to tears. The rims of his eyes began to turn red. This made Mu Yulu feel even more that Mu Yao was being way too stubborn. I know you feel guilty because Mu Chen is sick, but nobody wanted this to happen. Besides, it has nothing to do with us. Let me be blunt with you today. Forcing Mu Chen to leave the Mu family, wasn't that a decision we all made together? After hearing these words, Mu Yao's heart felt a sharp needle-like pain. That's right, she thought to herself. Why was I so weak back then? Why couldn't I be firm with my own opinion? Instead of becoming an accomplice in driving him away, Mu Yulu continued to advise her, just let it go. Yu Yao, look at the situation now. How nice it is for the whole family to gather for a meal. Why do you keep bringing up the one who left? It only makes everyone unhappy. Mu Yao flashed a bitter smile. Let him go. How could I possibly let go? Anymore, you've already given your whole life to him. Once again, she didn't listen to her eldest sister. I will find Mu Chen and bring him back. I want him to return home. And if Mu Xuan caused any harm, I will investigate everything clearly. However, at this very moment, a maid walked up to Mu Xuan's side and whispered a few words into his ear. Very quickly after, Mu Xuan's expression completely changed. He suddenly swung his arm with great force, sweeping all 8 plates in front of him onto the ground. Wine from the glass splashed all over the floor. Butler Liu, standing nearby, let out a long sigh. It looks like there's more work to be busy with soon. This action also startled Mu Yulu. Mu Xuan, what's wrong with you? Bloodshot streaks appeared in Mu Xuan's eyes as he pointed his finger at Mu Yao and questioned her loudly. Why did you tell lawyer Liu to go after her? You even had him prosecute her. If Zhao Manqi confesses that it was on my orders, then what are we going to do? Can you use your brain and think for a second? Mu Yao already knew Mu Xuan was always faking it. Seeing him reveal his true colors, she countered instead. What do you mean, what to do? Whatever the law dictates, that's what we'll do. If you're actually dragged into this, isn't it just a case of reaping what you sow when you did this? Did you use your brain to think it through? Mu Yulu, seeing the two of them suddenly arguing, felt her mind becoming a mess. She listened for a while before vaguely guessing the reason, then called over the employee from earlier. It was exactly as she had predicted. It was exactly when Zhao Manqi framed me back then, but she was forced to take Mu Xuan's side, because Mu Xuan is her biological brother. Before their parents passed away, they had instructed her not to let the Mu family decline. In their generation, she had to maintain the Mu family's assets and reputation. For all these years, Mu Yulu always kept those words close to her heart, to maintain the Mu family's prosperity. She had done many things against her conscience. Those acts against her conscience were like a rolling snowball. The more she did, the heavier her heart became. But she couldn't help but continue doing them. That's why someone who cared so much about the Mu family's rise and fall like her, after her biological brother, Mu Xuan went missing, adopted for the Mu family. A fake young master. But because I don't carry the Mu family blood, it led to the fact that no matter how I treated her, Mu Yulu couldn't change her prejudice toward me nor erase that bone-deep hatred for my origin. That's why I was like a servant, living in the Mu house for over a dozen years. The feelings she had for me before couldn't actually be considered familial love, but were more like raising a pet, a kind of affection born from over a decade of companionship. Therefore, between me and Mu Xuan, in Mu Yulu's heart, there was absolutely no comparison. For the Mu family's reputation, and for the Mu family's succession, she would naturally always stand by Mu Xuan. Meanwhile, inside the dining room, Mu Xuan was left speechless by Mu Yao's words. He didn't expect he could be implicated and face prison time, all while being scolded by Mu Yao. Because of me, the one who was kicked out. Every bit of fury in Mu Xuan's heart quickly turned into pure hatred. But he basically didn't dare to point and curse at her. He feared doing so would make Mu Yulu dissatisfied. So, Mu Xuan started smashing everything around him, relentlessly venting the anger in his heart. Butler Liu stood by and witnessed this scene. His face showed a look of deep sorrow. The scented candles in the storage should still be there, but that expensive coffee machine That old model is hard to buy nowadays. The handmade silk tablecloth, better order 2 more. This priceless porcelain vase, wait, butler, yes, I did that. Yu was just about to speak, to warn him, but Mushuan had already raised it high. The prize piece displayed in the most prominent spot of the dining room was then smashed down with all his might. Following a loud crash, porcelain shards flew all over the floor. Butler Liao saw this and thought, this is bad. While he was still hesitating on what to do, Yu Yao rushed over and delivered a sharp slap. It wasn't until a burning sensation spread from his cheek that Mushuan realized he'd been hit. Then, seeing that the other party seemed like she wanted to keep hitting him, he shrunk back, clutching his cheek and acting pitiful. Mu Yulu immediately stepped forward and pushed Yu Yao away, firmly shielding Mushuan behind her. Apologize to your brother now. Mu Yao stumbled back 2 steps from the shove. Whether it was the porcelain vase being smashed without mercy or the fact that eldest sister pushed her again, it all made Mu Yao feel incredibly aggrieved. She broke down, sobbing loudly. That was the gift Mr. Shu gave me. Sister, don't you dare stop me. But Mu Yulu had absolutely no intention of moving. Yu Yao, just how long do you plan to keep acting out? Do you think your brother did it on purpose? Tomorrow, I'll have Butler Liu buy you 10 more. Now apologize to your brother immediately. I am absolutely not joking. Seeing this, Mushuan hurriedly squeezed out a few tears. Sister Yu Yao, I'm truly sorry. I didn't know this vase was so important to you. Eldest sister, it's all my fault. It's only natural for Sister Yu Yao to hit me, Mu. Yulu looked at Mushuan's reddened cheek with heartache, then walked over and grabbed Mu Yao's wrist firmly. He is your biological brother. Mu Yao didn't have time to react at all. Instinctively, her body recoiled. She lost her balance and fell to the floor. Mu Yulu, seeing this, had a flash of panic in her eyes. Yu Yao, I really didn't mean to. Hurry and get up. Please just get up. But her reaching hand was brushed away. Either he goes or I go. Now looking at Mushuan, her eyes were filled only with disgust. That was Mr. Shu's, and also the only gift I ever gave to him. Perhaps even the last gift. Thinking of this, Mu Yao broke down into sobs before every time his birthday came around, he would receive gifts I painstakingly prepared. Yet he never once valued them. After Mu Yulu heard this, she also felt on the verge of collapsing. Tears welled up in her eyes. Yu Yao, why would you say such things? He is your brother after all. You are his biological older sister. Mushen was also sitting on the floor, the malice in his eyes no longer hidden. He hated why Mu Chen still had the nerve to live another year. Why doesn't he just go die right now? He hated Mu Yao. Why help an outsider take away from him the life that he had worked so hard to obtain? Mu Shen's hatred was so intense his teeth began to chatter. At this moment, he truly wanted both of them to go die together. Yu Yao, stop being so difficult. I won't force you to apologize anymore. Can't our whole family just live happily together? Why does it always end up like this? From now on, don't argue over Mu Chen anymore. Our Mu family raised him after all. We raised Mu Chen for 25 years. Do we really owe him anything? Mu Yulu held her forehead, feeling a headache coming on. And right at this moment, Mu Chen added fuel to the fire. Eldest sister, it's all my fault. Any mistake made is on me. It's only natural for Sister Yu Yao to be angry. If Sister Yu Yao dislikes me that much, I'll leave this house right now. Then go to the police station now to atone for that instigation. Years ago, Mu Yao directly pulled out her phone. Keep on faking it. For all I care. Don't you dare stop. I'll have lawyer Lu come here to draw up some contracts. First, we'll remove you from the household registry, and then I'll accompany you to the police station to see exactly how you plan to atone. Mu Yulu saw their relationship had soured to the point where only one of them could stay in this house. She actually broke down, tears welling up in her eyes. Yu Yao, why must you take it this far? Do you really no longer care about the Mu family's reputation? Mu Yao also spoke out in her breakdown. Sister, then you should just kick me out just like how you all kicked Mu Chen out before. On the other side, I boarded a bus, found a seat by the window and sat down, staring blankly at the sky outside. After hearing the words of my attending physician, Zhang Jingran, I had one more reason to make money. Even though the chances for that treatment plan were slim, having more money in hand is still a way out after all. The 2 previous piano pieces sold for 14 billion Vietnamese dong. Selling 2 songs to Xia Yushuan brought in 10.5 billion VND. This amount should be enough to improve our living environment. Furthermore, last night I learned that my little sister is currently being targeted everywhere by her homeroom teacher, Mr. Wu. In the next 2 days, I plan to discuss with Mom about transferring my sister to a better elementary school. As for that teacher who takes bribes and runs unauthorized extra classes, once my sister's transfer goes smoothly, I'll find a lawyer to give him a little surprise. After finishing these tasks, a few billion Vietnamese dong will probably be almost gone. So I messaged Jia Yushun again. When you have time, I'll treat you to a meal. While in the hospital, I wrote a few songs. I'll let you see if they suit you while I'm at it. Very quickly. Xia Yuxin sent back several question marks. Then she even confirmed it a few times to see if I was just teasing her. After receiving a definitive answer from me, Xia Yuxin happily agreed. After turning off the phone screen, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me, Jingran had told me. This was a normal reaction after taking the new medicine. Just closing my eyes for a bit will be fine. So I rested in a half-awake, half-asleep state. The bus went for a few stops, and the passengers gradually increased. I had just nodded off when I was woken by a piercing voice. Hey, young man, this is priority seating for the elderly, the sick and pregnant women. A middle-aged woman looked around, perhaps, seeing a young guy like me as the easiest target. She walked straight over to my side. I've been riding the bus for years, so I've actually met many people like this. There are even more unreasonable ones who, if you don't give up your seat, will bring up morality to lecture you. If it were truly for an elderly person, it'd be understandable. But this lady looks barely over 40. Is she really that old? Seeing that I seemed to completely ignore her, the middle-aged woman immediately got angry. Hey, young man, I'm talking to you. Are you trying to act weak or pretend to be tragically ill? I even have a senior citizen card. This spot is supposed to be my seat. I took out the medical report I just printed from the hospital and handed it to that middle-aged woman. I have late-stage liver cancer. I just woke up from a coma and left the hospital. The middle-aged woman instinctively took the medical report after hearing those words. Her chest felt like it was hit by a heavy hammer. A sense of self-reproach immediately surged in her heart. These words also caused many people around to hear, and looks of disdain were cast directly at the middle-aged woman. However, feeling humiliated, she didn't apologize but just stood to the side, not daring to open her mouth again. When the bus reached my stop, I got off. The middle-aged woman looked through the window and saw me walking while coughing weakly. Suddenly, she felt the urge to slap her own face. I really am a terrible person. Arriving at a bustling sidewalk eatery, I ordered many delicious dishes and sat down to wait for Xia Yuxuan. 20 minutes later, Xia Yuxin's car pulled up to the curb. A luxury supercar worth tens of billions of Vietnamese dong. Along with the person stepping out of the car, a beauty, who despite wearing sunglasses couldn't hide her aura. She immediately attracted the gazes of many passersby. Xia Yuxin saw me waving at her, so she quickened her pace toward me. Seeing the small folding chair a bit greasy and dusty, she hesitated for a few seconds before finally sitting down. Since Xia Yuxuan had seen me riding a bicycle before, she had actually already somewhat anticipated the truth about my situation. Inviting him to eat, she didn't expect a high-end restaurant, but this environment was a bit too shabby. Xia Yuxin even saw the stall next door, with flies buzzing wildly over the cooking ingredients, making it hard for someone used to eating clean, brightly presented food like her to accept. Thus, she prepared herself to stay hungry. Teacher Mu Chen, are you all right now? I'm fine. The doctor prescribed me some medicine, so I probably won't suddenly faint like that again. This new medicine is still very expensive, so I have to work hard to make money. Hearing this, Xia Yuxuan was stunned. It felt like I thought about needing money first, and only then started writing music. If that's the case, this talent is truly incredible. That's good then, when you've fainted. I was scared to death. Then she began to get curious about the quality of the songs. Teacher Mu Chen, where are the songs you wrote right then? The owner brought the dishes I ordered earlier to the table. First, I scooped myself a bowl of egg fried rice, then scooped an overflowing bowl for Xia Yuxuan, even using a spoon to pack it down tightly. I've already finished the concepts. While waiting for you, I've written a lot, though they're not quite done yet. You eat first. Xia Yuxuan looked at the bowl of egg fried rice with a forced expression. Out of politeness, she used both hands to take it and said thanks. But she still had no intention of using her chopsticks. As for me, I quickly shoveled 2 large mouthfuls of rice, then picked up the pen to continue writing. While writing, I shoveled in a few more bites of fried rice. This scene actually made Xia Yuxuan feel hungry watching it, so she began to carefully observe the dishes on the table to choose. After some hesitation, she picked a skewer, stinky tofu. When Xia Yuxuan took a bite of the stinky tofu, piping hot, her eyes couldn't help but widen quite a bit. In terms of flavor, it was actually really solid. After that, she put the stinky tofu skewer down and started tasting the fish balls I just ate. And as soon as they entered her mouth, her eyes lit up. This dish is seriously fire right at this moment. I finished writing the 3rd song and handed it to her. Xia Yuxin hurriedly sat down the document she was holding. After taking it, she scrutinized the contents intently. Upon seeing these 3 songs, Xia Yuxin felt there was absolutely no mistake. He was indeed Mu Yao's. Mr. Xu. This made her recall the first time she met Mu Yao. She sat next to Mu Yao and spoke full of pride. Teacher Feng, Teacher Wang. I know them all. They've all agreed to write music for me. At that time, Mu Yao's face was full of admiration for these famous masters of both composition and lyric writing. Having money doesn't even guarantee a collab with them. But just then, Yu Yao's phone vibrated slightly. Then she quickly flashed a radiant smile. I know, Mr. Zhu. Right now at the Mu family manor. Butler Liu waved his hand signaling to the side. Several domestic staff immediately felt a burden lifted. With faces full of gratitude, they hurried away from the scene. Butler Liu could be said to have watched Mu Yulu grow up since childhood. He considered himself someone who understood her perfectly. From his perspective, ever since Mu Yulu took over the Mu family from the previous madam, the hardest thing for her was likely restraining herself from being overly biased toward Mu Xuan. Therefore, Mu Yulu would instinctively ignore many of Mu Xuan's flaws. In Mu Yulu's heart, Mu Xuan was an innocent child, deprived of love and prone to doing foolish things. Butler Liu naturally didn't think so. After Mu Xuan returned to the Mu family, Mu Yulu arranged for him to personally clean Mu Xuan's bedroom, and every morning when Butler Liu came to clean, he would smell different scents of women's perfume. Sometimes he even found fake eyelashes on the floor, along with small items like fake nails. Moreover, in Mu Xuan's bedroom drawer, he saw several pieces of Mu Yulu's jewelry. Butler Liu had never seen Mu Yulu give away jewelry she had worn to anyone else. Therefore, he guessed that perhaps Mu Xuan had stolen these things, likely taking them to give to others. But since these matters weren't critical, he didn't ask. Butler Liu naturally wouldn't speak up on his own. He would pretend to know nothing at all. Even though the current head of the Mu family is Mu Yulu, he couldn't afford to offend any of the young ladies or masters. This was the experience that Butler Liu had gathered over many years. To work comfortably at the Mu household, don't offend any of the masters. That was also the reason why at the beginning, Mu Chen's treatment was actually worse than that of the servant. Yet Butler Liu still showed me respect. So in Butler Liu's eyes, Mu Chen naturally had nothing to do with being an innocent, naive child. Yu Yao, what on earth are you talking about? How could I have the heart to kick you out? Please stop making things difficult for me. One of you is my biological sister, and the other is my biological brother. Tell me, how am I supposed to choose? I can't kick either of you out. Mu Yulu became even more broken. Her voice grew hoarse. Mu Xuan, tomorrow you buy an identical porcelain vase to compensate her? Sister Yu Yao, it's all my fault. Please don't be mad at me anymore, okay? Before I leave, I'll buy one to pay you back. Saying that, he reached out to help Mu Yao up, but was directly and violently swatted away by her. Don't touch me. A man who puts on a pitiful act. At the drop of a hat. Look at yourself, aren't you disgusted? Mu Xuan immediately shed a few tears. I'll leave right now. Mu Yulu pulled Mu Xuan's arm back. You aren't going anywhere today. Then she looked at Mu Yao with an expression of disbelief. Mu Xuan is your biological brother, the only brother we sisters have. Without him, would the Mu family even be a complete family? Our Mu clan, could we even keep going? Why has your heart become so narrow-minded, Yu Yao? Why are you forcing me to make such a difficult choice? Mu Shen has been pitiful enough since he was a kid. He's suffered so much out there all these years, and now you want to treat him like this. Mu Yao kept shaking her head in denial. She completely failed to understand eldest sister's definition of suffering. Mu Xuan wasn't some wandering orphan all those years. He had foster parents and lived a normal life. Furthermore, if suffering justifies being forgiven time and time again, then what about Mu Chen? Why is it that Mu Chen had to live in misery in the countryside for over a decade? Yet eldest sister still made the decision to kick him out of the Mu family. Yulu kept avoiding the subject. Mu Yao already had a faint answer. She decisively turned her back to leave. Mu Yulu shouted with the choked voice, Yu Yao, come back here right now. But she didn't do what she did earlier. When she held onto Mu Xuan, she didn't run to grab Mu Yao's hand. However, Mu Yao still stopped her steps, and she strode back toward Mu Xuan. Then a crisp slapping sound rang out. Mu Xuan was slapped so hard his ears rang, and the other side of his face clearly turned red. From now on, you'd better keep that mouth of yours clean. As she turned to head for the door, she caught a glimpse of Mu Xuan's lips curling up. His mouth moved without making a sound. But judging by his lip shape, he was clearly cursing. And so, Mu Yao turned back and slapped him once more. Good thing your face is thick enough. Otherwise, my hand would hurt from the slapping. After speaking, she immediately left the dining room without a backward glance. Mu Yulu, after reacting, immediately yelled at Yu Yao, come back here right now. But there was no response from outside the door. Mu Xuan, feeling both his cheeks swelling up, was filled with intense hatred. Waves of agonizing emotions kept crashing over him. He gnashed his teeth so hard they almost shattered, glaring fixedly in the direction Mu Yao had just left. Only then did Butler Liu dare to speak up. Let me go outside and check. Besides, she doesn't want to make a scene. Going out to advise her now would be the best chance to bring Mu Yao back. And right at this moment, Mu Shen spoke up while sobbing and sniffing. Let me and Butler Liu go find her together. After I bring her back, I'll go rent a place to live outside. Once she has calmed down, I'll come back and apologize later. Hearing that Mu Yulu spoke with a trembling body, no one is allowed to go looking for her for the next few days. We can't keep letting her be this stubborn. Don't worry, once your second sister returns to the country, I'll explain things for you. Besides, Yu Yao won't act on her whims for too long. Maybe she'll come home on her own tomorrow when Kan Min heard this. He was about to open his mouth to say something, but Mu Yulu waved her hand to cut him off. Just handle Zhao Monkey's matter first. Don't worry, this isn't some huge deal in Mu Yulu's mind. This was just a matter of making one phone call. But when she called Lawyer Lu, she learned that it couldn't be settled privately like last time. Because the reason everything went so smoothly last time was that I was still at the Mu house. Back then, I just casually told Mu Chen a few words, stating that his eldest sister wanted this to end here. So Mu Chen chose not to take it to court. As for the current situation, hasn't Mu Chen already left the Mu family? So what reason do I have to go persuade Mu Chen? Lu Jingming not too long ago helped the Mu family remove me from the household registry. So he figured the Mu family had probably cut ties with me completely. Before saying those words, Mu, Yulu was completely stunned after hearing this. She almost forgot that the right to sue was currently in my hands. Furthermore, Mu Yulu also sensed that even in the past, someone with an easygoing personality like mine would have sued, let alone the me of now. Then I'll contact you later, lawyer Lu. I'll take Mu Xuan to meet Mu Chen personally to see if we can get him to drop the lawsuit. Lately, I've seen nothing but slanderous remarks on my end. 5371. He naturally knew that persuading me to change my mind. He naturally knew that convincing me to change my mind was extremely difficult. So he didn't intend to let Lu Jingming waste any time. This phone call made Mu Xian sitting nearby look gloomy. Not to mention he's been psychologically traumatized by my kicks. But now he has to bow his head and apologize to the person he hates the most. Even the person he wants to eat alive, Mu. Yuan felt incredibly nauseous just thinking about it. Butler Liu standing nearby felt exhausted. In his view, these two going there to persuade him basically had zero chance of success. Mu Yulu subconsciously still believed I was that obedient kid who didn't fight back or talk back like before, or she thought everyone had to give them face. Butler Liu thought to himself, the current me would never fall for those tricks anymore. Since I'm terminally ill, why would I let myself suffer any more grievances? So instead of doing these useless things, why not pivot to talking to Ye Qinghuan and tell her not to mention receiving benefits? Back then, but this suggestion Butler Liu was even less likely to bring up. In another coffee shop, Ye Qinghuan in her uniform was writing in a notebook from the water ratio for the coffee machine. Ye Qinghuan recorded everything very seriously and meticulously. When she saw a table in the shop was dirty, she was very proactive and energetic in cleaning it. The shop owner Liu Jiadi couldn't help but marvel inwardly. He didn't expect to have a part-time employee work this hard. This time, he had truly found a hidden gem. And right at this moment on the TV screen hanging on the shop wall, an MC interrupted with the news bulletin Sia. Yuxuan will once again collaborate with teacher Mu Chen to release new work. This made Ye Qinghuan, who was holding a tray of drinks, suddenly tremble slightly. Then the tray in her hand suddenly lost balance. 2 drinks crashed to the ground because of it. The glass shattered across the floor. This gave Liu Jia a fright. He intended to scold Ye Qinghuan for her carelessness. But very quickly after that, Liu Jiadi recalled Xia Yushuan's instructions, so he hurriedly stepped forward, first helping Ye Qinghuan apologize to the customers, then telling other staff to clean the floor while Ye Qinghuan was pulled into the staff break area. After the two entered the room, Ye Qinghuan was just about to apologize, but Liu Jiadi spoke first. I think you're probably just too tired lately. Go look in the mirror. Your complexion doesn't look very good. How about this? Get off work early today and go home to rest up. Upon hearing these words, Ye Qinghuan thought for sure she was going to be fired. Even though she really needs this job right now, because she had made such a serious mistake she didn't have the face to ask to stay. At this time, Liu Jiadi seemed to realize something. He tentatively and softly asked Qinghuan, are you going through some hard times lately? Is it something related to money? I can give you an advance on this month's salary. Meanwhile, at the Mu family manor, Mu Yulu had finished her exquisite makeup, preparing to go out to a company she had invested in to attend a very important meeting. Xiaoming, help me find my necklace. It's in the innermost drawer, resting on the black velvet cushion. A moment later, Sister Yulu, could you have left it in the adjacent drawer? Seriously, I checked every single drawer thoroughly, and I can't find the necklace you're talking about. As soon as she heard this, Mu Yulu froze instantly, very shortly after she saw the empty cushion behind the glass cabinet. This caused Mu Yulu's recently calmed mood to surge with turbulence once again. A necklace might not be worth much money, but it didn't just hold special meaning for her. Mu Yulu actually couldn't believe that there was a thief with sticky fingers in this house, so she immediately called Butler Liu. What Mu Yulu didn't notice was Mu Xuan at the end of the hallway witnessing the scene with an incredibly panicked expression. Normally, Mu Sen wouldn't be this rattled, even if he admitted it, he'd only get a scolding at most. But currently Mu Xuan was truly afraid of disappointing Big Sis, fearing she'd stop helping him out. So he hurriedly turned and ran back to his room. 10 minutes later, Mu Yulu spoke to the breathless Butler Liu who just arrived. "I've lost a precious necklace. Help me find out who stole it." Butler Liu paused for a second upon hearing this, and an answer immediately popped into his head. But Butler Liu didn't mention Mu Xuan's room because that would be too obvious. It would make Mu Yulu realize that he had known about it for a long time. Just as Butler Liu was about to suggest checking the hallway, Camera's Mu Xuan's voice rang out from behind him. "Butler Liu, how exactly are you doing your job? You can't even manage a few servants properly, letting them steal my sister's necklace. I saw them acting suspicious earlier, I bet. It's in the servants' quarters in the north building." After hearing these words, Butler Liu could barely hold it in. He really wanted to say it straight to Mu Xuan's face. "If you keep acting in front of me, I'll expose everything." But Butler Liu eventually held himself back. "It's my negligence in management. I hope young master and young lady can forgive me. I'll go check the servants' rooms right away." He was also secretly calculating in his mind. If Mu Xuan really put that necklace in some servant's room to make them take the fall, then he would check the cameras afterward and give that footage to Mu Yulu. Soon, the whole group arrived at the north building. Under Butler Liu's careful arrangement, all the domestic staff stood in front of their doors, waiting in turn to be searched. Just as Mu Yulu was about to enter the first room, she glanced at the stairs nearby. This caused a thought to pop into Mu Yulu's head, perhaps to verify the answer in her heart. Mu Yulu told Butler Liu to go downstairs with her, returning once more to the room where I used to live. Stepping inside, that same cold, damp feeling hit her, because she had previously told Butler Liu to clean it out once. The room looked very empty. Since Butler Liu had cleaned this room with his own hands, he keenly noticed that this room seemed to have traces of being rummaged through. This made Butler Liu immediately think of something. Sure enough, not far from his prediction, after following the search traces for a while, he found a necklace in the gap of the mattress. Butler Liu thought to himself, this time he's actually being smart. If it were placed in the servants' rooms, it's very possible that their pleas of innocence would make Mu Yulu continue investigating further. But I've already been kicked out completely. No matter how big of a false accusation is pinned on me, I can no longer speak up to clear my name. Furthermore, in Mu Yulu's heart, I was already someone with sticky fingers like that. She would naturally assume that this was done by my own hands 6 years ago, backstage at a music program. After Xia Yu, Xuan proudly claimed she knew many songwriters. Yu Yao also recalled something, and with a proud smile said she knew the mysterious Mr. Su. Xia Yuxian had no idea who this person was, thinking to herself that it was probably just some no-name songwriter, or simply that Mu Yao, to save face, had just randomly made up a fictional name. But very soon after, Xia Yuxian understood why Mu Yao was so proud. One nationwide hit after another was born. When Mu Yao went to film a show, she was surrounded so tightly that not a drop of water could leak through. All of social media began a frantic search for Mr. Su, the person who created this series of massive hits. Even Xia Yuxian's own mother would stand in a public place with an extremely humble posture just to strike up a conversation with Mu Yao, all just to get a piece of music composed by Mr. Su's own hand. Xia Yuxian, of course, had also thought about collaborating, and not just once. But now Mr. Su was sitting right next to her, and had even written so many songs for her. This made Xia Yu Xuan feel like she was in a dream. Teacher Mu Chen, was there any issue with my singing just now? After Xia Yuxuan looked over those 3 songs and saw absolutely no issues, she directly transferred a deposit to me and took me to the studio to record one of them. I put on the headphones, listened for 2 seconds, then nodded perfunctorily. The vibe is pretty good. Xia Yuxian also noticed my half-heartedness. Teacher Mu Chen, can you be a bit more serious? I'll pay you more. An extra 175 million Vietnamese dong in cash. I'll have my assistant transfer it to you right now. I immediately sat up straight and listened carefully to the entire recording again. It's actually really well sung. After saying those words, I thought Xia Yuxuan would think I was just teasing her. So I was prepared to return that 175 million VND, but unexpectedly, Xia Yuxian suddenly flashed a smile. Thanks for the compliment, Teacher Mu Chen. Oh, right. It seems Ye Qinghuan is actually in some trouble. Hearing that, my heart suddenly tightened. What exactly happened to her? According to what my staff said, it seems her family is having some difficulties. The specific reason wasn't made clear, but it seems she needs about 350 million VND. That's why she suddenly took a part-time job at a cafe. I silently took out my phone, looking back at the messages Ye Qinghuan had sent over the past few days. A wave of pain from the bottom of my heart surged again. I looked at the lines of text on the screen, thinking about the hardships she's had to endure lately. Everything before my eyes suddenly went dark. Teacher Mu Chen, it seems she has already unfriended you. Xia Yuxian saw that I looked like I wanted to transfer money, so she spoke up to remind me. I froze right there, while also becoming deeply aware that Ye Qinghuan and I have completely broken up. For some reason, suddenly remembered a movie I once watched with her. So I looked at Jia Yushuan with a bitter expression. Could you do me a favor, find a way to get this 350 million Vietnamese dong directly to her? Hearing this, Jia Yushuan decisively agreed. In another development, Yu Yao had been driving aimlessly for several hours. Her mood had calmed down a bit as she pulled over to the side of the road. By now, the streetlights on the small path cast a dim yellow glow. Mu Yao walked slowly by herself, her shadow stretching long under the lamplight. After hearing that radio broadcast, she remembered her past self, back when she, Xia Yushuan, and Mr. Ixu had all walked out to the arena together. Mu Yao saw Xia Yuxuan's parents step down from a luxury car and give their daughter a warm hug. Her gaze became complicated. Mu Yao wished her eldest sister could have come too. And right at that moment, Mu Chen wheeled a bicycle toward her, shouting "Sister, sister" over and over. Too slow. I've already called a driver. You should head back first. After Mu Yao spoke, she hurriedly turned away, urgently telling Mu Chen to leave. After reminiscing about this scene, Mu Yao shook her head slightly, muttering to herself, how could you ever look down on him? What right did you have to despise him? He was even willing to give up his whole life for you. Why did you treat him like that? Mu Yao's eyes gradually turned red, sorrow continuously spreading through her soul. Why was I like that back then? The younger brother who once loved me the most. Just how much bitterness did he have to endure in silence? The vibration in her pocket rang out again. Mu Yao took out her phone, glanced at it, and chose to pick up. On the other end was Mu Yulu's expectant voice, filled with both concern and reproach. Yao, why didn't you pick up after I called so many times? Do you know how worried I was about you? Hurry home, don't make me worry anymore. Mu Yao coldly replied, I'm not coming back. On the other. And Mu Yulu's voice sharpened. This is all because of Mu Chen, isn't it? Exactly what kind of spell? Did he cast on you a person like him simply doesn't deserve any pity? I just found out that he even steals from his own family. Who knows how many times he's done this before? Mu Yao immediately shouted back in protest. That's absolutely impossible. Mu Chen would never be that kind of person. Why do you have to hold such a massive prejudice against him? Last time you also thought he did it. But what was the final result? I bet it's definitely that bastard Mu. Xuan's doing again. On the other end, Yulu heard her sister using foul language, and even blaming Xuan. This caused the anger in her heart to instantly flare up. Xuan is your real biological brother, Yu Yao. I truly feel like you're becoming more and more of a stranger. I'm really disappointed in you. Fine, I won't mention the jewelry incident again, but regarding the Zhao monkey matter, I'm definitely finding him. If he doesn't agree to drop the lawsuit, there will be absolutely no further negotiations. Mu. Yu Yao, hearing those words, suddenly burst into tears. Stop bullying him anymore. He has endured so much suffering over the years at the Mu house, and now he's being tormented by illness, living a half-life. He only has one short year left in the end. What more do you want from him, big sis? I'm begging you, his life has been miserable enough already. A moment later, after I finished settling the matter of those 3 songs, it was already dark. Getting out of the taxi and walking to the entrance, I saw Mu Yao from a distance. Mu Yao bit her lip tightly, head hanging low. Her white shirt still had a few wine stains, and her black hair was a mess. Her expression was incredibly lonely. Hearing a noise beside her, she looked up. Mu Chen, are you okay? Before Mu Yao could even finish her sentence, a bitter ache surged in her heart. How could he possibly be okay? Mu Yao's voice softened. She forced a trembling smile, but her eyes shimmered with tears. I went back to the hospital and saw you weren't there anymore. I was worried about you, so I came here. But I didn't even bother to look up, nor did my footsteps falter for a second. Mu Chen, I really have something I want to say to you. Mu Yao reached out and grabbed the hem of my shirt. Even though she anticipated my cold attitude, seeing me completely ignore her made that aching feeling surge in her heart again. I tilted my body slightly, seeing Mu Yao tightly gripping my shirt hem. Memories suddenly flooded my mind of when we were kids, when I was in her room and saw some kids coming from outside. She had stood behind me just like this, eyes tearful and looking pitifully wronged, gripping my shirt hem. I just protected my sister silently, staying by her side, until she finally became a top female singer, shining brilliantly as she does now. Mu Yao saw me stop my pace. Her heart couldn't help but skip a few beats. Whether it was Mu Chen or Mr. Su, both had treated her with such tenderness before, caring for her meticulously, in every little way. Maybe she could even hear him call her sister one more time, you know, However, I suddenly sidestepped to avoid Yu Yao. The mist in her eyes quickly condensed, falling drop by drop onto her shirt hem. Mu-chen, I'm truly sorry. Big sis. She came to find you, didn't she? I will definitely help you. I swiped away her hand as she reached out again. Are you people all sick in the head? I tell you to get lost every single time, yet you keep running here to make me nauseous. Do you have to force me back to being your dog before you'll be satisfied? God, how pathetic. Can you get... Yu Yao was stunned after hearing these words. She even felt like she could no longer stand on her own 2 feet. Until this very moment, the only remaining wish in her heart shattered. She knew that no matter what she did, she couldn't go back to the past. Yu Yao broke down and sobbed. Mu-chen would never call her sister again. I'm home. I took out my keys and opened the door, seeing my little sister hunched over the table, struggling with her homework. Seeing me return, Su Xiaonuan happily gathered her books and papers, then pulled a set of contract documents out from the desk drawer. Brother, stop putting your stuff in my drawer. There's no room left for my books anymore. I smiled and couldn't resist ruffling her hair. Sorry, I'll definitely pay attention next time. I guess you're talking about this, right? I pulled a toy egg from my pocket. Su Xiaonuan had mentioned to me that her classmate had a gashapon toy that reveals a doll, jumping out when twisted. I could hear the admiration in my sister's voice. When I passed by the supermarket, I bought it. Su Xiaonuan's eyes lit up instantly, but she seemed to feel like this toy costing a few dozen thousand dong wasn't a necessity. The smile on her face faded slightly. I recalled the scene after selling the copyright to my first piano piece. I had taken my sister out for a feast. Back then, I chose a rather pricey buffet restaurant. The dishes were diverse from seafood to barbecue. Nothing was missing, but my sister only focused on eating egg fried rice. Later on, I found out why. When she learned all the dishes were free to eat, Su Xiaonuan looked like she didn't know whether to laugh or cry, because her stomach was already stuffed full and she couldn't eat another bite. I told myself that I'd never let that happen again. I've made a lot of money now. Life won't be as tight as it was before. After Mom brought the food from the kitchen to the table, our family of 3 gathered around the dining table. Mom had cooked a table full of delicious food. Looking at the hearty meal, I began to eat heartily. I finally realized that even though I had left that former home, certain wounds didn't just disappear along with it. But none of that matters. I feel that as long as the family is together, those wounds will eventually fade away one day. But not long after, a series of urgent and violent knocks on the door shattered the cozy atmosphere at the table. After I stood up and opened the door, the smile on my face vanished without a trace. Mu-chen, I know you still hate the Mu family, but regardless, we were family once. There are some things I hope you can consider for a moment. Mu. Yulu saw that I didn't seem to have any intention of letting her in, so she continued speaking. All of this is my fault, due to many reasons on my part. You had to endure quite a lot of grievances at the Mu house all these years. As long as you are willing in your heart, we can discuss the compensation right now. After she finished saying these words, she was already mentally prepared to be rejected by me, but unexpectedly I nodded. Fine. Mu Yulu thought about that jewelry theft incident. She couldn't help but smirk inwardly, though she didn't let it show on the outside. Then let's go inside and have a proper talk. Okay, I slowly shook my head. Going inside is absolutely unnecessary. First, tell that person standing behind you to kneel on the ground. Kowtow 3 times to me as hard as possible. And then we can talk about kicking him out of the Mu family. Mu Yulu realized she was being played. She couldn't hold it in any longer. Mu-chen, I'm trying to talk to you nicely. Everything has its limits. Look at that, you're throwing a tantrum again. Seriously, you're as annoying as a sticky dog parasite coming here every few weeks just to make me sick. Mu Yulu's face instantly turned bright red. She was so angry her voice trembled. You... Mu Yulu started to speak but stopped, ultimately having to endure it. In short, you cannot prosecute Zhang Man. Even if you do, you cannot drag Mushuan into it. Mushuan can apologize to you, but kneeling and kowtowing is absolutely out of the question. Saying that, Mu Yulu pulled Mushuan forward, signaling him to apologize to me. But to her surprise, I slammed the door right in her face, while coldly leaving her with one last sentence. I actually didn't realize I could prosecute Mushuan. Thank you so much for the reminder. In another development, after Ye Qinghuan worked at the cafe all day, she didn't head back to school immediately, but returned home exhausted after she pushed open the door. To the room, she saw her mother, Jiang Ruan, rung on the phone trying to borrow money, looking at the pile of bottles scattered on the floor, along with the heavy stench of alcohol filling the living room. How could Ye Qinghuan not know? Are you starting to go crazy because of your alcoholism again? In her junior year of high school, after her mother and father finalized their divorce, her mother fell into the vice of alcohol addiction. Back then, Ye Qinghuan argued with her mother over the drinking, which led to her mom spilling half a beer on her clothes. Back then, because she was afraid of being late for class, she just gave it a quick wipe and rushed to school. As a result, the guard strictly blocked her at the gate, saying she reeked of alcohol and wouldn't let her in. Ye Qinghuan still remembers it clearly. She was treated like a total joke for the longest time. In the end, it was me who brought the homeroom teacher to the gate to explain things to the guard for a while, before she was finally allowed to enter. After returning home, Ye Qinghuan told her mother all about it. Jiang Ran. Rong kept apologizing to Ye Qinghuan at the time, promising she would absolutely never drink again. But looking at things now, Ye Qinghuan let out a sigh. She had already expected this. After the divorce, besides the drinking, her mom also got hooked on gambling. By day, she'd follow bloggers online to learn tips, and by night, she'd go crazy betting on everything. For the first 2 years, things were still okay. Mom was given a house and a settlement after the divorce. Even though she didn't work and spent all day studying those bets, life could still barely be maintained. But just yesterday, Ye Qinghuan suddenly found out that her mother had blown through all the money. Even this house had been mortgaged to the bank, and she had even racked up an additional 350 million Vietnamese dong in outside debt. If the debt wasn't paid within the next 2 days, those people were going to splash red paint all over her house. Ye Qinghuan, specifically because she was worried about her mom's state, had rushed back home after seeing her mother's currently pathetic appearance. Ye Qinghuan felt that her anxiety was completely justified. Qinghuan, you're back. Have you eaten yet? Do you want me to cook something for you? Jiang Ranrong suddenly spoke in a gentle tone. With that, she actually struggled to get up to prepare a meal. Ye Qinghuan completely froze in place. She even wondered if she had walked into the wrong house. It had been a long time since her mom offered to cook for her. Furthermore, in her memory, every time her mother finished drinking, her temperament would be incredibly violent. But why was she so gentle with her today? Very quickly after that, Jiang Rong finished cooking 2 homestyle dishes and made Ye Qinghuan a large bowl of noodles. While Ye Qinghuan was eating the noodles, she truly felt a long-lost sense of warmth. Originally, because of our departure and this family's sudden crisis, Ye Qinghuan felt like her world had been plunged into darkness. But her mother's sudden change in attitude helped her see a glimmer of hope. Mom, I found a part-time job. Don't worry too much about the money, we'll slowly find a way. Before Ye Qinghuan could finish, Zhang Ranrong coldly interrupted her daughter. I want to ask you for a favor. Your aunt, Wang, the one whose house you used to go to for dinner as a kid, her son just graduated a year ago and earns tens of millions a month. Aunt Wang and I have discussed it thoroughly. I'll arrange a blind date for you in the next few days. As she spoke, Zhang Ranrong dialed a phone number. Ye Qinghuan's voice turned icy. I already have a boyfriend. To make her mother give up the idea early, she spoke very directly and decisively, but unexpectedly Zhang Rong still refused to let it go. It's just a meeting. What's the harm? Ye Qinghuan seemed to have guessed something. Did you already take their money? After blurting this out, she immediately caught Zhang Ranrong's hesitation. Mom, give them back their money right now. What exactly am I to you? Do you even see me as your daughter? Ye Qinghuan was so aggrieved she was about to cry out loud. Zhang Ranrong still didn't give up on the idea. Her voice choked up as if she were about to cry. Those relatives are all a bunch of ungrateful wolves. Not a single one is willing to lend me money. If I had any other way, I wouldn't have resorted to this desperate measure. Daughter, could you really bear to watch your mother be driven into a corner? Ye Qinghuan felt that suffocating feeling, rushing back. Then what about me? You're driving me into a corner. Before you're truly satisfied, isn't it? She really couldn't stay there for another second. Having said that, she went back to her bedroom and locked the door tight. After doing all this, Ye Qinghuan sat tiredly leaning against the bed. She suddenly felt as if she had become completely alone in this world. It seemed there was no one left who truly cared for her. This feeling was like just being diagnosed with a terminal illness, but not in terms of the physical body. It was a mental collapse. In a way, both are the same. They both make a person lose all hope for tomorrow. Right at this moment, Ye Qinghuan's phone rang. Originally, she didn't want to answer at all. But out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of the incoming call. The screen showed the cafe owner, Liu Jiayi. Sister Liu, is there something you need me for? On the other end, Liu Jiayi's voice was full of shock and joy. Qinghuan, you really are my lucky star. The lottery ticket I bought hit the jackpot. Hearing that, Ye Qinghuan was stunned. In her mind, the lottery was just a stupid tax. On the other end, Liu Jiayi suddenly spoke up. Qinghuan, you're a kind and honest person. Although I thought about keeping it all for myself, I said we'd split it half and half, and I won't go back on my word. Ye Qinghuan was completely dazed. She remembered now. When Sister Liu asked to borrow the money, she really did mention it once. Sister Liu, although I lent you the money, I absolutely cannot accept. But before she could finish, she was cut off. All right, I've already transferred the money to you. I've still got things to do. Hanging up now. Ye Qinghuan opened her messages and her whole body froze. It turned out to be a full 350 million Vietnamese dong. Meanwhile, Mu Yulu was still throwing a fit in front of my door. Mu Chen, if you have any conscience, left open the door. Do you know what has become of the Mu family because of you? Yu Yao left home because she's mad at you. Now you even want to sue your own biological brother. Mu Yulu was screaming bloody murder outside the door. Standing behind the door, I almost gagged hearing that. Biological brother, more like a sworn enemy who wants me dead. Besides, nothing Mu Yulu is saying makes any sense to me. I left the Mu family ages ago. This idiot still wants to pin every single sin on me. If I don't roast her back, I won't be able to sleep tonight. I swung the door wide open again. Seeing this, Mu Yulu thought I had a change of heart. Mu Chen, there are still plenty of empty rooms in the manor. You can move back here with your mother and sister. Then we can go find Yu Yao together. Our whole family will live in harmony. Since Mu Yulu was very young, her mother had often told her that a cold manor couldn't be considered a home. Only when the whole family lives together does it become a real sanctuary. That's why this place became a home. So even though Mu Yulu never truly saw me as real family, for the sake of the third sister and Mu Xuan, and for the so-called completeness of this family, Mu Yulu was willing to accept this outsider under the guise of being a relative. Plenty of rooms left. That sentence immediately choked back the words I was about to say. I had to live in a basement for over 10 years, and it turns out there were plenty of rooms left. It turns out in Mu Yulu's heart, she knew all along that the basement wasn't the only empty spot in the manor. Go back to accept your fake charity. Just to keep living in that dark basement. I think humans and beasts should stay separate. They absolutely cannot share a room or live in the same place. Also, can you explain clearly to me how exactly I gradually caused your lives to become such a chaotic mess? In all these days, have I ever proactively looked for you even once? She was indeed as arrogant as ever, blaming everything on others. Her voice turned cold. My tone was incredibly calm, but Mu Yulu was about to explode with rage, her body trembling uncontrollably. Yet, she couldn't think of a single word to fight back. And right at this moment, Mu Xian standing behind. Mu Yulu had eyes flashing with many emotions. Hearing this, how could Mu Xian not feel my cold and rigid attitude? Thus, he couldn't help but grit his teeth, and I keenly caught that change in expression. What kind of hellish expression is that? I pushed Mu Yulu aside, then forcefully shoved Mu Xuan away. I warned him loudly, if you dare touch a single hair of my family members, I absolutely won't let you off. Speak up, don't play dumb. With me, Mu Xuan was terrified by this sudden action and my current ferocious state. He suddenly realized profoundly that the man in front of him had less than a year left to live. Therefore, he didn't doubt the authenticity of that threat at all. He was even a bit afraid that I would do something extreme. Right now, he felt he had a lifetime of wealth and glory ahead of him while I was just a walking corpse. If it came to a trade, he would be the big loser. Consequently, Mu Xuan hurriedly backed down and admitted fault immediately. But I would never do that. I'm not that kind of person. Mu Yulu was also horrified by this scene. Before she could even react, I slammed the door shut once again and left a cold remark, if you don't get lost, I'm coming out with a knife. The next day, I received a call from Officer Liu. He said that, based on Yu Yao's request, he had made Zhao Monkey admit to the act of spreading malicious rumors, and due to several other minor violations, he even managed to get Zhao Monkey into the detention center. Early morning at a police station, under the guidance of an officer, I walked toward the detention room. The officer called Zhao Monkey out from where she sat by the wall. Being detained for the first time, Zhao Monkey hadn't slept the entire night. Her hair was a mess, looking like it had been shredded with a haggard slave-like expression. As she sat down, she even started sobbing. Please don't sue me, okay? It was all me spreading those rumors. I'm truly sorry. I let out a soft, cold laugh. I recall you saying in your post back then, right? That if you lied, you'd get struck by lightning. So when do you think your karma is going to arrive? Zhao Monkey felt utterly humiliated. Her emotions suddenly became erratic. Why are you like this? Why won't you? Just let me go. Haven't I already apologized to you? Then why couldn't you let me go in the first place? Do you know the kind of toxic messages I received? After you posted that article years ago, every single one of them told me to just go die. Have you ever tasted the feeling of being attacked by countless people, misunderstood and distrusted by everyone around you? A state of ultimate despair. The officer sitting nearby heard this and subconsciously nodded. The online environment might be a bit better now, but with the internet landscape of those years, just seeing one rage bait headline with a few comments underneath was enough for netizens to jump in and follow the hive mind. When the tables turned the next day, and it proved to be fake news, the clout-chasing crowd would immediately disperse. But that deep, sharp trauma stays etched in the victim's heart for a long time. After hearing these words, Zhao Manqi vaguely sensed that the other party had no intention of settling privately with her, so she began to sob hysterically again. I'm truly sorry. I don't want to go to jail. I beg you, please don't sue me. Seeing that I didn't care at all, Zhao Manqi spoke with increasing agitation. I haven't even graduated from college yet. My life hasn't even officially begun. Why do you have to drive me into a corner? Like this, my entire life is about to be ruined by you. You were just insulted a few times. It's not like you lost a limb. Why are you being so heartless to me? Hearing that, I flashed a cold smile. I'm not your father. Whether you go to jail or not has nothing to do with me. When you took orders from others to post those accusations, did you ever stop to think that your actions would ruin my entire life? Zhao Monkey froze upon hearing those words. It wasn't until she was thrown into the detention center without mercy, thinking about the upcoming lawsuit and potential sentencing, along with what I had just said, that Zhao Monkey realized for the first time just how wrong she had been when she was doing those things. She truly never thought that she could destroy the life of someone she had no grudge against, no resentment, no hatred. Let me ask you one thing. The person who paid you back then to slander me, was his name Mu Xuan? My words snapped Zhao Monkey's train of thought back to reality. Zhao Monkey was silent for a long time, then nodded heavily. After getting the answer I wanted, I walked out of the room. Officer Lu was standing at the door and waved. Need any help? I want to. Sui Mu, Xuan, give me a hand with that, will you? Lu Jingming nodded without a second thought, even though a year ago in Zhao Monkey's case, it was Ms. Mu Yulu who approached me. In reality, I've had more dealings with Ms. Mu Yao. 6,240. After all, she is a very famous singer. After all, she's a very famous singer. Besides, since I've taken the money I have to help people take care of business, hearing that, I suddenly remembered Mu Yao's words last night. She said she would help me. Was this what she meant? Then I'll leave it to you, Lawyer Lu. I knew Lu Jingming could be considered the best lawyer in all of Zhang City. With him gathering evidence to file the lawsuit, the success rate would definitely be much higher. Furthermore, since Lu Jingming had already helped me report the case and proactively contacting Zhao Monkey, I also realized that he truly wanted to help me. Then I'll go prepare. Previously, I tracked the account that transferred money to Zhao Monkey, but just that alone isn't enough. We need more supporting evidence. Once Jingming finished speaking, he strode out of the station. Just as I was about to leave as well, my phone gave a slight vibrate. Taking it out, I saw a message from an unknown number. Mu Chen, it's you, right? That 350 million? I felt a sharp pain pierce through my heart. Lately, I had tried my best not to think about those old memories with Ye Qinghuan because I thought only then could I keep reminding myself that the current me isn't allowed the luxury of wishing for love. But the hard part is just when I thought I'd forgotten, seeing that message sent by Ye Qinghuan caused everything to come crashing back to its original cruel form. I simply cannot forget. I can never forget. It's definitely you, isn't it? You were at the cafe that day. Why did it turn out like that? Then the messages started coming faster. About what happened that day. I'm truly sorry. At that moment, it was like I couldn't control myself. I don't know why I backed away either. I really love you. You have to believe me. I never intended to hurt you. Where are you now? Can we meet up for a bit? I looked at these lines of text on the screen, and that stinging sensation welled up in my heart again. It felt like Ye Qinghuan, the girl who once loved me so deeply, had personally pushed me down onto the cold ground. But it's all my fault. You're not to blame, so stop saying sorry. Don't be sad anymore. I felt that vague, chilly sensation rushing over me again. The first time was when I got the terminal illness diagnosis. The second time was when we broke up. Today it appeared for the third time. The officer nearby saw me stumbling and immediately asked, "Are you okay?" But before the officer could finish his sentence, I suddenly collapsed, backward without any warning. By the time I opened my eyes again, I saw my primary physician Zhang Jingbai sitting on a chair by the bed peeling an apple. "You're finally awake." I took the apple and slowly sat up. "Doctor, Zhang, didn't you say this medicine would prevent fainting?" 6,315 vertical bar. Why do I feel like I'm passing out even more often? Why do I feel like I'm passing out even more often? The medicine definitely isn't the problem. You have to trust the science. 6,319. Your emotions have been fluctuating wildly lately, right? Your emotions have been fluctuating wildly lately, right? Especially during moments of extreme grief. That is most likely the actual cause of your fainting. After seeing my expression, Zhang Jingbai knew he had guessed correctly. I told you before, didn't I? Try to live a bit more happily every day. Doing this will only make your condition deteriorate faster. Thanks, Doc. I'll be careful. Remember to take your meds on time. Oh, right. The police brought you here for emergency care. We didn't know how to contact your family, so we contacted the person who was messaging you. She should be arriving any minute now. After Zhang Jingbai left the ward, my face immediately filled with panic. I really don't know how to face Ye Qinghuan right now. All sorts of complex emotions came rushing in, constantly urging me to stand up, constantly urging me to run away. I immediately threw on my shoes and headed out of the ward. However, I ran straight into Ye Qinghuan's arms. Hearts pounded rapidly. Both our breaths seemed to freeze at this moment. The petite body in my arms was soft and emitted a pure fresh fragrance. Ye Qinghuan took a deep breath. Inside, I kept reminding myself of our current relationship, just as I gritted my teeth about to reach out and push her away. The very next moment, chaotic noises suddenly erupted behind me. There was a middle-aged man, slight of build, who seemed to be drunk. He was mumbling and complaining that he'd been waiting forever and no doctor cared, just as a hospital security guard sensed a potential disturbance and prepared to step in to de-escalate. The middle-aged man's emotions suddenly turned volatile. He abruptly sprinted forward like a madman. As he rushed behind me, he lunged aggressively straight ahead. The moment I sensed the commotion behind me and prepared to turn my head, Ye Qinghuan threw her arms around me to shield me from the stab. The guards also rushed over quickly, immediately subduing the middle-aged man and pinning him to the floor. I could only feel my head buzzing incessantly. My whole body felt as if it were being controlled by something. Standing up, I even knocked over a nearby cart after seeing a surgical scalpel fallen on the ground. I felt like I had found a way to vent all my frustration. I gripped it tightly in my hand and stepped toward the middle-aged man being dragged away by security. In my head, only a single thought remained. As the nurses who just arrived put her on a gurney, Ye Qinghuan's voice trembled. Mu Chen, my world, which had been submerged in a deathly silence, suddenly flashed with a vibrant color. I threw the surgical scalpel away and ran to Ye Qinghuan's side. I'm here, however. Before Ye Qinghuan could say the next sentence, the nurses pushed the gurney away, rushing Ye Qinghuan into the emergency room. The next few hours could be described as the longest period in my entire life. The heavy, gloomy fog that couldn't be dispelled weighed down on me, making my body tremble, completely unable to breathe, until the doctor announced that they had successfully stopped the bleeding and she was out of danger. Only then did I feel like I could see a ray of light. Meanwhile, at the Mu family residence, the TV in a certain room was broadcasting the midday news on the 13th. At the first affiliated hospital of Jiang City Medical University, in one of the hospital wings, due to an excessively long wait time, a request to cut the line was denied, leading to an emotional outburst. An individual used a knife to attack, leaving one person injured. Currently, this case still has many suspicious points. The police have quickly intervened to investigate. Mu Shen, sitting in the corner of the room, started trembling uncontrollably all over after hearing the TV news broadcast. After being threatened by me yesterday, a deep sense of fear had first welled up inside him. After returning to his room, that fear subsided, replaced instead by a burning hatred. He hated why I had to come back to snatch away the peaceful life he had worked so hard to obtain. This hatred caused his brain to become abnormally excited. In such an extreme state, Yu Xuan made the exact same decision as half a year ago. He found someone to stab me once to vent his rage. But now, when thinking about the possibility of everything being exposed, his teeth began to chatter violently, and the expression on his face became one of extreme agony. Mu Xian began to constantly retrace his steps, wondering if there was anything he hadn't done well enough. It should be fine, right? The money has already been paid. Brilliant lights bathed the evening banquet at the Mu family manor, facing the flattery of the guests, including Zhou Jianhong. Mu Yulu maintained the elegant poise of the wealthiest person, until Zhou Jianhong smiled and drained his glass, accidentally revealing a secret that had been hidden for so many years. To be honest, back then when I decided to invest in that company, it was all thanks to the words of your Mu Chen. Mu Yulu's hand, which was holding a glass of red wine, suddenly froze in midair. Back then, he was still the Mu family's young master. He told me that in the future, every computer in the country would have that software installed. Zhou Jianhong sighed. This vision and prowess of President Mu, it truly lives up to the reputation of your personal guidance. At this very moment, the elegant silhouettes in the hall and the bustling atmosphere seemed to be completely drained away. In Mu Yulu's ears, there was nothing left but a dull buzzing, memories like sharp blade fragments slashed through her wall of deceptive achievements. She finally remembered that young boy back then who often lived in the cold basement. How many times had he stood before her desk, seriously sketching out the future of that industry? And what was her reaction at that time? It was contempt, it was mockery, it was believing that an outsider fundamentally understood nothing about business. But it was precisely the advice she once tossed aside like trash that became the very thing sustaining her until now, supporting the wavering and crumbling business empire of the Mu family. About that President Zhou, Mu Yulu's voice began to tremble. Her fake elegance completely vanished. She suddenly grabbed Zhou Jianhong's sleeve, her eyes turning bloodshot. Do you know any medical team that can treat late-stage liver cancer? All the guests present were in an uproar. Help me think of a way. I have to save my brother, Mu Yulu begged humbly, her heart thumping with agonizing pain as if being torn apart. She finally understood after all this time exactly what Mu Chen had sacrificed for this family, and exactly what she had personally destroyed. Sister, have you lost your mind? Mu Xuan, standing nearby, could no longer bear the strange looks from the people around them. He violently kicked over the antique wooden dining chair behind him, his eyes bloodshot as he screamed. He's already been kicked out of the family registry. A country bumpkin about to die from a terminal illness. And you still want to take our family's money to treat his sickness. Looking at the person before her with a twisted face. Her biological brother acting like a mad dog. Muyulu suddenly felt he was an absolute stranger and felt utterly tragic. The sound of rain outside the window gradually grew louder. Muyulu collapsed weakly into her chair. Her gaze was empty as she stared at the shattered expensive porcelain on the floor. "Shut up," she murmured softly, her voice soaked in a despair that chilled her to the bone. If it weren't for him, the Mu family wouldn't have been ours a long time ago. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Muchen was pushing open the anti-theft door with its peeling paint. The delicious aroma of ribs wafted from the kitchen. His younger sister looked up from her desk, her eyes lighting up as she called out, "Brother, you're back." He smiled and nodded slightly. Whatever storms were raging out there no longer had anything to do with him.